Right, we're back. Summoning Insight, even though I'm getting countdowns that don't end at 1, they then go to you're on. Like, countdown ends at 1, doesn't it? When the 1 ends, the bomb explodes, you're all dead. The bomb doesn't go, you are now dead, and then explodes. So anyway, just a little meta contextual thing there for people who don't know about how countdowns work. Because spoiler, if you're, for example, the G2 lineup, someone would say you have a countdown going on your careers right now. Was it a mistake? Was it right? We'll get into some of that as we go. Obviously, that's not Monte Cristo, so you're not going to hear like spicy takes about Riot, but then with sort of like a naive appeal to optimism that like, but just do it the right way and make the scene great like it could be. And then me just going like, no, Monty, they'll never do that. They hate us. They hate, you know, the game, the fun, the macro, side laning. And also, fuck Valorant. I just throw that in there whenever I can. So it's me and Yamato again. The second proper one. We did the one with Monty, but I told you that was like the awkward one where it was like, you're going to go and live with your new dad now? Yeah, there you go. It's like, oh, he's a good guy. Oh, don't worry. He said he can play 2 times on the weekend. And I'll see you from time to time. You know, when I'm in town, I'll pop by with some toys and that. But no, so now it's the real one. I thought the first episode was good. We hit a good sort of groove. You might have understood the assignment. I think he warmed up as the episode went on because he came in thinking this was like fucking Power Spike or something. So he was coming in like, yeah, Dom, the way they rotated off the top tower on the second one, what was Pyorshik thinking being in that brush? That isn't Summoning Insight, bro. You can do that. Summoning Insight's then to go, yeah, but you know Pyorshik, mate, the amount of chances he takes, he probably fucking plays Russian roulette just for fun in the mornings before he brushes his teeth. Like, that's fucking Summoning Insight, you know. So he's getting it now. He's matching the energy. That's the important thing. Exactly. You have to understand in this analogy, Yamato, I am taking you, my dear gentlemen, to the top of the mountain where we will see a different overview of League of Legends. Exactly. So, okay. Did you enjoy the first episode?
Bro, I enjoyed it a lot, bro. Like the time just went by, you know, just talk League with my homie Thorin, you know, it's good. It's good. So,
it was also a long episode. I think we did like a 3-hour one or something like that. It was a classic, yeah. Easy. That's another thing the others can't do, mate. Everyone else, so I'll give you a little bit of inside info. I've told this story before, but I'll tell you because you won't have heard it. When I started Sony Insight, it was when I used to work for On Gamers, that company that was like owned by CBSI, massive media company. And when I started it, even though it's just a podcast that was recorded on Skype, it even used to be recorded offline, by the way, and they just uploaded as a video. They were coming in with people who were from like the media world, giving me all these bozo like checkpoints, and I wasn't fitting any of them yet. They were going, listen, it should probably be about an hour. Keep it nice and tight. People don't want to see more than that. Also, have your topics, you know, in a list before. Go one by one down them so you hit them all, and then make sure there's not too much. You want to keep it quite tight and sort of concise. And then you hit all the points, and then you just get out that way. And the joke is, I did the opposite of every one of those, and I think it made the show like legendary because it was just this show that, you know, if it just came on, if they were crap, maybe it lasts 2 hours. But if it was amazing, it could be like, we've had episodes, mate, that were like 5 hours long with all those fucking people for Worlds and stuff. And obviously we've had like, we haven't stuck between any of the lines. In fact, the joke is instead of colouring between the lines, we just fucking did a big X through it and then just drew all fucking like sick graph art on the columns and all the sides, etc. And just made it all like graffiti in a tunnel or some shit. Exactly. That's the way I've made myself sound like I'm down with the kids there. Like, oh, I'm a graph writer, baby. Listen, fuck the government. What's that? Like your wall? I don't know your wall, mate. I just know my fucking artistic interpretation.
I think nobody can take that away from you, you know? It's like, you're probably like one of the most authentic people of all time. Like you're very principled. You treat everything the same way. Some people don't like it. Some people love it, you know, but we know what we're getting, you know? There's no puppet master. There's no script. I love that shit, man.
Yes. Oh no, my favorite is the people who think I've like cynically like calculated all the things I'm going to do and say it's like you didn't get it at all. You never really got what I was doing at this point in time. The joke is, if I don't know what's coming out my mouth, that's why it's going to be exciting for me and for you, and sometimes also for, you know, loved ones, people like Monty who rely on me for income and sponsors. It can be pretty exciting for them too. Not always in a positive way, sometimes in a very positive way. You never know. You will learn that also, you matter when I say things inappropriately as we'll go, but. Speaking of being creative, expressing yourself, not following the traditional rules, did you know you don't have to make your own website? You don't have to go and learn HTML like I did as a little nerd when I actually got started in the industry. That's one of the only reasons I actually started doing stuff. I was doing interviews, and my idea was I knew how to do basic HTML because I'd done it like a class in school or something. And I was going to make a website and put interviews on it, and it turned out I never needed to do that even. Obviously, you will have heard of Squarespace. Now, this podcast is sponsored and brought to you by Squarespace, where we encourage you to consider the following. They are a company where they have all sorts of different features. Like basically, it's like a very slick way to just design a site for you. You just go, there's like templates. They're not super basic like you're going to imagine when you think of that. This is, by the way, I've been hearing about this company for like 10 years or something. It's the most famous one. The whole point is a lot of the basic things on websites are actually very easy to code, and they all basically follow the similar rules. What you really need to know is, what do you want that section called? And then what would the body of the text be in that section? And then what do you want to shop for e-commerce, right? What type of a shop? Here's like a classic design. In fact, I'd just say a lot about the internet with shops and stuff is you want it to be a familiar design that like looks how you want it to look, and you want it to look professional. And that's exactly what this site is able to do. So a few of the features they have design intelligence, which is they combined 2 decades of industry-leading design expertise with the latest cutting-edge AI technology to unlock your strongest creative potential. And they allow basically anyone, you're not very tech savvy at all, to design a beautiful, more personalized website tailored to their unique needs and craft a bespoke digital identity to use across one's entire online presence. Actually does sound like what we just described and that I've done in my career. Also, they have like a really good payment system where their Squarespace payments is the easiest way to manage your payments in one place with Squarespace. Onboarding is fast and simple. Get started in just a few clicks and start receiving payments right away. Plus, give your payments more ways to pay with popular methods like Klarna, ACH Direct Debit, Apple Pay, Afterpay, ClearPay, a bunch of those, depending on whether you're in like America, Canada, UK, etc. Basically, the point is you're not just going to be limited to like USA if you're from the USA, as a lot of our listeners are. They have great SEO tools. That's another trick to websites. You might make a website, but no one's going to be able to find it on a search engine if you make it yourself, right? You're not going to know how it works with the tags and then how do I promote it and what do I do to get it up there and do I pay someone? They have already their own SEO tools, so you can get discovered fast with integrated SEO tools. Every Squarespace website is optimized to be indexed with meta descriptions auto-generated. Head to squarespace.com/summoning. Easy to remember. It's the name of the show, the first word, summoning. You know how to spell it. To save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using code, you guessed it, summoning. Language, so SUMMONIG. Thank you to Squarespace. Shout out to anyone who wants to try making a website and uses the service to support us, or just because you think it's cool, or you want to get 10% off your first purchase. Check out Squarespace. Thank you to them. Right, let's continue on. So I think where we start is, let's just dive straight in to the LEC stuff, I think, Yamato, and then we'll get to some of the other stuff later. Because I do think one of the things people have wanted for so long in the LEC is, since you have these domestic fan bases, like the Spanish behind Movistar Riders, you have the Movistar Koi, you have obviously the French behind Carmine, Corp, and everyone wanted these teams to be good enough to have like banter and back and forth and all the rest of it. But I also feel like it didn't work in those first years. It was just those fan bases versus the world. Like their teams weren't the best, or they were like only borderline good. And the problem you had in the league was, it's like that campaign said, because G2 just won every fucking time, no one could really talk shit to G2. Like it didn't really work. Like you could try, but you just look silly because, first of all, they not only were beating you in the games and beating you in the scrims, they would then show you that they were beating you in the scrims and then even show you they didn't fucking turn up. But that's where I want to start, because I feel like people have such a short memory. So I saw where GX and Guilhoto, who's already said that G2 is not going to make like fucking worlds, he also did that thing where he was like, well, now they can't dodge us in scrims, like, and in the draft, etc. And then everyone was going like, oh my God, how can he talk shit? And I just want to remind everyone, you are aware for the last 2 years, Remain has revealed not only scrim results of all the teams, but even who dodges the fucking scrims. So please tell me you're not a G2 fan going, that's a bit out of pocket, talking about what's going on in scrims. Like, G2 invented that culture. I don't even know actually any other, I think there was one other team, maybe Movistar, Mad Lions, or whatever. I think there was one other team did that, or Herex. There was one of them did a similar thing where one of their analysts tried posting it, but the problem is because he's not G2, they didn't win. No one even remembers that. Even I can barely remember who it was. So that aspect though, here's what I want to get to though, Yamato. There clearly is actually GX, Fnatic, and G2 actually do have some sort of spicy sort of, like, they know that these are the teams that, like, they think they can all be the best. They can all be in what they're all doing the trash talk now that they're going to become the champions. And bro, I never saw this confidence out of like Fnatic players. The idea a GX team would ever be talking shit to G2 and believe it, like, you know, and actually not just be doing wrestling shit. Like, Guilhoto's not fucking trolling. He actually does think he's going to beat these guys. And, like, it's their time to fall. Like, I'm loving this angle, man. I actually think they brought like this spice that wasn't there before.
Now, honestly, I kind of like the clapback from Dylan Falco too. Like he looked angry. Like I've never seen Dylan Falco like that. You know, like he was sitting on the couch. He was like low-key shaking, but he was also like sharp in the eye. And he just says, "Oh, so Guilhoto has experience just failing with super teams, so he must know." And I think it was just a fire clapback. And Guilhoto, like, what could he say? Like he was interviewed. They did this thing where they just kind of interviewed both parties back and forth. And I saw kind of Guilhoto fold. He was like, it's just banter, we're just chilling, and it was good spoken like war words for Dylan Falco, because it's like on my end, same thing. It's like I wouldn't talk shit about Dylan Falco because I remember the best of fives I've lost against Dylan Falco. So it's like, you know, that stays in the back of my mind. It's like I've lost to those Schalke teams and so forth. So it's like he has like in my mind paved the way. I wouldn't talk shit about Dylan Falco. For me, it's like in terms of like record and so forth, just the EU go. But I do think it is the most healthiest thing for G2. It's like, this is what they begged for, right? They wanted to be challenged. It needs to be in language. It needs to be in play. It needs to be in every shape possible. So G2 got what they asked for, and I'm happy that they're getting pushed and tested this early on, you know?
There's a problem though, Yamato, and I've got a little prediction. So you know what? Here's the problem, Remain. I used to actually talk mad shit to you about you when you were in Unicorns of Love, because at the time, Unicorns of Love was like a scuff team where everyone knows it was basically that sheepy guy just living and dying off him finding weird players or coming up with usual styles of play. And your whole style at the time was you were a French guy who painted his body and was an exhibitionist. You obviously are like someone who sort of gets off on showing off how you look and how you. By the way, you're in fantastic shape. I get it, but you're obviously someone who wants people to look. You know, you going out of your way to do it. No, listen. Then when he came to G2, I've heard he has done a good job as sort of like a general manager figure, and he's done some interesting things with the culture of the team. And actually, I think that was a very bold branding move, because here's the genius of what he did the last 2 years, Yamato. If it was just G2 in the server smash you and you only hear from the players, that's one level of dominance. But imagine the level of dominance of then going, we also win all the scrims against them, and fuckers even dodge the scrims against us. That's gangster marketing, because now you're almost making it seem like people are being douchey to you when you're like the fucking dominant, you're like the fucking Mongols crushing motherfuckers' heads and just wrecking villages, and you're making it sound like, but look, they're fucking with us though. And it's like, and you're just the monsters. Here's my problem. When you establish that culture, bro, then you know what that means. It means I have to see that every single split. So here's what I want to see, Remain. I want to see you do a one at the end of the split. I want to see the scrim results. Why stop now, homie? Why get so shy? You're G2. No one's perfect. So go ahead, show me those scrim results. And then are you ready? Based on that GX comment, I want to see the dodges. I want to see how many times G2 dodged a scrim. Because I'll tell you what, bro, that was a genius marketing move when every fucker was dodging your scrims, because it actually implies if you're like Fnatic and you're second place, you dodge the scrims, you go, well, that's why you don't win. You're too scared to play them in scrims. If you've been dodging GX scrims, I want to fucking see it. And I'll tell you what, that's not going to go well. So listen, all I'm going to say is this. Let us leave it at that, Remain. Whatever, that was a shit joke about Remain lettuce there if you didn't get on. Listen, they're not all good. Sometimes you have to take a chance and it doesn't work, much like this G2 roster. No, let's get into it though. I actually want to talk about the new G2. Because the other thing is, you can also tell the people who've been in that org a long time are not used to losing, bro. Like after that first week, they wanted it to be like, well, you know, okay, yeah, 1 and 2. Okay, I guess we haven't ever been like, you know, near the bottom for loads of splits. But you know, I tell you what, let's see later in the split though. Like maybe we'll go 3-0 next week. And then all of a sudden it's like you're 3 and 3. And it's like, you still haven't got a winning record yet, bro. And it's like, yeah, well, okay, you're talking shit, but like, didn't I beat you in the past? Like we're saying that like trash talk and stuff. It's like, no, let's talk about today. As my old friend R. Lewis says, what about today, dickhead? So I want to know about today's G2, because obviously it might end up being at the end of the year, they were right. Maybe Skumon turns out to be Jankos 2.0, genius. Maybe Lavrov really is just better than Mickey X, and he's Huhan Sama who's supposed to play with. It's all awesome. But right now, there are some question marks around these players. There's even some question mark around some of the players. Bro, I even saw at least one game where even Caps didn't look good. I've seen a game where Caps kind of looked a bit out of place. So I'm kind of still hit and miss on G2, mate. Like right now, I can get hyped around Fnatic. I can go ham. You know what? I can even get on board the KC thing because Caliste is fucking really good. I can obviously go ham with fucking Movistar. I think they're legit. But the G2 one, I don't know. I feel like they're hovering, mate. They're on a tightrope. They could go down. They could go up. I don't know. So where is G2? Where are they at?
I think the most the strangest part is just their meta read. It's like this was such a big strength of theirs, especially it's like in past years. I think ever since like the Romar, Rodrigo, Dylan Falco era of G2, they always seem to prepare so damn well in off seasons. I don't know if it was a particular case where like they were like playing at
they used to even
championship
2 weeks in advance, did practice and shit, right?
They were like super sharp at like that year when they won with Flak at Targamas. I think they won that solely because they started very early the previous year and had like a lot of repetitions.
They basically used tryouts like scrims for that, I believe. That was where they were like playing world's teams or some shit like that. So the year they didn't go, right?
And now seeing them like just meta wise, draft read wise, it's like that game against Fnatic. They had like this full melee composition. They picked Renekton on 4 into the likes of Azir, Maokai, Ezreal. It's just completely impossible game to play, especially when Jace was open on the other side as well. And just the previous week it was the same thing. It's like the worst games that we saw out of Caps was 2 games where he played Sylas, which is kind of uncharacteristic because this is like one of his best champs. So it's like going into the lobby, it's like you think, oh, the draft is not that good, but it's like Caps is playing Sylas, so you kind of have expectations for him. But in my mind, just their draft read has been very bad. And I think the main thing is like the main thing that I was focusing on, because I don't mind the Scumond change. I think Scumond is perfectly fine. I think he's a strong jungler. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's the reason. I think Yike moving on from G2 will, for me, still be like a very good decision for both parties, because like Yike needed to move on. He needed to find like a new environment. He needed to reinvent himself because he needed to move away from this like little brother situation he had going on in G2. He needed to kind of reshape himself with the experience and become like the bigger brother in the team, you know, kind of move like kind of a similar step to what Razork did in his career, where in the first year in Fnatic, he was kind of like the shy guy and so forth. And then he had to suffer with the Advians and the Reckless and the so forth. And then he kind of, you know, just rose again as a Phoenix. I think Yike needed to go through that too. But the main thing, I think that Fnatic G2 game, it was so obvious what Mickey brings to the table. It's like in the post-game interview, Mickey was like, oh, I know these guys. I know their draft patterns. I know how Caps likes to play. I know their habits. And like looking at that game, it's like Mickey had this play on bot, they dove, and then he crossed into top side, marked the invade, and then he ganked Caps from top side. He died on Sylas, and all of a sudden, all of his rhythm was just completely gone in the game. And then Mickey had this play on Hansama over and over again where he just burned his summoner on the midwave. So what he spoke in that post-game interview rang so true, because Mickey, there's nobody else in the league that does this. When Hilly is in form, he's a player that does it, but Hilly is far from form. Mickey creates positive chaos for your team. It's like sometimes he dances on the ledge and sometimes falls over, but that's the price you pay for the elegance of when it succeeds. I think this is just something that Mickey brings to the table, because he broke that game together with Razork single-handedly. Now with G2 it's just BB and Caps. They find really good angles. They know how to split push and they know how to, you know, create good conditions for themselves, like we saw in the games that they won, whether it was a Smolder or the Kesante or like the Koki game that, of course, Caps played. But there is nobody else that is offering them like those opportunities. Mickey was so crucial to that, and someone that has been so silent on that team is just Hansama. It's like Hansama, the way it worked for me with G2 in the past was just, he was like the European Gumayushi in the sense that enabled our career. It was a very different champion pool, but Hansama was always picking lane dominant AD carries just to enable Mickey to dominate the whole map. This was the trend for the last 2 years. And now when Hansama is picking these lane AD carries, what are they actually enabling? They are enabling Lavrov, who was impactful in BDS, but is just not at the same level. So Mickey is everywhere if he can be. And they are truly just missing that element of their gameplay.
I've got a little spicy angle for you too, because first of all, there was an interview published today with a guy who seems like a newer guy to esports. He's a guy called Lee Jones Esports, but I saw he was doing a bunch of like remote interviews with people in LEC, and he published one today with Mickey X, where when he talks about leaving G2, he says, I could see that some people were acting differently towards me. So it felt like we kind of gave up on fixing some of our issues. It just felt like a big waste of worlds. As in, he even feels like Worlds wasn't like a legit try. Like people weren't like on the same page. Now, here's what's going to be interesting for you. 2 details that have never been revealed. I just happen to know them. Like one of them will be, which is look, I won't say what, but there's a forthcoming piece of content coming out where G2, Alan, whatever his name is, G2 Stilgar, the guy who took over from Carlos, the CEO of G2, is on a Last Free Nation podcast. And on that, I mentioned something about like MKOI not being in the team or whatever and how they got rid of him. And I think he even tries to correct me like a fucking executive would and go, he left. And it's like, no, he didn't leave, bro. What happened is his contract might have run out, which in G2 is a signal we weren't going to keep you, because we all know they sign you, so you always have 1 year remaining. So that if they don't want to do that, and if they're really, really good, they sell you. And they have the option, basically, which is, by the way, a totally legitimate approach. But when you say leave there, if you listen to the interview that MKOI did with Sheep Esports, it's actually implied by MKOI he didn't want to leave. He's even saying when he's winning in Fnatic, it was sort of like, you know, I don't agree with some of their decisions. And you could tell he was a little bit bitter about it. And then he wanted to beat them, not just because they're another top team and they're the top team. He wants to beat them to show them, hey, look how fucking good I am. You think Labrov's as good as me? Let me show you how good I am. So I want to take this angle and just point out a detail that was never revealed, which is this happened before. Remember that meme of fucking Marty McFly? Like, hey, I've seen this one before. What people don't know is when MKOI left G2 the first time after 2021, I've heard the same thing happened. What happened was, because as the year moved on, they came to a bunch of the players, and actually G2 offered them another contract, by the way. People like Wonder, people like MKOI got offered another contract. Grabs. And what happened is, because they all said, oh, I don't want to re-sign, because actually that team, as you'll find out soon, was a fucking nightmare. There was a lot of problems in that team. There's reasons it didn't win, and everyone's actually pretty cool. Like, yeah, fuck that lineup. So because they already, I think in the summer split, it was known in the team, they're not going to be here next year. The same thing happened. I heard what happened was other people in the team just started behaving towards you like you were going to leave in 5 minutes. Not like we're building like a thing together, and if we succeed, sky's the limit. You know, who knows what happens next year? Maybe we win the championship. Maybe we go to the final Worlds, and we re-up all of us, and it's the band back together. No, there was that whole vibe of sort of like, I'll do what I can, but like, you know, I'll only go this far because you're going to be gone soon anyway. Like, I don't want to waste too much time building a relationship with you. I've heard a similar thing happened. And spoiler, does anyone remember what happened? MKOI went to a team called XL that was a meme at the time and couldn't even make playoffs. It was that place Cadrell used to play, and he had a demon split where he looked like the MVP. Bro, I don't think it's just MKOI. Like, listen, he is an all-time great player, but all-time great players, if you ever watched The Last Dance, Michael Jordan basically admits it in that. It's not really that everyone had beef with him. Because he's so great, to play a 10 out of 10 game every game, there's no reason to. Even the greatest player is going to go, I don't have to take it that hard against this opponent. Oh, it's just a regular season game. I'll see him in the playoffs. So what you do is you look for, and if possible, you invent beefs. You just look for a thing that they said that was slightly disrespectful. No, I don't agree with that. Oh, he thinks he can say that about me. You do that, you get yourself going on that righteous indignation, because that'll fuel you. It's like Chris Hitchens used to say, hate is like a junky emotion, but I tell you what, it's fucking fuel. Like, if you sit down in the morning, I can tell you, mate, think about how many of our tweets are before 12 p.m. If I wake up, I've had a bad night's sleep, mate, fucking hell, the caffeine doesn't hit quite that well that day. Oh, the breakfast doesn't sit a bit well in my guts. You know what? If I come online and ESL's done some bullshit, mate, at that point, you may as well like fucking my keyboard may as well be a fucking 6-shooter coming out the holster. Motherfucker. You want to talk shit in my world, in my esports? No, motherfucker. Because here's the thing you guys don't know in esports. I'm actually quite magnanimous. I let you all believe you're all part of esports. I was here before you all. I'll be here after you all. And even the people who used to be able to pull rank and go, but I was here before you, Thorin. I go, yes, and what have you done in the last 20 years? And they're like, yeah, I'll just go back to my corner office as an executive at ESL. I've got some reports to file. Suck my dick. I don't file reports, motherfucker. Motherfuckers file reports on me. I don't even know if that's a good thing. It sounds like police at that point in time. Whatever, it was going on. Listen, this is stream of consciousness. It's all good. It's all good. Bring it back. So my point is, first of all, I think MKOI has like a different motivation to just be the best support. And also, so far, on both ends, he's proven his point. He is dynamite. And at the moment, I'm sorry to Labrov, this is why when you've only had one team where it was really excellent, and BDS were fucking great with him in it, but that's the only lineup I've ever seen it work in. I've only seen it work with Crownie and Ice so far. If people don't know, go back in history, boys. He played with a bunch of champions and it didn't work. He played with Comp. He played with fucking Kazi. These guys aren't bombs. Like, we've seen them become very good players. So I think for Labrov, I'm with you. Skewbod's a rookie as well, mate. So he's going to get his chance. No one's going to judge him off the first split. And G2 clearly put their investment into him. If you're Labrov, though, I'm just going to say this, Labrov, you're the guy they might replace if things go really badly. Like, if they lose this year, you might just be fucking, you know, I'd keep opening those connections to, like, some of the other teams. You might need to go back. So I think Labrov's got a lot of pressure on him because actually he's getting pressed by one of the all-time greats, mate. If I'm MKOI, I want you to look stupid. I want to show you, like, oh, I'll just lock in the Leona. Oh, what's that? Fucking you up, am I? Yeah, exactly. It's great. I love it, mate. I love banter like that. I love when it's real rivalry. It's not fake, you know. They're not like, haha, we want to beat you. He wants to fucking make them look silly, bro. I love that shit.
It's like there's two things I want to just bring up just as a follow-up, because it's like how people judged Mickey's last year was just so ridiculous.
Yes.
It's like it's kind of similar in a sense where I had the same conversation surrounding Canyon, because it seemed like for the longest time in regular season games that he was just phoning it in. There was like this meme that basically the GenG would never get first blood because Canyon was just like kind of sleeping in regular season games. But then it's like when you got deeper into the season and you're playing the final game of the season, Canyon is the name on everybody's mouth. Yes. And that's, in all honesty, when you have rosters like that, that's the only thing that you care about. When it comes to Mickey, it's like his biggest performances last year was MSI. Like, I don't care that he got caught 4 times playing against Mad Lions Koi in winter split finals. Like, I don't care about him dying a little bit too often in a regular split game or like dying level 2 against Fnatic. I honestly don't give a damn, because when you go to MSI, he's the one that is competitive with Korea. He's the one that is getting leads. Yeah. He was the one that's dominating bot lane. His world championship was really, really good too. His regional finals was absolutely insane. And you cannot recreate that in any short time. Like, there's no time span that you can add to give a player this unique G2 2019-2020 experience. It's like there's no players that have that. And if you have a player that is still in form and has that experience and carries just the sheer force to be able to compete with the best, it's like G2 has concerns now, right, in the regular split. But when it comes to the championship, it's like Lavrov has, like, he's been to Worlds once with BDS, and that run was like they beat Golden Guardians, but the rest of it was just kind of, you know, rough. And just when they reach that challenge, you have to ask yourself, BB and Caps deserve the absolute best. It's like they are the best in their position. I don't think that there's any question. They're the best in their position. If this year goes bad, how will Caps perceive his offseason? Because I hope that he feels empowered. I'm looking very, very far ahead, but I remember the story of how the 2019 G2 roster was made. Caps and Mickey, like, that was the main thing. They wanted to play together. That was like the core. Perks was the mastermind, but the core was that Caps and Mickey loved playing with one another. And then he left one time, and that didn't go well, right? It was G2 continued. They won, of course, spring split. But then now again, it's like we had Caps on the sack down. And I don't want to read too much into it, but it didn't seem like he was super, super happy with it. It was like, oh, this is what my management wants to do. I will just let it be. I suggest everybody to just check out that episode to kind of understand the sentiment I'm trying to carry over. That separation, I don't know, just like, I don't know what that will bring in the future for like European League of Legends. It kind of low-key scares me, you know, for G2. Not scares me, but it's like maybe the G2 dynasty will slowly come to an end, because they've kept Caps for so long because they kept them happy. So we will see how that kind of fans out and how it plays out in the end.
Watch me do the Thorin thing where I upset people. Here's why it will. It will. Even if they win Yamato, it won't be in the same way as before. Because the genius of the last few years after the super team lineup was how they always were able to retain some of the DNA. So think about it. They had Jankos and Caps first, won the championship. Then they pivoted back to Mickey X, and Jankos goes out. So now you've got Mickey X and Caps. By the way, these players, think about how European League of Legends has been revolutionized since like season 8. It's all about jungle mid support. So they've had like the generational jungle support flipped in and out. They've had Caps the whole time, who was really good. Then they've added in the other best players in Europe, but those are just best players in Europe. Like, if you think about Broken Blade, he's like pretty good all-around player, good in lane, can play carry, can play weak side, can be good in team fight, but he's not like a 10 out of 10 in each of these. Like, if you had Prime Alpha, he's probably better in lane. If you have, like, I don't know, Prime Wonder, he's probably better in fucking team fights and side lane. There's different areas where he's not necessarily a generational top laner. Same thing with Hansama. Hansama's been very good. He's hit that status that I do think some AD carries have hit, but I don't think he's truly on like the peak Reckless, Forgiven level yet, etc. Well, we'll see with Upset and him are sort of contending. I think that's the real rivalry people have missed the last sort of 6-7 years. But I actually think people forget Hansama only has really good splits or kind of off splits. He doesn't really do the sort of like, I always give like, I'll tell you what, I'll give credit to Reckless. He would always give you like a 7 out of 10 split. You know what I mean? Look, he played a bit conservatively, but that would allow him to make his performance consistent. I've heard from all the teams that Hansama's in, his whole vision is just smash the lane, 2v2, and then once we do that, I have agency to move on the map, then let's play around me and let's carry the game. He almost thinks as ADC, like the fucking LPL top laners do when they're on the carry champion. It's like, once I get the lead, I transfer that to all of us and we go and smash the fucking game. He's actually almost play like old school League in that sense. Like, just feed me, just get me ahead. Well, the problem is, I've seen like that year when he was in Team Liquid and it didn't vibe with his fucking support and he was off with his team and they didn't want to play the way he did because they had different players who were all used to being like the shot call, the carry, or everyone on that team because it was a super team. So I'm very, it's actually Hansama's the one that I'm also concerned about out of the traditional players because, bro, he wasn't on that lineup, that classic lineup. He hasn't shown me that like super genius part. I think he's what I love about Hansama is this: if you play to his strengths, he knows his own strengths and he can be very good at those strengths. He can be among the best. But I've never seen him as like the AD carry that does it all, you know, and does every style and does everything you want to do. Like, I know what you mean about the Gumayushi angle as well. Like, he also clearly did himself know at one point he had a generational talent because he would do, like, I agree with you. In traditional League of Legends, the support's always subservient to the ADC and then what he wants and how he wants to play. But when you have Keria, when you have MKOI, when you have Prime Hylissang, you make their fucking game work. I mean, the joke at Worlds was, it's not like Keria can't play Braum. It's just, what's the point in having Keria if you've got Braum? Like, that just disabled all the stuff he's going to be godlike at. You want him to be on some shit where he's actually Keria. So, yeah, I actually am very interested to see in general, because that, if you notice, essentially it's the bot lane we've identified so far. Who knows about that? And if now let's contrast and go to Fnatic, because I'll tell you what, just like when they were in your team, and it was upsetting Hylissang, and they really did, I think, deserve that next monitor, you know, Best in the West 2.0. Bro, this could be Best in the West 3.0. Upset of fucking MKOI looks like it is vibing, bro. And all those upset haters, you guys actually are fucking idiots, because here's the thing you never did. You said he's shit, but you always gave the reason as to where his team was placed in the league, which, by the way, anyone who knows team sports, doesn't work that way. He certainly, I think, in Karmine Corp had some bad games where I've never said he was bad, but I did think, for example, he gave up on his team in some team fights or wouldn't go in, etc. But if you even go and look at some of the splits where they were Vitality, where they were like fucking teams where he had like some strong play, the idea, like, because he was 10th, the idea he was never even a bottom half ADC. He might have been like middle of the pack or slightly below in Karmine Corp, maybe at the beginning. By the way, in the summer, he was back to being the top 4, top 3 ADC. Bro, this guy, all those Reckless fans who hated on him because they don't want him to win the championship, you're just going to look silly when he retires, because he's going to be one of the all-time ADCs. His body of work's amazing already. And this looks like he has got the dream matchup in the bot lane. Like, I think the sky's the limit. And he clearly hasn't, like, sort of lost his game from years ago. If anything, think about the Ezreal game. That was fucking... Where's all the KDA play there, bitch? The KDA's from the Caliste game. By the way, Reckless could never. Are you fucking kidding me? Caliste like that? Not on your fucking Nelly. So I'm loving this bot lane, and obviously your boy AD upsets back. What do you think?
I love it too. I think Fnatic, for me, number one contender to win the split from what we've seen so far. It's like, of course, there's a hint of bias, but you know, these are all my homies. But looking at just how they are as individuals, I think just Mickey and Razork being on the same team in terms of how big the potential is in terms of like driving games. Like, this is a super jungle duo that can compete with some of the world's best, in my mind, when they're at their peak. They're gonna have some silly off games, like this one game they played against BDS, right, where like Razork just queues over the pit and starts punching Dragon, and like Loki kind of throws the whole game on Vi when all he needs to do is clear camps. That's gonna happen, but those are the type of games that I'm okay with. Like, I made the reference with Mickey, I'm okay with that shit, because as things tighten up and things get more intense, it's like these guys have the experience to perform. So Razork and Mickey as a super jungle duo, I think is plain and simple fantastic. I think Upset, you know, the key thing for me, what makes him so damn great, like is in terms of like the champions that he's been just legendary on, it covers like the whole list.
Yeah.
Like if Hansama is the EU Gumayushi, for me, it's like Upset would be like the EU Viper. You know, it's like obviously these two guys, Viper and Gumayushi, are way better right now. But the point is, it's like Viper is a player that covered all grounds, can play any type of style, and will always be super relevant in the games because his CS numbers will never like fall off a cliff. Like we had good Ezreal games, good Caliste games. In the past, he was a fantastic Caitlyn, fantastic Kaiser. His Zeri was through the roof insane. Lucian was also completely nuts as well. And I think as Fearless progresses, and this bot lane is allowed to show like the depth of what they can do, I think it's going to be super, super exciting. Like when the best of fives start to hit and Fnatic is up there playing against some of the other top 5 teams, I think it's going to be super, super exciting. The only concern for me is that Oscarine is a bit of a loose cannon, man. He's a wild player.
He's a wild card.
Like I appreciate that he can, regardless of his, if he's 0-5, 0-4, whatever, he seems to have impact in the game. And I think I have a lot of respect for that, because there are players that kind of fall off and kind of just ruin themselves in their own mistakes. But he is kind of a money bag to collect, you know, like the Rumble game, the 1-1-3 was farming him with the Nidalee. There was also like the Jace game where he got dove twice in the swap and he TP'd under the turret. And then he got dove again and again on the Renekton thing. And in these games, you can get away with it because in the end, I think Fnatic did get other things on the map and they kept busy. But I do think this could be a potential question mark as you go deeper into the season, because as things get better and things get more precise, this is definitely something to challenge. And I want to remind everybody that the main loss the Fnatic had so far was the one game they gave Skarner away and had one of the most horrible kind of grub approaches ever. So for me, Fnatic stands tall as the clear favorite. I think there's like some teams that can maybe compete, but I think Fnatic right now, from where I'm sitting, they're winning the split, Thorin.
No, by the way, I'm with you as well. There's the other synergy. You've now got 2 generational talents at fucking jungle and support in Fnatic. Bro, what year is this? That's not a Fnatic thing. You get one. You can have Hylissang. You don't get to get both. Like, this is actually what's nuts, because those 2 players, first of all, they basically are part of why Fnatic even won that game. BDS was winning that game all day long, guys. They had they kept getting objectives. They kept even actually being very smart, not fighting into upsets, so they couldn't kill them. They would back off when it was still even. But at the end, when they did that like approach on that fucking tower, Mickey X did like the God Rel support fucking engage, and then Razork was coming in behind, and then upset just carries the fights. Like, it looks awesome. And here's one of the things about past seasons where I actually think also the topic about Razork is so fucking whack, because people would give me that he's the best jungler, he's one of the best players in LEC, but they would always go, yeah, but he chokes in the final. Yeah, he doesn't play his best game in the final, but I'll tell you a concept that I have seen universally in sports and esports, and it goes like this, Yamato. When you're someone who doesn't just have to be the best in your role, you have to actually carry the team. Like, you have to sometimes 1v9. What happens is, when you get into a final, you yourself are so aware of that oftentimes you get in your own head, and it makes you make shit players that lose the game. Because unfortunately, you can't just play a normal game like the other guy. Let's see how it comes. Let's see what happens in this game. You have to be like, fuck, I have to be way better than them to win this game. And so I think he's gotten in his own head on those ones. The angle that people missed last year for me with Razork is, bro, like the Kerry example earlier, he couldn't just play normal meta champions if they weren't fitting his style, where he could do that insane pathing and get the ganks off. Sometimes there were strong meta jungle picks that just were like just a farming one, and it wouldn't be as good for him. He wouldn't be Razork at that point, and he couldn't do those things where he just carries the whole game. So for me, actually, you probably could have seen more champion picks from him last year. You probably could have done more. The coach could have had more to work with in the draft. Shout out Night Share. I told people he had quite limited pieces to work with. I thought he did his best with them. Now, mate, this is where, for your grabs, you really have gotten back to that thing of like, just give me some of the best players and don't give me any like bomb, and then just let me go to work. By the way, I have always thought the genius of grabs, everyone's tried to copy it now, is he obviously doesn't really make all the draft decisions, but even the idea he does makes you allow them to do experimental shit, because if it works, then you just look, oh, the player did great. If it goes badly, you go, silly old grabs, but then it feels like the player didn't fuck up by playing that champion. That's not even a problem in this split. Like, they're going to meme that like when they were in G2, bro, everything looks great in the draft so far. What we're talking about, like you said, they did one game at the beginning where I would imagine they just misread scrims the week before. Now they've had it nailed. And actually, the shit's going great, I think. No, I said it before this week. After week 1, someone said something like, which of these teams, well, like the teams that were the top 3, which of these teams will win? And I put Fnatic, the future champions of LEC Winter 2025. Bro, as it is right now, a mixture of the experience, the carries, I think this team's going to win the split. I think they're going to... Look, I obviously can't know how Fearless draft plays in the best of 5. I haven't seen it yet in LEC. And I've certainly seen some wonky LPL results with that, don't worry. But I think they're going to be the best team. My eye test tells me they're the best team. Do you have someone else?
Agreed. No, I'm with you. Fnatic all the way. I just think they seem like the most complete. And like, just comparing the other jungle support duos, like I just don't think like anyone has anything to offer there. Like I do think that we have some cool ones like LTA Alvaro. I do think that GiantX and Targamas can be interesting, but it's just that the ceiling of the Razork Mickey one is going to be so tough to beat. And I'm always going to be the guy. I like the same winners keep winning, like until they don't. And right now with this roster, these players, it's going to be very, very tough to just topple that. The chaosness of Fearless, there's going to be like opportunities definitely to set up some traps and to put people in on the back foot, just draft wise. There's going to be many, many games where they come out of those Fearless drafts and they're going to be like, damn, we just ran it down in draft. And sometimes you're not going to get many opportunities to do that. So in that, there is definitely, you know, opportunities for chaos, because like you have some players that can be very dynamic and unique, like a player like Midwin, if he for example just tightens the AD carry pool by just playing an AD top and all of a sudden like attacks a certain pool, like there is definitely ways to be creative. And when I think of like how KOI worked last year with their coaching staff, or like how KC has worked this year with their coaching staff, even G2 in their past years of coaching staff, maybe they can, you know, create traps through the Fearless draft. But just eye test wise, player wise, right now I think Fnatic for sure is at the top. I'm in the same boat about, like, even though G2 doesn't look that good right now, I do think I still have so much faith in BB and Caps that I would, like, for me, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up top 2, you know?
Yeah. And by the way, I do think, as it's been talked about on shows, look, I do think Dylan Falco will fucking cook in Fearless draft. As long as his players are capable of playing enough champions, essentially, I'll just say behind the scenes, almost any year you think of where he had like limited drafts, I can just tell you behind the scenes, the players couldn't play the champions or wouldn't play the champions. And so he had just only like, the joke is he's just like fucking, he's got rock, paper, scissors, and you've got like fucking 17 different things like you can do. It's like, fucking hell, all I can do is do rock, paper, scissors. So no, I think he will cook in playoffs. So I still have faith there'll be a quality team. I'll tell you who I actually am a bit scared about, though. It is GiantX, who have been talking all this good shit. All the good shit. And the problem is, boys, you've already lost 2 of the big games that you needed to win if you wanted to keep the good shit going, right? KOI should be your equal. I will say that was a fantastic game. That was actually a really good game. It was even one where I think KOI won with nice macro, gave me a lot of praise for them, etc. I don't hate GiantX. Jackie's did his thing. They had a good game in general. But the problem is, if you're going to talk all that shit and then lose to KOI, and then G2, by the way, isn't even fucking actually at contender status yet. That's what I worry about, is because if anything, I want the team with like GX with not as much like a championship experience to come straight out the gate, to come out, you know, bang it. I want them to be the one that's the 8, 9, and 0, and then, you know, maybe they hit the troubling points later. I don't want teething problems right out the gate. Like, I'm a bit scared. What are the good and bad of GiantX right now? Like, for example, should they be a contender, do you think? Have you seen enough?
We were lucky because we recorded with Jackie's last night. The Sackdown episode is already out, and like I basically challenged him because I thought Giants coming into this week, like their prep work was so different in comparison to the previous one. Where this time around, it's like they played the Nidalee draft on Closer. I think that stunned the whole LEC audience. Like, Closer on Nidalee, what the hell is that, man? It's like, respect to Closer, I like him, but Nidalee requires you to be you know, next level crazy to be able to perform, especially in Europe. So Closer on Nidalee.
Nidalee's like trying to do a through the legs 360 dunk. Like, you better be fucking athletic in this analogy. Like, you better have crazy hands, bro. You better be like when Bitcoin was 1,000 diamond hands, homie. Like, releasing jungle game from Closer, but I don't know about that Nidalee. I'm with you, mate. He's not Canyon. You ain't Canyon, bro.
There was like the Nidalee game, and then even the KOI game. It's like that game, I do think that their draft was a lot worse. They just didn't have any tools. They were just playing like this very compact, like G2S draft almost, where they had like Akali, they had Kisante, very little engageability. And the moment KOI figured out the puzzle, it's like, yo, we can just play on range with our Talia and our Corki. The enemy can't really enter into us. The only thing that really kept them in the game was like Jackie's individually playing well, with insane like Poppy ultimates that gave them angles. Like, even in that game, they did get like Atakan and Nash, but they just kind of botched the execution in terms of building enough of a lead to just win the game. So it's like these 2 losses, especially the one against G2, it's so hard to judge always with BO1s, because I don't think coming into this one, I referenced the episode because Jackie said like the new patch landed, and right now they are playing on live patch. It's very different this year in comparison to the other one. And they felt, after this patch 15.2, even though it didn't have really big changes, it kind of made them dizzy in terms of their like priorities. They didn't feel like certain champions were like as strong as before, and they didn't come into the week with conviction. And that's such an important thing. In my mind, I do think that Giants looking at this team in comparison to the others, I think what they do concretely in the first, like, let's say 5 to 10 minutes of the game in terms of their setups, I don't think it is as solidified as the other teams. Like if we compare it to their competitor in KOI, like KOI, the way Elioya Alvaro works together is super, super sharp, and they have timings, and it's very clear that they play with a certain level of conviction. While I think the Giants is very, very loose. I think a lot of their game wins is due to how mechanically good they are. Like this is a very, very mechanically good team. Yeah. And I think the biggest win that they had in terms of strategy was just that game against KC, where they had the lane swap scenario, where they got super far ahead. But once again, that was mostly just Closer's decision-making in terms of his pathing to steal away the red and then to cross over and keep the pressure up with June. So for me, in terms of GX's progression, the main thing I want to see is just how will their teamwork evolve, and will they just be the team that mechanically executes, or will the teams that build on their teamwork and have a better, let's say, foundation in terms of what they do together win out in the end? Because that game against KOI, I don't think that KOI necessarily executed better mechanically, but they were so good at reading the match. Like the moment Jackie showed on the sideway, boom, snap, Elioya went right away, they found engages. This is like KOI's biggest strength. I can clearly identify that. But with GX, talented players, what else is there? I need to see a little bit more in terms of their progression, but I give them a little bit of a pass. Because that game with Nidalee, it's like that game was over in 4 minutes. Like Zyra double killed bot, then killed mid. It was just done. And then the draft against KOI, I think it was not the greatest, but they made it very, very competitive. So still, I have my concerns, but I'm not selling them completely just yet. You know, still what is the score? 4-2?
Closer, last year you were fucking homeless. You had like a fucking sign on a cardboard box written in pen and mark, like, "Will Gankle on lease in for work?" Like, bro, why are you thinking you're Canyon? I don't even know why that draft ever occurred, man. I don't know. I don't care what happened in scrims. I do not believe you can pull that fucking champion off. Don't even do it. Don't go back to the. You're the Sejuani player now, bro. That's who you are. I know it's not who you want to be. It's who you were all those years back. We're not all those years back. Things were different back then. Yamato was in fucking Vitality, all sorts of things were different back then.
I feel bad for him, though. I feel bad for him because it wasn't his fault. And that's going to gnaw at him, because the right decision is to not play it, but he's going to think that it's for the wrong reasons.
You also have to support your team. Yeah, you also have to have your whole team know to play around you when you play that as well. Here's the thing about, I've been quite open about this. I don't feel sorry for him, because he actually did a reflections interview with me last year when he was fucking teamless. The whole reason I did it is because I used to think this guy was like a champion in the LCS. He doesn't have a team. Let's do an interview, tell everyone how good he was in his career, show off all the good parts. And at the end, I even give a thing like, "And you're looking for a team right now, right?" Afterwards, because of some like drama in CS between the Turkish team and me, he just told me, like, "I don't want you to release that interview because I'm going to get hated on by Turkish fans." And I was like, "No, go fuck yourself." So here's the thing. Normally, I could, by the way, I have all the media rights in the world to just release that interview. But as soon as you do the interview and at the end, that's it. But actually, I've typically told people I want the other person to be comfortable with the interview and feel like it represents them. So I've essentially had to delete that. And I wasted like 2 or 3 hours of my fucking time that can earn hundreds and hundreds of dollars just giving this dickhead a platform so he could turn around and fuck me. So actually, you know what, Yamato? Good job he's playing in Germany. I'm getting some delicious Schadenfreude watching this fucker get his head smashed in. And he's on the same team as Noah. Life does have a sense of humor.
You need to give me a list of all your enemies, bro. What's the list, bro?
Just watch the show and you'll start to get the fucking list, mate. You know, we got Nuke on there. We got fucking Adam. Who else have we got in the league?
What did drop on you, man?
What did who do?
Noah, what did he do? What happened?
Noah was the one where he had the audacity to play like shit in Fnatic, went on Twitter and said that everyone was hating on him, saying he couldn't win like LEC and that he would shut them up and prove they were wrong. And then I said, well, then logically, because what he's doing there is sort of making a bet, isn't he? He's sort of saying, I bet I win and you'll shut the fuck up. So then I said, okay, deal. So if you lose, then you leave Fnatic. I think that's a totally reasonable. I'm giving him what's called skin in the game. It's like, if you want to play big boy games like that. By the way, I did this when I worked at Flashpoint, Yamato, in 2020, and our league had shit teams because I kept pressuring them behind the scenes, get better teams or we can't compete with ESL. They wouldn't do it. So I did a tweet where I said publicly, Flashpoint will either be the greatest tournament circuit ever or I will leave. And so 1 year later, they offered me another. I'll tell you right now, it was for $120,000. All I had to do was work 2 LANs, house and do a weekly meeting and some emails. I told them, shove it up your ass. And then I went back to that tweet and said, I'm a man of my word, and I quit the job because they weren't going to become the best tournament series ever. That's called skin in the game, Noah, bitch. All you're doing is talking greasy on Twitter, so which you've already learned you can't do. And here's the problem, Yamato. He didn't just take that and go, well, fair point. He just replied like, see, you are the people I want to shut up. And it's like, oh, go fuck yourself, kid. Who are you? Some little pipsqueak out of Korea who's not a shit. You're only, by the way, like the 89th best Korean AD carry I've ever watched play League of Legends. Shut the fuck up. You know, there's even a guy in our league called Ice who's way better than you, and he doesn't talk shit to anyone. He just fucking puts his hard hat on and goes to work. So that guy, and also he's in a team where I think Razork's like the second best player in the league. You're fucking costing that guy LEC titles and fucking chances to go to top 8 at Worlds. Mate, you can get this work all day long, motherfucker. So yeah, mate, that's still the end, mate.
Bro, it wasn't even that personal, Thorin, like, bro.
Shut up, bitch. Listen, the one thing I'll
bro,
never
he left Fnatic. He left Fnatic.
Yeah, not our choice though. Exactly, not our choice.
That was just
in the same way as Jazzy Jeff left the fucking Fresh Prince's house every time. He was thrown out. Fucking Uncle Phil or Jeffrey or whatever.
Oh man!
Exactly. Sadly, I forgot the name of the bank. I was going to say the bank's residence, but I forgot what their name was in that show.
It's like, when you see like a Noah comment like that, it's like, do you see it from his perspective, or you're like, no, fuck that? Because like these pro players are young, you know, they say shit, you know.
So he's saying publicly, you're not allowed to talk shit on me that I'm not capable of winning. Never won jack shit ever, by the way. And and I'm going to shut you all up by winning. Proceeds to not win and then keep talking shit. You know what, mate? Shit talking is my sport. And I am fucking rookie of shit talking, bro. You are Noah even in shit talking. You can't win. So in that scenario, get the fuck out. You know, we have a saying in English, if you can't stand the heat, get the fuck out of the kitchen. So one, you couldn't handle it in Fnatic, get the fuck out Fnatic. You can't handle it on Twitter. Is it destroying your mental health? Uninstall Twitter, dickhead. Ha ha ha. Just turn your eyes away. It's just on a fucking script, dickhead. So anyway, you've made me go into a whole thing there, but it's all good. Let's establish the beef, because I'll be back later in the split to bang on this motherfucker when he gets rolled in this. By the way, I can't wait to see Noah in the Fearless draft. Give me some Game 5s, homie. I want those Game 5 lock-ins. I want to see what comes out in Game 5. I want to see what Noah does in Game 5. And I want to see if he ever touches X.com. Because you know what? On X.com, I'm fucking Wolverine. Weapon X, bitch. Exactly. So you don't want any of this smoke. You just stay in your shit little pro player world where you're like Fisher-Price Berserker and you'll never even fucking win anything. Stay on GX. And if you win, by the way, I'm just going to give Guilhoto the greatest props of all time because he won with you, Noah. Exactly. And then I have a last joke. I've made it a million times. It just still works, which is Noah's an AD carry. The one thing I rely on in AD carry is if you have resources in a team fight, you go in and you play with all the rest of your teammates and you dominate the team fight. He took the name too literally. He was letting them just go like animals 2 by 2. And then he was just sitting back watching it all.
Jesus.
Noah, it's about Noah from the Bible. So you get, listen, you man. And then what flood came after that? The tears, the salty flood of the water of the oceans.
Jesus, bro, I feel like I unboxed like a capsule, you know? It's just unbox the capsule. I just opened Pandora's box.
You pulled up the speed dial of beef and you were like, hello. It's like, right, Noah, fuck him. He did this tweet once. He told me, shut up. He's a fucking butt. Anyway, we'll get back to that. That's just, I'm seeding ground for later in the show.
For some balance, I do think Noah's been playing well. The split. Noah and June, they've been doing well, you know? It's a good start. He's not a bad player. His problem is he's not like a super elite player like he seems to imagine he is. I'll even say this. Super talked hella greasy too. He proves it, mate. He's won my respect. The way Super plays, I have to give it up to him. Bro, he'll just drop like fucking 12 kills on some of the best teams in our region or international opponents. He'll just be going and actually going stepping forwards. I give him the respect. He can talk shit now. Noah has to earn that status, mate. It doesn't just come for free. No, I'm with you, bro. The super point is very fair. Like it's like he talks shit. People talk shit about what he talked about, and then you know we moved on. Like everyone acknowledges the progression. Everyone acknowledges the core progression because we in the end we are reasonable. It's like the main challenge for Noah will always be the same. It's like he's had fantastic regular season games in the past in Fnatic. Like his first opening split in Fnatic, those first 9 games were like, ooh, who's this man, bro? Like Aphelios peppering people. But the montage of those crucial moments is like the question would be like, how does he overcome that? And I guess now the main question is like, He finally has built more experience being in LEC, being like he's been played now in Europe for this is his third year, I believe, maybe even fourth year. Is it fourth?
No, he came in like 2023 summer, so he's played like.
So, but he played already in ERLs, I believe.
He was in the ERLs as well, yeah.
He played in ERLs already the same year.
Secret in the ERLs, basically, is what people say.
Yeah. So it's like maybe with that comfort, maybe he gets the chance to clap back, and if he does, respect to him. If he wins the title, respect to him.
Side is coming out here because you're like maybe he can do it. It's like no, I don't have to believe it. Here's the thing: I don't actually have to believe in Noah. So actually, no, he won't. He's shit, and he'll never actually accomplish those things. He's not actually shit.
A part of me hopes now that Noah does well just to see your reaction, But you've already prepared Guilhoto.
Yeah.
Good
Guilhoto,
job.
Exactly. He's so good he can win 4v5, bro. Guilhoto, fucking great coach. Yeah. he can do it all, mate. Right. So here's the thing. I've got a couple of points for you. One, shout out to LEC for keeping Atakan in the game the way it currently is. You guys are really tricking Riot that it's not OP at all. They're going to just keep it like this and we're going to have a chance. I mean, look, we won't because you can't use it. But look, if you go watch the LPL, it's not like that at all. But that is a very different objective in those Asian leagues. Secondly, I'm just going to put this out there. Even though I very rarely ever check the stream, every now and then when I'm doing it to you, Yamato, I will check the stream because it's that overlay it's finger licking good, mate. That overlay for some of the insight right now, it's fucking unreal. Pull it up. Yeah, the one of me and you, where it's drawn by fucking a Tantalus. Bro, it is so dope. It's insane. We should have this on a fucking t-shirt or something, mate. Pull it up. Twitch.tv/insight on esports.
I need to drop my prime. I'm dropping my prime.
Look at it though. Bro, we look so dope. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I have ads. I'm seeing Samsung ads right now where I'm dropping my prime.
It is literally how we look in real life, but no one else sees that. Only a Tantalus has captured how I feel in real life. That's how I feel. See that image there? This is
Marvel if Disney didn't ruin it, man.
Is it like
early.
This? Is it like... Oh, it's the wrong way. It's like... Fuck Noah. That's me going Super Saiyan on that bitch. Yeah.
No, it's
so dope. And then lastly, even though this is not intentional, if you also look on the screen now, Yamato, it looks like we intentionally tried to complement the color palette. I'm wearing the black, you're wearing the red.
Mickey Mouse as well, bro. Boom.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse to represent Noah because he was going to be mentioned on the show. Mickey Mouse ADC.
Now I really hope that he pops off, bro. I want him to pop off.
Of course. By the way, this is why, if you're a BDS fan, didn't it make it way cooler that I was boofing constantly with Adam and fucking Nuke? Because then if they have a sick game, you're going to rush to Twitter and see what I type, don't you? Exactly. So it's all the fun of the fair. The problem is, like I said, you come into my world, expect the unexpected, right?
You're like Hades. You're
yeah. I am.
Welcome to the underworld. You don't need to step in here.
Right. Let's go and talk about KOI then, because this is the team that I'm actually amazed more people didn't think they would be like a potential champion at the beginning of the split. I remember looking at that lineup and just being like, this looks fucking great, man. I can't wait to see. And I was never one of those people like, haha, Jojo just plays in like the shit region that isn't good. Do you have eyes? The guy's got hands, mate. He was even good when Cloud9 was fucking shit at the end, I thought. I think he still had hands. He was still fucking gapping people and fucking making mechanical players. I think KOI looks really good, mate. They actually, like I say, they always actually in the team before, when they got those early starts, they could close a game out. Now they actually look like quite polished too. Like, bro, I'm loving this KOI team. I think this is, I told you, I think the finals could be like Fnatic KOI. I think those are the two teams I'm kind of riding with right now.
What I love about KOI is just they seem to be like very, very well oiled. Like the engine of Elioya and Alvaro is so straightforward. It's like they always seem to be on the same page, and it's very classic in the way they play. It's kind of like a continuation of the Mad Lions Elioya of the past, like in the 2022, yes. How they played was always like just syncing up with support, with Kaiser, attacking the enemy Raptor respawns, being there, and just pressuring the enemy jungle all the time. And I feel like KOI do that super sharp in terms of just finding good engages. It feels like everybody's in tune with the same key indicators in the game. It's like, oh, Akali showed on top wave. She's trying to steal it. We need to push them off the wave instantly. It's like if you miss a second or two, you're going to miss the opportunities. And they seem very, very in tune with the information that is important. And I think that's super, super cool. I think the main counter argument for me always when it comes to this team is I think Giorgio Pune, massive, fantastic, upgrade over Frescawi. Last year was a bit of a wonky year because I think their run to second place was partly just momentum from playing a lot as a team, like excluding Elioya, and also the opportunity of just what the LEC presented in terms of the strength of the other teams with the BDS issues, and also, of course, Fnatic not performing so well. So in the end, that year, how it played out, like the fact that they qualified to the World Championship was such an anomaly in many ways with the percentage win ratio that happened. It's like looking back at that year, I think even though they made it to the World Championship, it wasn't a super impressive year. Coming into this year, I expect them to do way better than that, in the sense that I think that they'll be competitive every split. In the long term, what I want to see more is just Elioya as a player. I think that he has become a player who kind of, in terms of how KOI likes to play, I'm thinking about the Vi as a champion, for example. 2 games of Vi they played, I think Vi is perfect for him. When he plays the Zinzao, the Sejuani, I like him. When he plays the more mechanical junglers, I don't feel the same presence from Elioya as I did in 2021 or 2022. He has become more of a role player in that sense. And the additional layer that I'm worried about is just Midwin, whenever he plays meta standard stuff, like for example at the World Championship, where it was very K'Sante heavy and so forth, I do think that he looked worse. Now, for example, the ambassadors in the pool, I think his ambassador looked super, super strong. I think his ambassador performance was really, really nice. But when top lane is in a position where it kind of stabilizes a little bit more, I do think Midwin loses some of his edge. And I do think that some of the other players that play the more standard approach to top lane are going to be better. But I think that this bot lane for KOI, I think that is the main thing that keeps me like hopeful, like Giorgio Pune and the bot lane. I think Supa is getting better and better, and I think there's arguments to say that Alvaro, together with Mickey, are the 2 best performing supports of the whole league. So I do think there is great potential there, because Giorgio Pune and Supa do have like decent mechanics, and they can compete on their best day, maybe with some of the best. But I hold my reservations, because I do think that their big advantage is their team play, and that's something that teams can catch up on. And True. as splits progress, I always just pay attention to the teams that have the biggest mechanical depth. And right now, it's like, I look at a team like KC, like their solo laners, like Kana and Vladi, they are like super studs. I think they're really, really insane players, and like the mechanical depth is clearly there with Caliste. And I think that even though maybe KOI is a little bit better now in terms of like execution, even though they lost that game, I think over time mechanics just win. But winter split is very tight, very short. So definitely this is an opportunity to carry momentum into something great.
I'll just give you the queue up for KOI. Obviously, they're tied for first at the moment. Their last week, they play against Heretics. That's a free win. They play against G2. Okay, maybe G2 could beat them. And then the last game is against Rogue. Right, bro, that's like a 2-1 or a 3-0 week. And so they actually have a very real chance of just finishing first in the regular split. Like, that's already like a show of force, mate. That's impressive.
Was that KOI's schedule or Casey's schedule? Sorry.
That's KOI's.
Okay, KOI's schedule.
Who gives a fuck about KC, mate? That's you. You care about that.
No, I thought you were teeing me up for KC. I misunderstood you.
Now I'm going to talk about KC, because here's the thing, right? 2 things. I'll give you the disclaimer, because you'll see a million comments like this in the YouTube section of this very video, even though I'm saying it right now, because the people I'm talking about are quite literally mentally ill. And so because they're mentally ill, on one level, we shouldn't blame them. They can't actually do other things with their brain. Their brain does not allow them to process information the same way. But because they're hateful, absolutely, I will blame them for being pieces of shit. So what will happen is this. I actually think every game I've seen of Caliste, beyond maybe like 1 in the first week, has looked fucking fire. He really does look like what Forgiven was when he came into the LEC, where not only is he like already insanely good mechanically, he knows he is, thinks he is better than everyone else, and is playing like it, and you have to play that way with him as a team. Now, even though I've just said all that, because I did a video where I showed how absurd it was for L'Equipe magazine to say he was the little prince of all of esports, not even just League of Legends, all of esports. So all those, like Simples, he's ahead of them already before he played 1 LEC game. Because that's absurd, and I pointed that out in a video, more Uncarming Corp fans go, you said Caliste would be bad, and now you are hopping on the hype train with the rest of us. No, you were never on the train, bro, because I'm talking now about analysis and what he does in the server. You're still stuck on, he's like Jesus in your religion, and he was always going to be the best ever, and this proves he's the best ever. Spoiler, 2 weeks proved no one is the best ever. Shout out Faker last year. That's a little naughty joke there. Anyway, it's why I can even bang on Faker. I can, though. I can Faker. So, by the way, Faker, don't you ever tweet at me about winning. No, whatever. That's a joke. By the way, that's the only way that the game could get better in League, is if there was an actual international Twitter beef between me and Faker. But the obvious problem there is I would actually then be killed for real by like a mentally ill fan. So maybe we won't go there. Maybe Faker's the one line I can't cross. Who knows? Maybe it's like trying to do a beef against Kendrick. I did Kendrick just for you, Yamato, because I know you rate him. I'd have said a beef against 50, but that's where we're different. You know, it's all good. So, but I'll tell you what, mate, that fucking play against GX, no, not GX, who am I thinking of?
You mean the Draven play into
So it's against Patrick, so it must be...
Just Rogue, yeah.
Of course, yes. The one where he's on Draven, he gets caught 1v2 mid lane. He has his flash up, by the way. Anyone else, insta flash. You insta flash like up the river, or you try and get to that wall and go over. Instead, like a god, he just steps forwards into the fucking guy because he knows this is what it was revealed in the video later. In the video, when he's talking to his teammates, Ike even just says, like, what the hell? Like, why don't you flash it? Why do you walk into him? And he says, because I clicked on his portrait and I saw he didn't have enough mana to do an E. So I knew at that point in time, like, he can't do anything. So I just kept auto-attacking. And then if you look, because of how he saved the flash, bro, that play, take the nameplates off, should be like the best Western ADC. Never mind like a rookie in split one. What? That was, I know it's rogues, everyone's going to, who gives a fuck? Bro, that was fucking, yes, that was, add that to the week before, where he was just doing some like Faker against Nagnir, like, I'll just sidestep this move. Whoa, what's that? Or like fucking what's that movie all the French people like where that like fucking thief goes in Ocean's 11 or whatever. He's also doing the Ocean's 11 and all the lasers and fuck. This guy's mechanics are not only sick, he is using them as an offensive weapon to beat the fuck out of the opposing team. It is glorious. This is dope. This is dope, man. I'm loving this guy.
Same. Just like there's been so many highlight moments already in terms of how it just challenges and leverages how good he is, because that's like always the hallmark of how far a player is going. I believe we had this conversation because the last time, but just it's like when Caps came into the league. I know this fucking it's such a dead horse to beat. It's like he's gonna be the next Caps. But when Caps came into the league, there was like that legendary play he did on Rise against Perks on Syndra. We had no HP left, flash over the spells, and just solo killed him. And you're like, oh shit. This is the rookie split, and he's willing to challenge, and he doesn't give a damn about the nameplate, doesn't give a damn about the circumstance. He stays true to what he believes like the game is. And like Caliste has done already in his first 6 opening games, he has done so many moments of that. He has played such a wide range of champions. I think like his worst game was probably like the last one where like they played against like what was it, the last game they played? I'm trying to find it. Heretics, like that was a little bit of a sloppy one, but it's like once again, like I don't give a damn about like how you win against Team Heretics. Yeah. It's just about how you play against the best. And I think that the biggest plus here for this team in my mind is just in terms of how the game has changed. I do think it's so damn rewarding to be mechanically good, because like the windows where you can, let's say, dominate through macro and getting the tier 2s, the windows are very, very narrow. Like the grubs are far weaker because you don't have a lot of freedom and time to kind of mismatch at the push sides and to pressure deep in terms of those changes. And I think now, just because that is the name of the game and you are often in Drake standoffs and Atakan standoffs and Nashor standoffs, I do think teams that are just mechanically insane are going to be benefiting so much by it. And I think everybody coming into the season, KC, in terms of how mechanically good they are, they have like the potential to be the best. But in terms of what this start and how Caliste is playing, and like on top of that, like Kana, I think Kana, there's an argument that he might be just like the best performing top laner in the league in terms of how he's playing in current meta. Like that Jace game against G2, I was so damn surprised that he wasn't even in the MVP vote. Like he was playing out of his mind. He was beating BB on side, he was beating Caps on side, and there was this crucial moment in time where he solo killed Caps and burned his flash when all Caps needed to do was like back off and just TP, and they maybe would have just lost the game. Like Kana deserves way more praise. I think Vladi is fantastic. I just love this new era of mid laners with Vladi and Jackie's coming into the picture, bro. I'm very excited about this KC lineup, and I think right now everything is just kind of a perfect storm for them in terms of where the game is and which players they have and how they've kind of put together. So I think in the long run, this KC team can build a lot of momentum to kind of kick out maybe the G2 and the MKOI, but I think they just need to kind of tighten up in terms of how their early game is played out and how they just have like the standard set plays and the standard setups in kind of their just arsenal. I think that's the main thing that is missing. If we somehow could combine KOI's strengths with KC's strength, we would have like just a demon machine, you know, that would just be like, oh, damn, this could be like one of the best teams ever. But obviously it doesn't work that way, you know?
We referenced that on the last episode. That's the other cool thing is last year, the other reason why Caps reigned supreme is his only competition was, can Humanoid have a good regular split? Like, that's whack. That narrative's been so played out for years now. As we said in the last episode, it's Humanoid that I better watch out. Bro, this is like when Larson, Humanoid, fucking Nemesis all came into the league, and suddenly all the other old guard had, like, nuke ducks in the world, had to go, fucking hell, I better get my shit together, or these guys are going to take me over. Like, there's Vladdy, there's Jojo, bro, there's fucking Jackies. Humanoid, you have the best team as well, mate. I think you better get fucking going if you want to stay elite status, or you're not even going to be elite in your region. And then on the Canna one, here's the point I want to make. People take all these rules to roster building as like absolutes, and they forget the guidelines for roster building depend on who your team is, what your budget is, and what players you can attract. So there's a vision, which I agree with, which is if you're like Fnatic or G2, you probably shouldn't sign like a cast-off Korean that they don't want to use, or a second-tier Korean from like a challenger thing or whatever, like a berserker type person. You probably won't win worlds with that. Like you're probably better off taking like an Upset or a Reckless, you know, some Western talent who can then have like better comms with you, cultural fit, etc. That's perceived as the way to win is don't take the second tier Koreans. Bro, that doesn't apply if you can't mean Corp. If you're below the elite level, I'll tell you what, someone like Canna is going to win you way more games domestically than going with like the ERL top lane that's never played fucking top lane, or just some okay top laner that we've had in the past. Like, you know what, even my boy Odoamne, he's a very good player on weak sides. Tell you what, Canna will win you games. Odoamne facilitates other people winning games. So, no, I think people have hated on that angle of importing to Europe. By the way, that only worked, guys, up until like, I don't know, fucking season 7 or season 8 or something. After that, we've seen some very good players come from Korea who weren't necessarily the best in Korea, and they've been great in our league. By the way, Malrang won a fucking championship. I don't think he's good as jungle. Like, it can be done. I do think if you're not the top teams, you can gamble on like good Koreans.
For sure. I think also from Casey's position, right? It's like, in terms of how they manage things, right? It's like they made the conviction, right, to bench me because he wanted to go a specific direction, and they had a vision. And I have full respect for that, because in the end, that's the choice that they can do. But in terms of the pieces that they were working with, like finding Vladi for the academy, even pushing so hard for Caliste in that moment in time, because like when Caliste got brought to the team, that was off of a split where they didn't even make playoffs. Like that LFL split was just a disaster, where they had the former AD from EG, and that team wasn't like working at all. Like they've done like insane gut calls to find the right players, and also in terms of what they needed to spend to get the slot. I imagine from KC's side, it's like in terms of their budget, they need to just play with the pieces that they have. And from Kana's like career perspective, it's like Kana was like a player that would have been forgotten in that moment in time. I imagine it's like all the players they hired in that summer like of last year, like they were like mercenaries, you know. It's like Closer, we mentioned, like he got like a revival. Kana got a revival. Like they looked at the players who were
it's a concept from comics, Suicide Squad. It's the idea of the people where it's like you just have to get together and figure it out, mate. Like no one wants you're being cast away. Like it's like that was like Last Chance Saloon, that squad. By the way, it worked out for most of them. They looked pretty good in that summer.
Yeah. There's a Closer's now doing well on GX, and Kana is playing better than, like, maybe not better than ever, but he's playing like insanely well in the context of his competition, because obviously playing top lane in Korea is just a whole like different game. I think it's true for every role. But just now, in terms of the conviction to stick with Targamas, to put Targamas together with Caliste, it's like nice to see like the vision come together, because I do think like KC, in terms of how they function as an org, like this is the type of momentum that they're going to keep like building on. And I think what's so cool about KC is that the players that they have built around, I think it becomes very rewarding for them to stay. It's like, will there ever be a time in the future, in a couple of years, where like some of these, like Caliste would leave KC ever? I don't know. It's like you become so rooted into the whole lifestyle and the environment and everything that is going on around it that is hard to say. So like, even though we are here in this moment where they are 5-1 and things are looking fantastic with this current roster, I do think, like I made this tweet, I was like, that opening day where like KC played super well, Code played super well, I said this is fantastic for the LEC. But I worded that specifically because I do think it's great for the LEC, but people was like, nah, we're going to suck at Worlds. It's like, yeah, probably this year we're going to suck at Worlds. Like, G2 is not the same. We're going to suck at Worlds, we're going to suck at Internationals. But for what LEC is, it's great because that is the largest volume of games in terms of how we view like the ecosystem and what LEC is in terms of like a product and a brand. For that sake, for that point, I do think we are moving in the right directions. Like the momentum is here. So I'm excited for the future of LEC.
I also hate when people use outliers to describe patterns. By definition, you're literally doing a mathematical error when you do that. The whole point is, if you have a pattern and an outlier is so far outside the range, it wouldn't be, you ignore the outlier. So what people do is they always take the most extreme best person from a region and act like everyone in the region could do that. So I'll give you two examples. One, G2 obviously was the case there because G2 at MSI could have come third. They were fucking SK up. They just couldn't get SKT up. They just couldn't get the win for some reason. So then everyone in EU is going to be, EU is no, all the rest of the EU teams were a fucking joke. Like, team that probably could have beat the other teams that had played the Fnatics every time. But then you go on the NA side, they do the same thing. Hey, what about FlyQuest? You told me the whole year it was Team Liquid, you fucking dickhead. And how did Team Liquid do at the championship? You're just cherry picking which team you get to pick is the one. What you do is you throw a bunch of good darts and then at the end you draw a circle around one and go, see, bullseye. It's like, it doesn't work that way. You have to have the dartboard set up and then throw it. And if you miss, you miss. Guess what? NA, you represented Team Liquid. That was going to be your team with Macro. You missed. You missed. You didn't get anything at fucking MSI, EWC, fucking World, nothing. FlyQuest did it, but that had nothing to do with you. So don't do that. I've even thought, by the way, even Korea's done this before. Korea has this crazy reputation, Yamato, of like, that's where all the clutch players come from. No, that's where Faker comes from. Once you take Faker out of it, where the other greatest players ever in LCK are these players, Yamato. Khan. Oh, is he clutched as fuck internationally? Are you having a laugh? He'd have the fucking greatest resume ever of top player if he was. He has none of the international titles. Peanut, 1 billion LCK titles. Every team he touches just wins LCK. We all know he's probably lost on a number one team going to Worlds like 5 times, bro. It's actually crazy. You go down the list, Trophy on in a regular season game looks like the best player to ever play League. Never even sniffed a final of a fucking international competition except for that MSI win. Like, bro, you go down the list. Even Deft used to have some problems at Worlds. Like, what you're doing is taking the outlier and all trying to take credit for it. I used to be really mean to the Brazilian CS fans. I used to, and I still do. Mitch Hedberg joke. But what I used to say was this. When they finally had a team that became number one in the world, I would go, oh, all you fans are getting really proud right now. You're all talking shit because of that team being number one. Actually, what you've proven is the rest of you suck because you don't have number 2, number 3, number 4 are also in the top 10. It's only those 5 players are awesome. They're unicorns. And the rest of you are just fucking normal horses. You're not even fucking close to that level. You've actually proven your country isn't that good at CS. Because the difference is if you went to Denmark, Sweden, there was times when they could have 3 teams in the top 5 or 3 teams in the top 10. That shows regional strength. Regional strength is judged on an aggregate across the league. So here's the example I would give. Everyone wonders, why does Thorin? They actually think me and Dom are like LPL glazers. They go, you always say the LPL is better than LCK. Yeah, notice I didn't say the best LPL team is. Because the difference is the LPL every year can send 4 teams to Worlds that it's like even the 4th one is a dark horse to like do a deep run, like a Weibo or whatever, any of the teams out there. If you look at LCK, plenty of 3rd and 4th seeds that are just irrelevant in the tournament. Their best teams won it a bunch of times. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. So I think regional strength has to go on the strength of the overall region. So in a sense, the overall region is going to be better, Yamato. I could see us sending 3-4 teams that are really fucking good this year. But I'll tell you what, we're not unfortunately going to have the unicorn team, it looks like, that's just going to be sick and win it. And yes, I'm not even going to... Listen, it's just because of humanoid, I'll be real. Because of humanoid and Ascardin, I'm not going to get silly and say Fnatic will do it. Listen, I want it for the opposite and Mickey so badly, but let's be reasonable. Let's be reasonable. They're not on my hit list or anything. They haven't fucked me or anything, but just don't
like to add like some hope Like I think just like the conversation we had so many times already, like new generation of mid laners, some new exciting talents. I think this is so good for the future of the league, because I do think that we had a couple of years where it kind of died down, especially like 2020, 2021. Like that's where like a lot of players, like key players, like I think that experience needs to be it needs to be transitioned and given. It's like the passing of the torch needs to happen real time. It's like the players need to be allowed to play against Perks mid, Caps mid, Nemesis mid. It's like they were supposed to be playing against Jizuke, Nemesis, Caps, and so forth in that moment in time, but it just didn't happen. Like that passing of the torch just didn't happen. So I'm happy that we have exciting talents, and I think maybe it's like building on this one into the next year. Maybe there's a future there. Maybe there's something exciting there. I can definitely see it. But now, you know, we need to consolidate and be rational, because in the end, it's like the teams that are built in LCK are fucking scary. Some of the LPL teams will be scary. It's like we will not know exactly which those three are, but whoever comes out of that format, whoever's going to be winning, like the gauntlet in the end to qualify to the World Championship, it's like there's going to be demons, because all of those teams got to be required to win like at least a couple of best of fives against really, really strong competitions. Whoever comes out of LPL, impossible to predict besides probably Billy. Those teams are going to be fantastic too. So the competition is very, very stiff. And I just wanted to add on the point about like the LPL LCK comparison. It's like, it bothers me so much when people or like fans paint a story to detract from what T1 actually like accomplished. It's like painting the picture the LPL is so trash just detracts from the story. Yes. It's like T1 beat 4 LPL teams to make it when none of their like let's say colleagues from their region could do the same. It's like GenG fell through and so forth. Like they couldn't beat them. You remove T1 from the pool and you look at the win ratio of LPL versus LCK. It's like there's nothing. It's like even last year at Worlds, it's like kkOma Life was like the trampoline to get all of the LPL teams into the damn fucking playoffs. You know, it's like it's not the same. It's like T1 is definitely like the outlier, and to praise LPL correctly and to paint the story correctly makes the story so much more legendary, because it's like to be that guy is like, I told you T1 would have won Worlds. It's just boring. It's just boring, honestly.
Agree. Yes. Also, I'll just say this. If you are an NA fan, cover your ears. This is your nightmare. You know that like, he's back in like horror movies. Europe is based around mid laners. If you want a quick history lesson on League of Legends, it goes like this. LCK produces carry top laners that are the best, and the ADCs often played weak side. You didn't have many Deaths and Vipers, actually. Typically, they just played like the utility ADC style and played for the team fight, and you played to these carry tops that were the legends of the game. LPL was all about the monster ADCs. Your team fought around them. I would say in the latter day, they've had a lot of carry top laners themselves. Haven't had that many great mid laners, though. Haven't had as many legendary junglers. NA, the joke used to be they had AD carries, but that was mainly just double lift Wild Turtle and I don't know, fucking I'm a Cutie Pie or whatever a million years ago. What was Europe? Europe was mid lane and mid jungles. First of all, we have some spicy junglers, but mid lane is back in Europe. Here's a statement that if you hear it, you will realize it is legit. On Rogue, they are bad. They don't fit together, but Larson is not bad. He even clearly just plays the conservative style, and some games he's in the game, but they can't win it because he doesn't play super aggro style, and everyone else is a maniac. If Larson is your 6th or 7th best mid laner, your fucking mid lane pool is rocking, my dude. This mid lane pool in Europe is back. This is like the prime, bro, of when you first became a coach, of when it was like you could go like Nuke Duck into fucking Jizuki, into Caps, Perks, all these other guys fucking expect it. You think about the legend mid laners, you can go 20 names deep in Europe. We've got some people who are bangers, bro. Europe's back. And that means, like you said about the LPL, whoever gets out are going to be the cracked mid laners. They're the ones you're going to be proud to watch play against the LPL and the LCK. And you're going to know, by the way, if they get the right fucking champion and the jungler gets them ahead and it's someone who's got some like fucking a jackies, it's going to have a game where he pops off. He's going to have a game where he actually fucking slaps like Zika or something like that. It's going to be fucking sick. So even though they might not win, I'm with you, there's hope. At least we can be competitive in the games. They were just getting shit on from minute 1 to the end of the fucking past one's arsehole worlds. Right, let's pivot. We did a bunch of LEC. We don't need to talk about that too much because, good news, the Best Damn League show will be returning this week with a different host, and I'll tell you more about it then. And obviously that show, we talk about way more of the teams in LEC, so it's all good. We won't double up. Let's talk a bit about, we didn't do it last week, LTA. because already they were the source, before we even get to it, of some of the drama. You might have seen, look, he was doing it partly comedically, but you probably saw, because there was this whole discourse, Mark Z was commenting on it, Captain Flowers made a video, there's this whole thing about lane swaps, right? Where the joke Captain Flowers was making, hey, you know what? He's a little bit... If you don't know him, he's like a farm boy. He's a kind of a simple guy. You know what I mean? He's the kind of guy you'd drink a really big beer with and watch a game and go, hell yeah, America. He isn't the guy I'd go, can you do my taxes for me? You know what I mean? I wouldn't go that far. That's being polite, actually. I don't know why he's talking shit to me. Fuck him. But basically, he tried to do a thing where it was like lane swaps suck because then you don't get to see the person against the other top laner. You have to see them in a weird swap. And then that's not why I watch League of Legends for, blah, 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 all these arguments, right? And then his joke was, 2v2 in the bot lane is red-blooded American League of Legends. Now, there's two things that are hilarious about that aspect, which is that, one, anyone who knows the history of League of Legends knows the reason why NA couldn't compete, even though they had the best teams in the world, against EU at Season 1 Championship, is because EU pioneered the bot lane meta of 2v2. And NA still thought you could play one player there, like the mid laner sometimes, and they thought that was how the game was played. So one, hilarious. Problem is, he was probably like 11 years old, picking up a hay bale with a fucking piece of straw at his mouth going, yeehaw, when the fucking king come, pa? I can't, oh, he throws the hay bale, there's another 4 hay bales back there, it's fucking straw, he's burning a straw man with his, the brand comes in with, he's probably doing some shit like that, who the fuck knows? So anyway, the point is he didn't know that. And then secondly, I'll just put this out there. Do you want to know who 2 of the most influential Western figures ever are for lane swap, my dude, Captain Flowers? I'll give you another lesson. You weren't there. You might be watching as a fan on Twitch TV. So it goes with probably ad block, you wanker. I'm just blaming it for shit he hasn't done now. That's not even true. Who knows? But by the way, we all had ad block back in the day. Right? Maybe some of us still do. Who knows? So I'm not caught. You can't compel me to speak. I plead the fifth in your country, the United States of America. So there's 2 details. Monte Cristo, if you don't know, when he coached CLG, they lane swap all day long, mate. They basically broke the game at one point in time where it was like the push 2 towers thing at the top thing. They lane swap all day long to the point that, like, they could just win the whole game off it when the draft was wrong. And then the person he used to implement that and kept it going in League was Afromu. Afromu was one of the best ever. No one wanted to do that shit on the map. And when they split that, he could do it. So even though it came as a joke, I do think they're hitting a bigger topic here. I think some people don't like lane swaps. I think that's why it got taken out the game in the first place. I think Riot thinks it's not good because you'll never see it in solo queue. People can't coordinate it. What are your thoughts on the lane swaps? Are you pro? Are you against? What do you think of this discussion?
I do think that it comes at a cost in the sense that I do think that we are enabled to play more bot lane matchups because I do think it turned into degeneracy at some point in terms of making the bot lane matchups winning. Like I don't think it's super interesting to see League of Legends games where you play Varus and Ashe against Caliste. Like I can't think of like some crazy lane support like Duncan or whatever, like something just such a deep cut, because that was also degeneracy, right? It's like this was what like T1 was playing, and it was just all about just skewing yourself so hard into winning the bot lane matchup, and you just didn't care about anything else because of just the impact it had on the rest of the game. I am happy that that is no longer the case because it carries a lot more risk because you need to be in the matchups. But the cost of that, of course, is that top laners now, it's like, oh, you need to be a bulky champion that functions in low economy and high economy, and you need to be able to survive dives, and you need to just be kind of OP in the sense that you are useful in any case. It's like Jace only functions now because he has a tank build, right? So he can get away with itemizing specifically for more situations, which makes the counters for Jace not as apparent, because in the past it was like, oh, the enemy team has Jace, we can just skew our composition to like Malphite and Ornn and go 20 CS behind and be fine because he's going to be just another target for us, but that is just not the case anymore. So for me, it just comes at a price. I do miss, the plain old, the 1v1s with the deep counters, like Zeus doing that. It's like seeing Zeus winning the World Championship last year and the way he did is very boring in comparison to the previous year, because the previous year it was all about the counter picks, like the Yone into the Aatrox, and he was always just like a little bit ahead on the meta with his Aatrox picks and his Gwen picks and so forth, and that is just not the part of the game anymore. So you just have to kind of pick your poison. I do think that if there is a very simple solution, it's like they could just make the top lane XP and mid lane XP, like the first 3 minutes, you get less if you share XP.
You need
and
to
then
have
it's
solo
gone.
learners.
It's just gone. Like, so swapping is just gone completely. And the variant of it would just come at such a great cost experience-wise that it just wouldn't be worth. They could remove it. But now in the current state with the turrets being stronger, like that's a key difference, made it so much easier to do lane swapping. Because I think that's always Riot's focus. They want to make the aspects of the game that are there just easy. Like they made team fighting more approachable with the map changes. Now they made lane swapping much easier because there's literally only 2 variants. There's like the hard swap with the late invade where you attack the enemy camps and then the enemy needs to split map and dive you, or you take the camps on your side and it's a soft swap and you play the defensive game into, of course, just defending your top lane under the turret. So they've made it easier, but where I fall on the question, I guess it kind of depends on what players play. Like I've been in Zeus or in the lobby, I'm fucking sick of lane swaps. But if we have like bot lane players that are capable of playing Twitch or whatever, and they can kind of get through the hard parts of the game just so we see new elements and another layer, that makes me happy. So I'm kind of torn. I'm split. It just depends on the players for me. And currently, if I think about the pool of players, probably I'm more excited to see crazy AD carry play and crazy support play, because in the end, there's 2 down there. Where do you fall on this, Thorin?
The problem is, this is where me and Monty are quite aligned, actually. I always want every esports game to contain a multitude of styles. I don't want one to be super overtuned, so everyone just plays one. I want it to be where, like, for example, one thing I used to love about old League of Legends before the Dragons, where they made the Elemental Dragons, was you had a choice. So in North America, they only ever played 5v5 front-to-back team fight and went to Baron. But if you were in Europe and you had Nuke Doc, fucking Wonder, Perks, you played side lane, you used pressure, you could now win on the map with a different draft, you could win without a matchup in the middle that wins. You just have to get that champion to the point where it can put the pressure on, and you can even sometimes, if you have like Mythi, etc. on your team, you can win with just taking towers, mate, and just sort of like let the game win for you. Because as the classic quote I will always re-quote from 2012, Chowster said this, the old CLG support, he said, League of Legends is not a game about like kills and something like gold or something. I think he said something like it's a game of minions, minion waves and turrets. And if you understand that, you will know that it's not just like fight and then whoever wins the team fight wins the game. It's not just smash the lane and then win the game. No, it's like, how do you use the minion pressure? How do you relieve the pressure? How do you like cause someone to have a fight where they think it's like an even fight because we both back off, but I took the tower, and I keep doing that. And over time, if you ever actually go and watch when TSM plays Frost at Season 2 Worlds, this happens. TSM has loads of kills. They keep upping kills. They just keep losing all their towers. And at the end of the game, it's sort of like, fuck, how did we lose? Like, I thought we were in this. It's like, yeah, because where you fought, even if you'd won that last team fight, you wouldn't have won the map because they had all their towers up and you had all yours down. There was a layer of League of Legends you didn't understand. So I want there to be multiple styles available. I say the same thing in Counter-Strike. Look, I love when a superstar player in Counter-Strike is just locked in and he's like, just get the fuck out my, it's like Michael Jordan, give me the ball, get the fuck out my way, let me do this. And he just eviscerates the opposing team. So I want you to be able to play a brawly shooting style with firepower emphasized, but I don't want tactical play to go away. I want the team out there that doesn't even have the best players, but they have such a fucking sick way of playing together. The calls are on point. They're reading the game like a quarterback, conditioning the opponent. So they set up the deep ball, as it were. I love that too. I want both to exist though, because I think they actually play off each other very, very well. Same with MMA. In the early days of UFC, for real, they used to have the ref stand fucking fighters up who were wrestlers and jiu-jitsu people who were working and were going to get a sob or win the round because they were like, this is boring, the crowd's booing. It's like, all you're doing is making it boxing and kickboxing now. You're just making it so people can't do that. If the guy can't get up, didn't Khabib's whole career show this? If he can't get up, tough shit. That's his problem, mate. He better get ready for 4 more rounds of being held down the whole time, using all his energy trying to get up. That's his fault. Khabib's doing something good there. That should be allowed. And at the same time, if you could have caught Khabib right away with a knockout, you might have knocked him out. That's the beauty of the sport right there, mate. So I want it all to be available. So I hate this shit where people are just sitting around. I just decided this should be banned. This is the problem with this generation. You know what makes greatness is you identify something lacking or that you don't like in yourself, you work on it and you transcend and make it something strong. So it's no longer a weakness that you project onto the world. They just look at the world and go, I don't like this, so everyone else must change. The world must change. Ban it. Don't allow it. That's whack. That's not the way we're about expression. That's what games are at their highest. I've said this quote before. At their highest possible level, esports games are vehicles for human potential. They are to show what you are capable of as a human. If that means you are a Picasso with your hands, like Caliste may one day end up being, or Forgiven was, I want to see you show me your hands. If you're someone who's a genius like Mythy, where even when his hands didn't exist anymore, he was like fucking Professor X controlling the team in the map. Yeah, come in, Storm. It's time to come forwards for the. That's fucking insane shit, bro. I love that. I want it all to exist, all at the same time.
I'm with you,
I like the way at the end. You're like, if I want it all. I want it all, Yamato. I want it all.
I'm with you 100%, bro. I think that's the best part about League in the terms about development is that it's like I spoke to Froxen at like a Riot party when I was in London for the World Finals, like the one of the main devs of like basically League patching and so forth. And they basically never want to be in a position where they like create those heavy-handed solutions, like changing the XP of the minions, because they don't want to create too much convolution in terms of what the game is. And at the same time, they don't want to remove the opportunity for teams and players to kind of break the game and reinvent the game. Like we've had so many moments where we had, for example, the funnel meta. We had Wunder playing like the supports top in terms of just going spell thieves and roaming and abandoning top. Like I think those little capsules of like breaking the game, I think is very, very fun. I think over the long term, I do think that if the meta forever was supports top and all we saw like Jannas with spell thieves edge, I think the game would slowly die. But I think it is good that there is opportunity for that in the game. That's why like I welcome a change, even though I think the Atakan thing is weird. It is bold enough to maybe, you know, make us rethink some things that all players have taken for granted. The same thing with Fearless. It's like Fearless in itself removes from the precision, but maybe in this whole Fearless experiment now in winter, maybe, just maybe we will get some new champions that we haven't seen before, or some new elements that will be added to the overall game, because things just spread like wildfire. It's like NIP did the lane swap with Photic, right? And all of a sudden everyone picked that up and it just changed the whole meta game. Or where Keria played AD's bot and everyone was scrambling at the World Championship to kind of catch up. Like I love that part of the game. I love it. And I wonder sometimes if you and me are in the minority, because I know from Riot side, they're trying to make the game like in the esports sense be as accessible as possible. But when I see something new, I am very interested. But maybe for the average viewer, they're thinking, oh, this lane swap, I don't fucking understand this. I never play lane swap games in my own games. But honestly, on my end, it's like, you mentioned Michael Jordan, but it's like I'm not thinking about how I dunk. It's like I don't want the rim to be lower because I can't jump, you know. I'm happy to see greatness unfold with things that maybe, you know, at the time I cannot execute myself. You know, that's for me the beauty of sport. Exactly how you mentioned it and how you said it is like it's the measurement of man. That's what competition is, you know, against one another in a playing field that should be even with opportunities. Don't get me started on the blue side, red side, because that's a whole ass fucking rabbit hole. So I'm gonna end it there.
I'll even say as well, that's where, in my opinion, Riot's always been short-sighted, because anytime an evolution happens, all those ones you listed, they basically halted those being in the game. They just changed the game so it could not be done anymore, because they didn't want that to be the way it went. By the way, there's been a million like these. I referenced one earlier. There used to be one back in the day in like season 4, 2014, where CLG and all the teams, you would just go on opposite sides of the map and push down the first tower. That's all you would do at the beginning of the game. Then there was a meta where you had like double jungle. You would go and do that one. Then there was the meta where there was like fucking, I can't remember the item now. What's that like burning thing as the fucking jungler that you would build up over time and eventually it would get super OP, the jungle item. I forget what it's called. Everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
No. It was like Wriggles Lantern.
Flare something?
Feral Flare. One that used to farm on like a Shyvana jungle or something like that. That used to be OP. As soon as these things come in the game, Riot just immediately goes, that's not how you play the game. And they get rid of Get that back. Put that back in the toy box. Like some fucking naughty kindergarten teacher. And what they don't get is, like a kindergarten teacher, well, yeah, you're just dealing with little kids. there's adults in the room, right? They know what they fucking do with these tools. So here's the problem you have. In the short term, you're right, Yamato. Some fans not going to understand the depth of a lane swap or why it's genius or what was different even about how they drafted, knowing they might do a lane swap and then how they caught. Here's the other thing. People act like, this is what I can't handle about Mark Z and fucking Captain Flowers' bozo take. You act like every single time it's guaranteed the lane swap works. You don't know lane swaps then, bro. You don't know what you're talking about. The reason why that whole G2 BDS thing was like, did they leak it? It's because the way they guessed where the people would be to get the clue that it was the lane swap immediately was so on the fucking nose. It's bonkers. Like, if that was a coincidence, holy fuck. And I've heard it wasn't. I've heard it was a leak. And that they just knew, and that's why they went to exactly that spot. And then they spotted out the correct one. Because remember, you don't just go to the other lanes, dickheads, out of the fucking fountain. You fake it. You go on the map, you set up like a level 1, and then what you're going to try and do is trick them that you went back to top off the like fog of war, but really you went bottom, and then suddenly they show on lane. Too late. He can't just back instantly, can he? He has to just play 1v2, and we know the way that one plays out. Then the junglers can come, all the rest of that shit. So first of all, it's certainly not like some easy shit you can execute. Spoiler, loads of NA teams couldn't even fucking execute. I don't know why. By the way, plenty of LEC teams couldn't do it either. That's all good. So the idea that like we have to kick out the game. Also in the short term, say the fan doesn't understand it. Bro, I watch like NFL. I don't understand all the tactics the first few years I watched. How would I? How would I understand what the outright is and how you set it up and why they do like this call, etc.? By the way, if you even watch modern soccer used to just be 4-4-2. You bang it up the pitch, you get it to the striker, and he takes a shot from anywhere. Now it's all this shit of like 7 million passes of build-up play, and you've got to have like people in certain zones, and then you're playing like you're not even playing one-on-one half the time as a position. So that already a fan can't understand that. He just understands goals and who loses, and people tell him when to cheer. The point is, you want depth to the game because that's what keeps fans in the game. Depth is what can allow you to talk about a game forever. If you only have, think about this, if you only have what a guy who's been watching for 1 year or 1 week can understand, then what the fuck are you going to be enjoying 10 years in? It's going to be really simplistic and boring by definition. So you will appeal to him short term, but that's why you'll then lose fans. You'll lose all the legacy fans. Speaking of which, perfect segue, LTA just announced good news. The viewership went up. But that's because if you ever see the graph, Monty showed me one, there's a graph of the beginning of LCS time. Bro, they used to be at like 600k average viewers, 500k, 400k, and it's gone down. And in the latter eras, now it's an amazing time if they get 140,000. That's amazing for the LCS. It's gone up again from like past seasons, but it's gone up because it had gone so far down. They'd given up they used to be, if people don't know, they killed the EU LCS for viewership. It's not even fucking close because all the EU fans used to stay up after LEC and watch that fucking league as well. So the good news is it's gone up. Like, what are your thoughts on viewership in LTA in general? Where are we going on the LTA topic?
Honestly, you need to explain it to me like I'm 5. In terms of the viewership, what is the magic they've pulled to push the numbers? Because it's always weird with numbers. It's like, I don't know if are they judging like South as well? Is that involved in the calculation?
It's separate. I'll give you a thing you can read here, right? So LTA North has 148,000 peak viewers, and the average is 98, so not bad. South, by the way, because it has like Brazilians and all the fucking massive fan base, that has 254,000 peak and 140. Ooh. But that's also because they always had great viewership and all that shit there. But for the North one, the North one's the one that's essentially LCS. That's the one I'm sort of referring to here. I don't know why it would be. I'm not sure what it is. I've no angle on it myself, mate.
So in my mind, what I know about like FlyQuest and Shopify Rebellion, right? Like I do believe like Moist Critical and Ludwig were like involved, and that can like inflate things. It's always like weird in terms of like numbers being. It was the same. Like I remember like the conversations around the LEC. It's like, oh, we fired 50% of everybody who works here, but our viewership is going up. Like I can hear those like boardroom meetings about like executives patting on their back. It's like, look at us, and in reality, it's just Casey and Koi coming into the league. And like Kameto and Ibai just co-streaming with like full engagement on it, you know? And it's like when you bring in someone like Ludwig and Moist Critical and the numbers go up, it's just like always so weird because I have no idea how always with these conversations about viewership and formats and whatever, that they try to present the sample size of even 1 year as something like tangible. I remember like when they tried to sell us on the whole, it's like, let's move the LTA or LCS to the weekdays. That's going to work great for us because there's no other league. So we're going to attract all the fans from everywhere. It's like, like how do you even figure out after 1 year that made sense or didn't make sense. It's like you need time, you need volume, because there's going to be like freak events that are going to, you know, add excitement, whether it's like international success. It's like, I'm sure like FlyQuest doing well at Worlds makes them a lot more interesting to watch. It's like, oh, FlyQuest, I want to watch them play. The last time we saw them play was against GenG. That also adds to the fact. But then you have like people that make decisions, pat themselves on the back for things that might just be like an anomaly. And I imagine like Moist Critical and Ludwig getting involved. These are massive creators. I'm sure they pulled some audience too, because I believe that they did co-stream like the opening games, right?
There you go. By the way, yes, that's also the other Fugazi angle. Spoiler, they used to brag a lot in Europe as well. When Ibai left, magically the viewership went straight down. So what do you expect? That's not your league doing it. It's something else added to it. By the way, what we're pointing out here is Moist Critical, Ludwig, and Ibai have their own audiences. It's not just your audience watching more. So you can't then take credit as the league. Like, you can take credit for introducing these people to it, I guess. But I would just say there, where's Ibai? He's fucking off doing boxing or something. You got a better offer with a bigger crowd. So here's the one thing I would pivot to here, which is, did you watch any of the matches?
I caught them all.
I want to address this angle, because you know what? Another person on my hit list, Yamato, is Bwipo. You were aware of that beef, surely?
Yeah. That was just in the period where I started working with Bwipo.
Yeah, so that's the reason why there was a certain deleted episode of the Crackdown. People will know this beef from the past. Anyway, I won't get into it now. But the point is, a mixture of that plus then some of the like trash talk he's had to other people that sometimes I thought was quite unfair. And spoiler, I'm not going to go deep on it, mate, but you did make this public. I didn't. There's the whole thing with his girlfriend, who I think was being a bit of an idiot, was trying to be like a Lady Macbeth, controlling things behind the scenes and causing problems in teams. I just know some of the stories inside the teams, homie. What do you want about that bitch? So I'm not a fan of this guy in general in that sense. Sad thing is, I was always a fan of his game. I actually really love like streaky top laners who go for like crazy plays. They don't just play the matchup out boring like LCK top laners would. They'll even do the thing where it's like the bounce int to win, and you get through the first couple of deaths because you know if you hit this power spike an item, then you can suddenly do something in the game. I actually vibe with that. I've always said when he was in the team with Reckless, I actually think people don't know in that Nemesis lineup, he was like the Band-Aid. He used to actually roam bottom on Sion to fucking give Reckless a gank with Illisang. Like, shit that no one has to do as a top laner. That's extracurricular and a half, mate. But here's the thing. You're all going to think, because of that stupid shit he said last year when he was possibly having a mental break, all that crazy shit he said on stream before Worlds, you're all going to think I'm going to hate on him for trash talking Shopify Rebellion and LTA, aren't you? Wrong. Here's why. That's totally legit trash talk. He is in the best team who is setting and pushing the edge and cutting edge of LTA, LCS level play. He's just done way more, and he's done way more in his career than any of these players in LTA have. Shopify Rebellion are just some players in the LCS, essentially. Just some all right players. Not even all right, they're just They're just There's some players, not that great. And the region does look like they're like dodging scrims against FlyQuest. If you dodge scrims against the best team in your region, you don't deserve to go into an international tournament. Because I'll tell you what, you're going to dodge the scrims against T1, then you're never going to do anything at the fucking tournament, bro. So you are a fucking loser to a man if you dodge scrims against the best team in your region. That should be your dream. You should fucking be kissing their feet like they were Jesus, bro, that you were even allowed to scrim against them and have a chance to learn from what they've just brought back from Worlds, what the level of their players, their veterans, their stars have. So when he trash talked them, I thought that was legit as fuck, bro. I actually thought his way of trash talking was right on the money too. He was challenging people as well. He was sort of saying like, well, come and fucking show me then. Actually show something. If you want to do bullshit in the game and you didn't scrim me, well then that's your fault for not knowing how I play and what that champion would do against me. I thought this was some great trash talk. And I saw the people, bro, the crowd was like crickets, like, and a few people like, boo, he's being mean. North America will never win a competition in League of Legends as long as to be competitive and have fire is to be mean. We're not in kindergarten, dickhead. He doesn't have to go to timeout for being mean to Billy. This is like a fucking UFC. We're here to smash each other's heads in to kill the other guy's dreams. Do you understand that? This is why I would be a different coach to you, Yamato. What I would tell them when we have a bitter loss, when we get crushed in the playoffs by some Dylan Falco team, is I'd say, gentlemen, You want me to tell you now, you did a great season. You came second. You were in the finals. You are putting resume points on the board. We had a lot of great practices. We overcame things. But no, I don't want you to avoid this pain. I don't want to tell you it's okay to lose this match. I want you to sit for 10 minutes and just think about this pain you're feeling right now, about how much it fucking sucks to play all season long, play all those scrims, have all those times when we talked about what would work, and we talked about how we were going to beat them, and we talked about what we could do, and we talked about how we believed in each other, and how it was our time to win. And then we got there, and what did they do? They killed our fucking dreams. You know what we're going to do next season? We're going to kill their fucking dreams. Next time, we're going to make them be sat in the locker crying. We're going to make them ask, is this even the right team for me? Should I even play fucking League of Legends? Am I anything in this game? Because the way my fucking soul was just owned by that other guy right there, oh my God, that wasn't even just a video game. That's what I want people to feel. And instead, everyone wants to do this thing of like, my opponents were good. Well done to them. And I guess I did better. I got lucky in this game, I guess. And shut the fuck up. It's not fucking Chuck E. Cheese, bitch. It's not your birthday. This is fucking hardcore League of Legends.
Nah, bro. It's like, well, what something that has always bothered me a little bit is that Pete did such a good job of like doing the Legends in action, like very, very nice. He portrayed everyone super, super good and so forth. It's like all the times I fucking flamed the shit out of the players was never there. It's like the amount of times I said, guys, we're so fucking shit. You should feel shame. You should feel pain. It's like, I don't know how many times I've told the players at the end of something, it's like, because I would be very, very in line with your thinking. It's like, it depends on the mood, right? It depends on the players, depends on what you judge they need to hear in that moment. But there's been many moments where I like, the pain you're feeling now, I want you to feel it. I want you to not be able to sleep the next days. I want you to experience it fully. And then it's like those scars, you need to feel that pain as you go through practice. You need to have it as a big fucking picture frame because it needs to drive what you do. Because it either kills you or makes you better. There's like no other way around it, And it's like on the point of Whipster, like, it was so obvious that Bwipo was waiting to be back on top again for such a long time. Because it seemed so obvious that he saw it as a great responsibility in the sense that, if you're the best team, you are basically the one with, like, basically everyone's gunning for you, right?
Yeah.
And how high those other teams need to aim is largely dependent on you. So you carry a
responsibility. I agree. Yeah.
You carry a great responsibility. Absolutely. And have that awareness is super, super good because Bwipo, it seemed like he just unleashed like years of thinking all of these shit things that are bad about the ecosystem. Like, he didn't have the most amount of grace in terms of what he said. But I think everyone,
it's like he actually wants the space to improve. Yeah, of course.
100%. And it's like it's like he didn't say it with the most grace, but everyone knows that it's the truth. It's like the points he made about the LEC players not working hard enough, and there's a lot of players that just kind of they are just okay with the status quo and they're not pursuing or pushing for something great. That was very, very true. What he said about, like, in terms of what the other teams should do in terms of challenge them is also super, super true. Because I think what's so unique about LTA and Team Liquid and FlyQuest, I think what they do so good in comparison to the LEC teams is that when they play the worst teams, they beat the shit out of them. It's like G2 last year, they were the best team in Europe, but they had sloppy games, trash games. They were like dropping games. They lost against Fnatic in a BO5. We all knew in the end they would win, but there wasn't a sentiment of like inspiration. It was like, ooh, they look at the dominance. It's like FlyQuest and Team Liquid, especially FlyQuest. It's like the games they played this weekend, they played against Shopify Rebellions. It's like they made a point to make a statement. And I feel like this has been true for the last 2 years. In summer, the same thing. It's like when FlyQuest and Team Liquid play against the worst teams, it was like average, like 28-minute games. They smashed the shit out of them and they made them like feel embarrassed. And I think that's so good. I think that's so important. I don't want my best teams in LEC to play trash against the worst team, because we do see that quite often. It's like Fnatic playing sloppy, G2 playing sloppy. I do think this is like the main thing that I like about just LTA. So I do think they have great examples there. I'm not so sure about the streaming of scrims, because it's like the streaming of scrims, it's like, I like it because in the end, the content is king. Like, content is king. It's like, in terms of what the LEC is and the LTA is, in terms of being like competitive on a world scale, I don't think it's going to take away from that. It's like how good you're going to be when you go to the internationals. It's not going to take away from that. I'm not going to be able to, you know, as a coach, let's say I coach in Korea and I play against Flacos at the World Championship. I'm not going to go through all of their scrims from fucking months ago about things they've played when the footage is right there, right? Maybe you find some habits, maybe you don't. But the point is that those habits get challenged real time just because they're in the open. And for me, I'm at the point in time where I think back to season 1 and 2, and when everything was just in the open, everything was streamed. Like it was very, very enjoyable to like attach yourself to the story of teams and players because everything was just in the open. So I'm torn in terms of the competitive edge, but the question is, does it fucking matter? Like if people enjoy watching this, isn't this what matters? And if you have some habits that are bullshit, maybe it's good that you get called out on them early. And if you're going to lose a game or a set because of it, maybe in the long run, it's going to benefit you.
What I would say is this. If I was the coach of Noah and he pulled that shit that he did before of like the fucking, hey, I will win and shut you all up. It's like, you know what, mate? I'd just come in and go, there you go. At the end of this last game, he'd come to his locker and there'd just be some, what's this? That's a bus ticket. Get the fuck out. There you go, bus ticket. Listen, if you'd have carried 2 games, it'd be a train ticket, but it's a bus ticket for you, mate. It's not even a good bus. Not even like a Korean bus, like Wi-Fi, fucking air conditioning. It's a fucking bus in Berlin. Get the fuck out. See ya. Hit the bricks, homie. You know what? And you're Korean too, bro. One, you should be ashamed. You know, in Korea, by the way, this is going to sound really harsh because I'm definitely not saying this is what you should do. Well, a lot of people don't know this about Korea. I'll never tell anyone to practice like Koreans because in Korean culture, it produces excellence, like unlike anything you'll see. And what it also produces is things like mass depression and suicide. Because when you're the people competing and you don't make it and you fail to make the grade, you don't get into Seoul University. You just get 2 A's and a B, not 3 A's. The pressure on some of these people, it's too much. People crack. I've always said the only reason like they can get away with it and we can't in the West is because in the West, if someone cracks like Danny did in EG, there's only 1 or 2 Dannies in the league. Suddenly you're going to notice, holy fuck, we broke this guy. What are we doing with this system? In Korea, they can go bring in the next guy. There's 50 more Dannies waiting to come into our league. So if he can't handle it, get the guy who can. It's like war. You don't give a fuck in those leagues. You're very brutal and ruthless with people there. So first of all, if you know, how can you even handle being this bad in fucking LEC, mate? That's not near the level that you were playing at. You were trying to be an LCK player and be probably playing T1 one day. That fucking dream's gone. Don't even know if you could get in Challenger T1 at this point in time. Literally, because the Smash guy is good if people don't.
Brother, how did we get back on the topic of Noah, bro?
Because I'm going back to this. Then the other thing is, like, I actually do think that you should like hold players accountable. Now, the way, and here's the reason why. I would hope it's the case for you as well. That's because if I'm the coach, here's what I would also have told my players on day 1 I walk in the office. Day 1 I walk in, right? All of you here, whether or not you were my first choice or not, whether or not this is the best lineup possible in the league, if we don't accomplish my goals, then I failed. Even if it turns out you play badly, the strategy doesn't come together, our practices don't come together, it might not always be my fault, but it's my responsibility. I'm the coach of this project. By the way, if we win, I'm also going to get credit. I'm going to be told I'm one of the greatest coaches of all time. I'm a genius. I'm the reason why this org done. The org's going to give me a bigger contract and more money. So you know what? At the end of all of this, when I tell you all your shit, if we all come forth, I'll also then turn around and go, I was shit too. And you know what? Maybe I wouldn't even be here next year. I'd also own it like that. That's why, if people don't know, this is why in war, you can't have cowards with you. You can't have people that you can't test. If you have a barracks and a military training system, you have to be harsh because you have to weed out the guy who's going to break. The guy who's sort of like, oh, I prefer comfort. I don't like to get cold and in the rain and I'm hurt. Help, stop. Like, no, you have to have the guy who just keeps going because we have to depend on each other. If we're out there on the battlefield and I know you're watching my back while I take a position, I can't have someone who's just fucking looking around and then someone shoots me in the side of the head with a sniper bullet. We've all got to be accountable. So that includes the coach too, by the way. If I'm going to be harsh to the players, I'll take it on myself. We fail at the end. I failed too then, boys. I'm part of the reason why we didn't do it, right? You on the same train?
I'm with you 100%. I think this was like one of the bigger regrets I had when in like the KC time. Because it's like usually, it's like in my career always, I like to figure people out. And then usually it's like always in my career, it's like Spring Street starts slow and then always my teams peaks towards summer. It's like it was the same with Splice, it was the same with Vitality. It's like we went from 4th place to 3rd place. In Splice, we were on relegation. In the second split, we were 2nd place, right? It's like I like to figure people out. With how the format was, it's like I needed to press the players way, way harder in the sense of making sure that they understand what is actually on the line every single fucking day. So I needed to make sure that they understand. It's like Saka and Cabo, you guys played in ERLs and people were waiting for this fucking moment for a long time. Either you make it now or you break it now. And this needs to shine through and bleed through in everything that we do. Same thing for Upset, same thing for Bo, same thing for every single player there. It's like there was so much on the line that I needed to push them that they keep it always on their sleeve. Because that was my responsibility to understand why they need to do certain things and why they need to put effort in everything that we do. And in the beginning, it's like things were going decent, scrims, whatever, but I wish I pushed them harder. It's like always the outcome. It's like we needed to practice harder, we needed to push harder, and I needed to be more aggressive towards them in reminding them where at their point in their career they are at, because in the end, it's like, if you don't realize in that moment in time, like we've seen so many players lose that opportunity and never come back.
Yeah,
it's just a story of the LEC. There's only 50 spots in terms of players. Yep. If you don't do that and you don't execute in that moment in time, you're just going to be filled with regret. It's like we've had stories of some players coming back, yes, come back stronger than ever. Like for example, the Crownie story or whatever. But even a player like Crownie gets screwed over and you don't get opportunities, and then you're sitting there just filled with regrets. Like I that's like my main regret for the KC thing is that I took my time figuring people out when in reality I should have just fucking been on them from the get-go, you know. But that's always easy to be like. No,
I'll tell you where I can see where you matured as a person there, right? A problem is this is where the whole like kindergarten be nice mentality it ruins it in like the man's world of competitive sports, because actually sometimes to be nice to someone means to allow them to be weak and to not challenge them and to not ask them together to come with you to a higher level. And so what happens is you give them a break. You go, it doesn't matter about that. You know what? It wasn't a big game. In fact, you know what? Have the day off if we need to. Yeah, the problem is, as you said, at the end, you've given them a short-term win. They get the long-term loss. And at the end, the bitterness of that loss, it's going to hurt you. That's why they've got that great saying in boxing. They say, sweat in the gym so you don't bleed in the ring. If you can't get that, you'll never understand the competitive mindset. So, you know, when people do this thing, it's why the LCS, I think, is infected with this whole thought of like, you have to have a healthy work-life balance and be respectful to each other and have only positive conversations and then also be the best and win. It's like, it's never been done. It's never, ever been done in the game. So the best teams ever are all from the LPL and LCK, where they're doing the most extreme opposite version I wouldn't even recommend you do. And the best EU teams ever, Moscow 5 and G2, you're having a fucking laugh if you think those will come by our sessions around the fire. Those are some of the biggest names in the world of their region, etc., having like internal battles and battles in games, almost like competing against each other in a match to show who was right and we should have played my way and we should have played to me and I should get the pick here. So that's dope. That's where you go to the fucking absolute top level. And then the last angle I'll go with on this one is I also do think, this is it. People, the mistake they make is this. When they say that word, I hate it, that term, healthy work-life balance. First of all, not a single elite Korean or LPL player has that work-life balance. They actually have the total opposite. They're like Steve Jobs type fuckers who just work all day long. But also, I'll just throw this out there. That makes sense because you're doing a normal job. And most people do jobs they don't like. You work in an office, you work in a factory, you work in a shop. It would be insane to tell someone to do something that isn't even their passion and work super, super hard. And not least because you're going to work 30, 40, 50 years in your job. You're going to burn out if you go super hard, right? You just said it there, Yamato. Let's stop this silly game of pretending like franchises of football and we have players for 10 years. Bro, G2's changing players every year or two. We don't even have lineups. Lineups have to exist today and win. They're not building towards something. That's some bollocks they bring in from sports to trick you that the bad signings are good now. And it's certainly not the case that you were going to get to play so many years. You better not burn out. If you're in the LEC and you get into a top team, let me just put it this way. You might only get 2 or 3 years ever in your career where you can win the championship and or go to Worlds and do something. So how about go hard as fuck on those 2 or 3 years? Then when you're the old man watching fucking League of Legends 7, you can go, I don't have regrets. I lost, but I tell you what, I gave it everything. Those years, I grinded, and you know what? They were hard as fuck. There was times I thought, can I go on? Is this too much? But you know what? I look back now, in some ways, I was never more alive than that time. That was when I felt like I was at my absolute peak. I tested that potential. Yeah, I think that's the part people miss, because you're right. To even have a 5-year career just in LEC is going to be rare now. And 25 years at the top where you can win, no way. like I said, the Caps is the world of unicorns, mate. By the way, my boy Opset's almost like he even stayed in the league, and he's been like one of the most obvious talents of like the last 7-8 years. No, it's so brutal now. It's not the case you're going to play 7 years and you have to sort of like, take it careful, have a few weeks off, etc. Nah, mate, first of all, if we get knocked out the off-season, it's going to be a massive fucking break. You got loads of time to go to Ibiza then and fucking chill out. So I don't fuck with the modern mentality at all in that sense.
Same. I let's just attack any person that is at the top of the field. It is unhealthy. It is unhealthy. You risk everything. You sacrifice everything. It's like I was fortunate to have a very, very long career in the LEC. I went to Korea too, and I had opportunities to go to North America, but it just whatever, it didn't pan out because of COVID, whatever. But it's like I was there for such a long time, and I saw my colleagues come and go. And the main thing that drove me was like I had this internal fear that if all the time I invested up until this point would be meaningless and I would lose this, no fucking way. It's like I've been together now with my fiance for 8 years, and there's been years where, for example, in Fnatic, I just didn't see her. She didn't hear from me. It was like she understood that because that's who I am. And I made that clear in the beginning was I am a person that I need to do this in my life. If something's going to come in between that, I can't move away from that because that's who I am. So she came to terms with that. She suffered for me, and I appreciate that more than anything. But there were years where basically it's like wake up at 10, stay in the office till 3 a.m., sometimes 4 a.m., and then you rinse and repeat. Because there was something in my mind where you learn over time to work more effective.
Yes.
Most CS, every year I went to the World Championship, after 3 weeks, I'm just dead. I'm burnt out. I can't do shit. And I laid there knowing I did the right thing. Like there's no other way to do it. It's like it can't be healthy. It needs to be insanely vigorous. And sure, I understand there's going to be people making the point about, there is things you can optimize in terms of your sleep, in terms of your food, and in terms of exercise.
Everything.
Of course,
yeah.
100%. You can do these things to optimize, but every action that you take is in essence to move your performance forward. If you're taking a rest day, you're doing that to make sure that you perform better. You're not doing it because you deserve it. You're doing it because it's right. Every aspect of your living being needs to be for the performance. Off day? No, it's preparation day. It's all about just making sure you play better and better and better, because nothing is like, you can't take shit for granted. You can't, because you are running a race. You don't know the distance because you don't know what the fuck your competitors are going to do. And if you're in the back of your mind thinking that you are doing nothing and they're outworking you, that should piss you the fuck off. You're running a race, you don't know the distance, you need to run as fast as fucking possible. That's your job, that's competition. There's nothing else to it. Work-life balance? No. The competition should be your life, period. Everything you do is in spirit of that, nothing else.
Yes. By the way, I'll even just throw this out there on that particular angle. Let me think where I was going on this. Oh, fuck, I've lost it. What was I going to do on that? About the work-life balance. That's about how hard you had to go on that. You had to have like 3 weeks off after Worlds. Anyone who knows Counter-Strike knows I go hard as fuck every time I'm on the desk. I'd never phone a segment in. I am even like, I'm massively effusive with my arm movements. By the way, if you're autistic, because that doesn't even come natural. I had to learn that by studying like comedians and the way people would do speeches and TED Talks and stuff. And I would do all this stuff, and I'd go hard in a 2-minute segment. I'd go so hard at it that when I would do all these events, because I was having to work so much, I was doing so many prep off the air and think about my angles and stuff. When I would come home for an event, the first 2 days I would just do nothing, mate. The first day I would almost just be like, I have to turn my brain off now. Like it's just been on the whole time. Then I've been in the green room the whole time thinking jokes and what would come there. So I have to just let it go. But in the moment, look, it's like going to the gym. I'm going hard now. Afterwards, I'll rest. By the way, that's actually Kobe Bryant's philosophy, if people don't know. His point was rest at the end. If you take breaks along the way, you'll never get to the end, mate. You do the race, you go through it. It's going to be hard. If you don't know, running's a great analogy, long distance running, because it's by definition painful. Everyone doing that has to overcome pain. You are transcending it in the moment because you are going for something bigger. And at the end, you will rest. Yeah, you'll rest, you'll enjoy, you'll have some nice food, you'll relax, you'll take some time. That's all great. We'll do all that, but we'll do it in its right place. And in the modern day, I'll just say this very quickly. Everyone else is obsessed, maybe because their job sucks. It's not a passion project. I get it. Everyone else is obsessed with short-term pleasure. They're obsessed with eating the cookie and then jerking off to the fucking God knows what in the modern day, cartoon in fucking modern day for some reason. They're obsessed to watching the shitty slop TV show that's not even like a great movie of all time, but their brain isn't turned on to do that. They're so bored after work. It's like, just put on some fucking silly comedy or some shit. Whatever. Star Wars 19 million's on, great. Watch it. Wasn't bad. That's like, wasn't bad to become like a 4 or 5-star review for people nowadays. If it wasn't bad, that means I'm not recommended to watch it. I want to hear it's good, you fucking idiot. So I think in general, this is just actually a cultural issue. I don't even think it's just about players, by the way. I think you just see it manifest in our sports, in military aspects and all sorts of things around the world. Right, there's actually an aspect, I'll bring it all the way back, because I can do this. It's a bit like Trump said. He said when he went on Joe Rogan's podcast that when he does his rallies, he does something called the weave, which is where you go on tangents, but you weave it back into what you were originally talking about. And you have to be able to always come back with the weave. You can't just go tangent, and then go, fuck, where were we? We're in the desert now. So I'll bring it all the way back to we were talking about streaming scrims and having this extra component. And even you were talking about how in Fnatic, they were showing the reality show. You know, in the West, people now want to go, well, ethically, should we show scrims? And, you know, what will that mean for players? What if you're trying something out in scrim, but then the fans judge you? Then also you might rage in a scrim and people might not like that. It might I'm sorry, beggars can't be choosers, LTA. You haven't got even close to the best teams in the world anymore. So the game itself won't bring the viewership. And the game itself can never compare so far to what Koreans are doing. And by the way, Miss Me was like, but what about FlyCross and GenG? They didn't win that series. You're aware they didn't win that. Like, you're talking like they won that one. I'll say the same to Misfits in Europe. I don't want to hear your stories about the time you almost beat T1. You didn't. You lost. You can tell me about some of the games you won against T1 in the series. I'll listen to that. I don't want to hear about, I almost beat Faker. Take a number and get in line, dickhead. There's about 100 people with that shit story. It's irrelevant. He wins them though, doesn't he? You lose him and go, yeah, I almost did. And he just wins them and goes, here's my medal. You go, fucking, it was unfair the one time. I was so close. Oh, what you done in the years since? Never mind that. And then season 7, me and Max Law. Who the fuck's Max Law? Whatever. That's just rude. You know what? Why am I saying that? I am rude. I am a rude fucking person. There you go. There you go. If I was a football player, I'd be Rude Hullet. You can have a bad season and actually get fan interest out of it and get clicks and have sponsor sales. I actually think if you're in the West, you have to do this because it's the only way to counterbalance what you don't have in the game. I'll give you the analogy. I have been a fan of mixed martial arts since 2003. I was watching Pride when it happened. I was watching the UFC when Randy Couture was the champion. I was watching back in the day, and I've watched up until now because I am just someone who goes fucking deep on sports. And I want the sport, in theory, to be a true sport. I want it to have a ranking where you don't even get to win the belt if you are like ranked 4th, because logically you should have to fight number 3 or number 2. Like, it should be a ladder. You should move up, right? The problem is that's not what mixed martial arts is. Mixed martial arts isn't a sport. UFC is what you call prize fighting. All the money, people won't just buy a season ticket. They buy the specific card with the fights they want to watch. And most people are casual, so they buy for that championship fight, the headline one, the main event. So as a result, this is why a lot of people feel really butthurt about the career of Mighty Mouse in the UFC. Because, by the way, in terms of skill set, he is a GOAT contender. But I can tell you he was one of the worst pay-per-view draws ever in the history of the UFC. No fucker wanted to see this guy fight. I'm sorry, the numbers prove it. The ticket sales weren't there. The gate wasn't there when he would be in Vegas. So as a result, that's why the UFC let him go, because it got to the point where you had to pay him so much money, but you weren't getting that much back. And also, because he kept winning, you couldn't even use him to set up the other fighter that could then become the champ. He kept fucking winning. So as a result, he was sort of like in the worst spot ever. In a sport, he'd be the GOAT. In prize fighting, he was death. So the problem is, there's many times they put a title fight together. I'm like, why is he that? Why get the guy who's 3rd, like an actual name that's a guy who's fought before, or have a rematch or something. And they're like, no, but this up-and-coming exciting fighter, he could be the next star. And if he knocks him out, he'll be on top of the division. And then we've got like, his region suddenly. That's a reality you have to accept, because that is the sport and it can't run otherwise. It can't financially operate. It can't be at the scale. So if you're going to do esports, no matter what cheap esports tell you with their bullshit reports, loses money across the board. You lose money putting together $1 million rosters. You lose money building facilities, flying people out, having coaching staffs. You lose money doing it. So if we're going to lose money, we've got to do the things that make money. That it has to be an essential component to justify having this product. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if if the LTA can ever produce a world-class team to entertain me on the screen, but I know they can produce entertaining content. I know they can show me scrims and banter. I know they can show me a reality series and the highs and the lows and get me invested in a team. Like if I watched a team, I'll even give you an example here. Think how much differently you would think of spring to summer split last year in LCS if you'd have been able to see the behind the scenes of what was going on in FlyQuest and you saw the issues that Jensen was having with people, or maybe Inspired didn't fuck with the way they were playing and he was battling people. Holy fuck, that would have made you pull so much harder for FlyQuest. Then if you saw a quad come in, just walk in, just random guy, who's this guy? And he's fucking tearing up scrims. Oh shit, he's here. Mate, that alone, I haven't even mentioned the game yet. Already you're in. You're in. We haven't played an LCS match. Like, you're in already. So that I think it's a must to do this content. I'm with you. Fnatic, if anything, played it too safe there because they used to get inflamed by their fans. They probably should have shown Watts and all what it was like in your teams. I mean, I'll give you the obvious one, Yamato. If we could go back in time now with a camera crew and pop out of a fucking time machine for, are you ready, Yamato? Summer Split 2022. Oh, baby, that would be Breaking Point 2.0, would it not? Would that reality series not be straight fire? Would that not be spicy?
Honestly, I think even 2021 would have been more spicy than the Adam Bwipo one and Nitsky.
Was there some fire behind the scenes there?
Because, bro, like the crazy thing about both is that, bro, we were drifting close to the sun. Like we were one game away from elimination in both circumstances. So both would have been definitely like a contender. Like the summer one was so crazy. Is just that we had to just, it was just like the epitome of fucking band-aid solutions. Like I don't know like how we got to the World Championship. Like the Azir Lucian Nami meme. For me, it's not a meme because it was the truth. You know, that's what brought us to the light. You know, yeah. It was fucking nuts. I think both would work. Both would work, man. You know, Thorin, we were talking about work-life balance and something, you know, like even in the current day when I'm just streaming all the time, like I don't have any free time. So I have optimized my life with Factor meals. You know, if you're ready to optimize your nutrition this year, you know, Factor just has chef-made meals, gourmet meals that make eating well super easy. They are dietitian approved, which is super important. They're just ready to eat. Throw that in the microwave. Everybody has a microwave, so you can just feel right and just, you know, feel great no matter what. You know, on my end, personally, like I have no free time. Like when it comes to going to the shop, getting groceries, that takes a long time. Looking at some recipe lists, that takes a long time. Like, and then you have to cook it and then clean up and then you eat the meal after 5 minutes. You know, the gratification of it is like in terms of time investment is just not there. And at the same time, it's like I've been told my whole life that cooking these meals on your own is supposed to save you money, but it doesn't. You have to buy all these small ingredients that sometimes you only use once to kind of make the meal pop or something. And in the end, it's like I look at the receipt, it's longer than my arm. Everything just adds up and everything is just a lot more expensive. So on my end, you know, I like working out, I like exercising. I like knowing, you know, what I eat. You know, I have this app that just tracks all the carbs and the protein and so forth. And I could just scan the meal and just pops in right in there because there's a barcode on the box. So there's many reasons why I enjoy Factor meals. I've had them in Sweden. They're amazing. I've had them in America. They're amazing. When I visited them, you know, you can just order. It arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy or lifestyle. You know, you can with 40 options, you can just set yourself up for success. You can have dietary preferences. You can have protein plus. You can have calorie smart. You can do keto. Anything that you need, just prepared for you without the headache of just preparing all of that yourself. It's just meal prepping, made easy and made delicious. That was probably like the biggest shock for me is the fact that it tastes fantastic. I figured if it's in the fridge the entire time and it's delivered, that the process is going to be like, you know, there's going to be a negative to it. Awesome. It's kind of like, you know, I remember back in the old days when I didn't think much about like wireless mice. I always thought that they were like a scam, but then it's like later on in life, I just kind of switched over and it's like, what have I been missing in my life? And now with this, it's like no more just eating yogurts just to stay, you know, fit in between the long streaming sessions. I can just pop something in the microwave and be ready to go. So ladies and gentlemen, eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/LFN50 off and use code LFN50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That is code LFN50 off at factormeals.com/LFN50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. thank you very much, Factor Meals, for sponsoring us and helping us and keeping us well fed and trim. You know, this is a crucial aspect of life. You know, food. You know, I live to eat. I don't eat to live. You know, so I'm happy that Factor can do both for me.
I'll just do the meme. Think about my beard. Yes, there you go. That's the meme. That's the meme. By the way, also, I will say the reason why that detail you mentioned, because I agree, but it's when I was like a student and a teenager, but fuck that, when I was like 28, I just worked in esports all the time, like a million hours a day. I used to eat microwave meals all the time, mate. The problem is, you know this, like, there's not a lot of flavor there. You just go, now the reason why is though, because it's frozen. And that's the problem is when you freeze it, it sort of fucks with like the food biscuit. It doesn't ever taste as good afterwards. The whole point of Factor is it's never frozen. The way they get delivered to your door, it's just, isn't the same when you eat it up. It's fucking great. I agree. I've had it before. Right. Okay. Let's move on. Now let's do some Asian League of Legends, aka my favorite League of Legends. So I think we've got to start in the LPL, Yamato, because you know what? I can't help myself, bro. I can't help myself. One of my problems is I never have ever presented myself as like the fucking, you know, the precise thinker, the fucking, you know, the pure logic. I'm only like the scientific approach, rationality. No, I am a romantic. I get caught up in the fucking romance of the story, of the narratives weaving together, of the implied like possibilities that could happen, of soaring to new heights, of even when you get like players where it shouldn't work, but what if it did? If it did. And there's no team has done it with all the lineups, but with this one, it is going to be the worst. I'm going to get my heart broken so fucking badly by Chad. I already know he's a bad boy. He already doesn't pay me enough attention. He doesn't reply when I text him straight away. But you know what? He does reply after 3 hours, after he's been out God knows where. And then, of course, of course, the reply is, you up? And my answer, yeah. Are you coming over? Because that's the problem is I love the guy too much. Top esports, bro. I needed to believe they were going to beat anyone's legend because I look at this roster. They've all been really good players at times. I could see a world where they could operate in some sort of coordinated chaos and it could just be glorious and they could just have crazy punching power and explosion and all. And you know what? That isn't happening right now. Yamato, I'm really scared for this team. Like, top esports is looking like a bit of a dud so far. Like my boy Cream, you were beating the allegations. If you watched the LPL summit, it was okay. What happened in MSI, that was just, you know, teething problems. You got past that. Oh, I don't know. I'm scared for this team, bro, because on paper, I want their team to work so much, but I also think it even on paper, it does look like Int City. And that Anyone's Legend series broke me, bro. It hurt inside. It hurt me.
I think the most painful thing for me is just JackeyLove, because 2023, when he was together with the rookie, I think JackeyLove was just one of the best performing ADCs in the world, but he just didn't make the world championship. Yep. And JackeyLove has had like this long ass career of playing with supports that just don't belong next to him, you know? It's like whether it was the Balan or Mark or, you know, like what was his name? Like the support. Dude, yeah, it's just these guys. It's like JackeyLove was performing, and now it's like 2024. They're pairing together with Mako, and it just the story fell short because always in their final games of the season they just looked so ass in the best of 5 against G2 or whatever. And I was hoping that somehow now Crisp, still a legend, you know, he has some in games, but it's like this roster on paper, it's like, oh, they had the Kanavi, what a damn, like this is the best jungler, one of the best junglers in the world. And still now when everything falls into place, JackeyLove is just not performing again. And this, I don't know, like my copium angle is like, it's winter splits, it's early, they'll probably make it the next round, you know, that's the copium, you know, but as I just, I have been hurt so much, especially last year, and I feel like this kind of carries over into the next one. I wonder if, you know, the big question for me, the cope angle is, maybe when they are playing and everything's on the line again and they are playing games where it's like an elimination match, maybe some of these players are going to kick it into gear, you know?
I know, keep going.
Maybe they kick it into gear. You know, Chris was a big game player, I think. You know, Kravi's a big game player. Maybe 369 can find form again. Maybe JackeyLove finds motivation. But I'm also to follow up on the Cream point. It's like Shanks is basically how we described Cream at this point, you know? Shanks is just the guy. It's like anyone's legend. Look fucking crisp, man. And it's like when I looked at this,
it's just magical, bro. I don't know. He's like those. You know this because you're all European sports. I can never do that with Monty, unfortunately, bro. He does have something about him that's like those like iconic football managers, like a Mourinho or something. They can just go to teams that haven't won in a while, get players that aren't supposed to win, and just win. Like, you know, my favorite of all time, bro, if people don't know of Mourinho, the one that I think gave him like potential GOAT status was that fucking Inter Milan one. Bruh. He did. Look at like Milito and stuff. They are like the best players in the world. They were like cast-offs by the other teams. Like, that lineup he won with was fucking goated, bro. And he was beating like peak Barcelona and shit. Like, this is impossible. Tabe is the same thing. He walks in a room and everyone, like, it's like he's got the reality stone out of the Avengers. He just changes the room. Suddenly this player's like 1.5 times better than he should be. The team's coordinated. The drafts. I don't know what this guy does. He just has it. He has it.
I'd say it's crazy because you could even go so far that in terms of where LPL is at now, it's like that Billy roster that he joined mid playoffs. It's like that all those players that everyone considers legendary at this point, whether it was Elk and On and and Shun, like, they weren't like at the time. It was like Ben carries games and they get to playoffs, and it wasn't interesting. Tabe joined, and all of a sudden there was cohesion. They found new heights. Like these players weren't names that
for game wins in the regular season. Yeah,
it was like these are not players that people were like super excited about. Then they get second place and they're competitive with MSI, and all of a sudden, you know, there's this fucking
final. Remember, they were that close, mate, that year. Remember, that was the one where the Shy just had the 6 games and got through. They would have been in the finals otherwise and played T1. Yeah.
It's like to think of that. It's like JDG on their side. It's like they had like the super expensive roster with Coach Homer, right? And it's like in a sense, roster. Like knowing JDG didn't continue, it's like fucking Tabe being like the ignition for Billy to blow up, and those players being as good as they are. It's like they are a super team now because of the things that occurred. Yes. And I feel like Tabe was such a catalyst for that. Yeah. And I was so honored. You know, I worked with Tabe on the analyst desk back in 2015. So I got to speak with Tabe. This person, he's one of the craziest motherfuckers I know. Like one of the craziest people ever. And he always he had this he had this aura that he was allowed in a sense to, like when he was working in past teams, he was always take like the beginning of spring split off. He would just do that because
like GI style for the Lunar New Year. Like, I'll see you in 3 weeks or something. Really?
He had the aura to just take spring split off, and then he would just join a team mid-season. He did this, I don't know, a couple of times. It's like, how gangster is that? Yeah. And you have this aura that you know you can find a team mid-season, you know, to just join in and hop in and do your work. And it's like even last year, it's like anyone's legend. It's like the magic touch. It's like anyone's legend was competitive. They were very serviceable. And now, bro, they have Tarzan in the picture. Flandre is looking better than ever again. Like Flandre is back. It's like anyone's legend is super exciting. And I thought this team would like fizzle out based on like individual skill, but they are showing new like ceilings. So I'm liking what I see from Shanks, because the last time we talked about it is like how deep can like Hope and Shanks go, but they're going deeper. Even Kyle, like this, he's probably like the best performing support in the league right now. He's just performing out of his mind.
Here's why I like. First of all, I definitely agree on all of that, and another reason why I can't unfortunately huff the copium on top esports is because the other change of the season is, first of all, you know all the teams in your groups. You're not practicing for the other 16 teams or whatever. You know the 3 teams you have to play against, and then secondly, these are BO5s. These are BO5s, bro. We're already in BO5. So if it was a BO3, whatever, you lose a close game 3, that's winnable. Okay. They got beaten in 4 games, mate, and some of these were embarrassing. So you're on some fucking Bane shit, man. You're like, I would have lost hope till I put on the mask. It's fucking nuts. You're like Dennis Hopper and Blue Velvet. Fucking.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. When you dropped, you know, the intro, I thought you're going to IG because their match was ass too, bro. Like they're dropping games against RNG. Like Taiwan is like just dribbling all over Rookie. Like this also hurt my soul, man.
But in that match, let me pass that here. There was a couple of sick Rookie games, so he was popping. I did like that. And you know what, Yamato? It's only early in the season, and it's just a regular season game, and in the playoffs, they'll be way better. There you go. This shit's good. What is this like? Wait a minute. This is that Fnatic shit you had back in the day. Copium. There you go. Right,
but it works. It works.
Yeah, I know that subreddit's so crazy. The problem they have is this, Yamato. They're on copium the whole year, but at the end, when it goes badly, their copium supply runs out and they have withdrawals. That's where they get angry, irritable. They lash out at family members, people they love, push them away. They start trying to get people kicked out of the team. That's Fnatic copium for you there. So, but I tell you what, that is powerful shit. That is some proper grade shit. Exactly. Yes. Because what do you think of IG? Come on, bro. Listen, they won. That's all that matters. A win's a win. Just don't get out of the group. That's all we care about. Something. Rookie carries to finals.
If I want to take the positive angle for this team, I do think Gala looks all right, and I think JJ had a good series. JJ had a good series. JJ looked better. I think that like the Zinzao game, a Zach game that was like really, really good into the Zinzao, I believe. The Zach game was like phenomenal. That's good. That's a good sign. But these guys are lucky, bro, about their group. Like, is very, very lucky that they have breathing room because things could have been rough. They're a little bit unlucky that NIP like upgraded the roster the way they did, but at the same time, it's like you're expected to beat NIP on paper in my mind. But currently, it's like the second supply of copium I have here that I can sell is like the Shy sometimes kind of turns it on.
Yeah, but true.
My concern is that the era of players that get away with doing this, I feel like that era is gone. I feel like the players that don't keep active, don't keep on the go button, perma, like they are just getting outpaced by everybody else in the league. And like I think another good example, right, is it's like Hilly is on the come up now. It's like his last game he played this last weekend is good. But I know like Hilly's methodology in off seasons is to take a lot of time away from the game and he needs to play catch up. But from speaking to someone like Jackie's yesterday on Sacktown, it's like, I was like, how did you approach the off season after like getting eliminated by G2? Because he just got like the bad draw, right, against G2, where G2 lost against Matt. And he was like, I felt that I just needed to keep up shape. Because he was in every Champions League game, every lobby that I saw, Jakob was always there playing against Vladi. And that shit adds up. And now the same thing with the Shy. It's like, well, this guy was playing Minecraft for the most of the time. He's playing Minecraft and then he jumps into the league. Like, I don't know how much effort he's put into the game. So I think that aspect of that magic of players just like, finding the switch, I feel like with the era of that is kind of gone, So I'm very scared for our IG Thor, and I don't know how to feel about these guys, man.
Wait for the playoffs. Just wait for the playoffs. That will heal all. Because I will say, to be fair, that is also an aspect. One, I pointed out in the last episode, the format is very different. And two, every player now is super experienced. It's actually very hard for super experienced players to lock in for regular season games against teams that aren't going to win. It just is. I'm sorry, that's just sometimes it gets at the end of your career. You're almost thinking at the end of your career, well, I'm just here to win the title in Worlds. Now, look, I understand it's illogical because you need to also be good to do so. But they're just thinking like, look, as long as I get through the first part. In fact, I've always said this. In my opinion, group stages in esports, it's why I hate when they become almost like treated like as though you're seeding the teams out of the group. No, group stage is survival. It doesn't matter if you get there by a round or a million rounds. In Counter-Strike, by the way, this is a classic thing. When you're a dominant team, you'll have tournaments where you have a really ropey group stage, but you barely get out in overtime. That's all that matters. Then you lock in the playoffs, you come back, you do the reset on the day off, then you come back and you're at your best. Then you win the tournament. And suddenly there's a guy again in a bar going, "Course, they wouldn't even have won that tournament if I'd have pulled out that game in the group." And it's like, yeah, again, mate, there's people with that story. The point is the winner gets through the match. So
I wanted to ask you, Thorin, in CS, in terms of like the qualification process, because I've seen they've ran like Swiss systems in the past and so forth. Is it also common that the teams that have like the rockier path perform better because they have like played against more resistance and found themselves? Or is it common that the teams that just kind of plow through the group stage and just perform? Because like at the World Championship, always the teams go 3-0, they tend to struggle a lot in the first round. Because if you look at like the teams that went through 3-0, like GenG struggled against FlyQuest. Tell me the CS side of this.
Get ready for a little history lesson. So there's two angles. One, at the majors where we employ the Swiss system, amazingly, actually, I'll give credit to League. Because the teams are so good in League, you do actually get a scenario where basically people in league who go 3-0 probably are elite Asian teams. So they're already going to, in theory, be good. But I've got an angle I'll come back to on that, where even elite teams can fail because of this method. But for now, I'll do it where in Counter-Strike, because especially you have like BO1s, which in CS can be very random and all that sort of shit, you will every now and then get teams who 3-0, actually attempted to Team Liquid at this last major, and they got in the playoffs. If they 3-0, but they themselves play bad teams, and they themselves haven't proven they're really good, you almost always see them get exposed in the playoffs. They almost instantly get wrecked, no matter even if they looked awesome in the play, they just will get shown up immediately. Now, for elite teams, I also agree. I think it's a very underrated factor of this format. So this just happened at the last CS major. You had the Vitality team also just murked everyone. They 3-0'd, and they were one of the best teams in the world. They came into the playoffs, and supposedly, because they hadn't had to play the qualifier to the major, they'd already like gotten in really quickly. Oh no, it wasn't that. They hadn't had to play the first Swiss system, because we have a bizarre thing at our Worlds. We're almost like the first one's like a plane, and then you come to the main one. And so they got to skip the first week of the major and do the second week, which they then 3-0'd. And the problem is that meant that in something like the 2 weeks, they'd played 3 games, and it was like they'd played like 2 best of 1s and a best of 3. In 2 weeks, then a few days off, then they came to the playoffs, and then they got upset. They got upset straight away in the first round. They didn't look as good because they were completely out of sorts. In CS, especially, but it's a really bad practice environment when you're not in the tournament, when you're not playing the next games, and you have the days off, and also you want days off to have time off. It give you all that shit. Now, this actually goes back to something I identified in CS years ago, which is at the end of CS 1.6, the best major, funny enough, fact similar in CS now, were the ones run by ESL. It was the Intel Extreme Masters, and famously, the finals would always be held in Hanover in Germany at CeBIT, that massive electronics show. And what would happen is their format for this tournament was a round robin group stage, so not Swiss system, but it was round robin. And what they did is, if you won the group, you skip to the semi-finals. And if you come second and third, you play the opposite. So 2 from one group plays 3 from the other, and 2 from that. And it's called the round of 6. And you basically have what would be an 18 bracket, but you give the 2 winners buys, essentially. It's the same format for the bracket that they use now in IEM tournaments, where they have like quarterfinals, but it's just 2 matches, semis, 2 matches, because essentially you don't want to have 4 quarterfinals in Counter-Strike. You have a day off when you have a break after the group stage, then a day off when they're playing all the round of 6, and then you play again 3 days later. But in the meantime, you don't have the best practice. You haven't time off. You're watching them play. Whoever wins the game, as long as they're not fatigued, they've won a game. They're warmed up. They know what's going on. There was an actual famous thing. It was the curse. Every single team that went to the semis at the end of 1.6 didn't even make the final. They would just lose the semi-final every single time. And so when you think of those teams, Navis, they all came through the round of 6 match, mate. They never won the group stage. The teams that will blast the group stage, and I think this is a real thing. I think having too much time off, too much time where you're not getting quality practice, even maybe just having a small sample size, that either you don't play good enough teams, or even worse, you think you're just awesome because you wrecked them all. I think that actually is really, really bad. In a fucked up way, it's why actually I don't buy that silly argument about the double elimination bracket. You know, when fans go, but it's unfair because the team that came from the top didn't lose twice. You know what? If you're the team coming from the top, you gain an advantage and you lose something as well. You gain a massive advantage. You don't have to play games. You can watch them. You maybe even pick something up. You don't have to show as much. But the downside also is you don't play as many matches. The guy who comes from the low bracket, he has to be good. He's just beaten everyone in the low bracket. He's warmed up. He's primed. He's ready. He's fought for his chance. So I do think there's some sort of a psychological and maybe even like a tangible practice aspect. It does feel like that's a thing to me, because I know what you mean. Like the obvious examples last time would be like fucking LNG.
We had GenG.
They should have been winning it, yeah.
Even the previous year, right? It was GenG who lost to Bilibili, and JDG who had a very shaky series against KT. Like that was a surprisingly close series, 100%. I even remember back in like the Worlds format back in like, I believe it was season 3. Then there was like #1 seeds from regions. I think like C9 was like automatically seasoned to like quarterfinals, and they just lost the first best of 5 they played, and they were out of the tournament. It's like they weren't in like the group stages, and this was also like a part of the format back then. I think the next year they kind of just changed it, but I remember also teams being auto-seeded away from groups at that point in time too, because I think they need to make room for like a lot of teams, because they just had like a lot of the minor regions also have like teams. I can remember like the group that Nuktak was in with Lemon Dogs was like Gaming Gear EU, SKT, Lemon Dogs. It was like, oh, what the fuck is this group?
Yes. Absolutely. No, I think that is one of those things people underestimate. It's also why, in general, I'm just not a big fan of the Swiss system too. Because also, the team that 3-0s has 2 BO1s in there. You don't even get... Think about this. It's the same reason why I don't like Fearless Draft. I want to watch League of Legends to watch Bin play Jax. I don't want to watch it to see him not play Jax. That's stupid. Now you're just denying me the ultimate pleasure. I want to watch. This is why I think I had the best angle ever, and it's aged so fucking well, Yamato. You know that thing in 2015 when LCK just began and they combined all the sister teams in Korea and made these like squads, so like CJ combined team, and famously they combined SKTS with some of the parts of SKTK that had won Worlds, and so they had Marin and they had EasyHoon there. Now everyone knows they initially played EasyHoon because Azay had been released. It just wasn't Faker's best champion, whereas EasyHoon's whole shit was like Oriana Azay. He was kind of like a Korean Froggen, basically. And at the time, they famously had it where even though against CJ in the playoffs, they were actually losing and they had to bring in Bengi and Faker and they had some hero players and then bang had that Lucian game and won the match. When they got to the final and they played against GE Tigers, Future Coup / Rocks Tigers, they 3-zipped them with EasyHoon and never even had to bring Faker in. And everyone was like, oh, kkOma, 700 IQ, he doesn't need to bring Faker in because Faker's the final boss. He just proved he can beat you with one arm tied behind his back. And I said this, if in Michael Jordan's prime, you could have benched him and won a playoff series, that would suck. I want to see Michael Jordan play in his prime. And I think that take has aged fabulous. If you don't know, the title of that video, because I'm always going to be me, was kkOma is ruining esports history. And you might not know this, Yamato. Because Monty used to work at OGN at the time, that got to kkOma the title of that video. And he supposedly was not happy and was sort of doing that thing that people very naively do to people in my circle, Monty, Richard Lewis. They go, how can he say these things? You've got to control him. And then they're like, brother, can anyone control him? You know what I mean? That's like saying, that's like King Canute. That's like turning back the tide, mate. It's the sea. You just got to get the fuck out the sea if you don't want the tide coming up to your ankles. So in that scenario, kkOma, listen, bruh, was I right or was I right? Exactly. I was right. And also, how did it work out with Damwon? Shut the fuck up.
Oh, shit.
But anyway, that's it. You know what? I'll say it right now. If you're a T1 fan, queue it up. This is where you get to fucking beat off and hate watch the screen. By the way, you're going to see soon, I've got some epic content coming about Faker doing those hero plays in Game 4 and Game 5. I do think that moment was godlike. That moment was some goat shit. But I actually, low-key, what I was really looking forward to, it's going to be so rude as well, pure Northern English, rough, dark truths. I was going to flame the fuck out of kkOma, and here's why. Because if he hadn't won Worlds, that means, bro, he had like multiple times gone and joined a team that had won Worlds, like Damwon, and then now T1, and then they don't win with him the next year. And I was going to be like, you're supposed to be the GOAT coach, bro. You had the original dynasty, but why is it when you join teams, they don't win after that? Like, what are you adding to the mix here? Like, are you even coaching? Like, do you just come in the room and go, like, look at these Worlds I had back here? I was going to flame the fuck out. Sadly, I can't do that now. You did. Look, you won Worlds. What you win, another thing you win, a bonus, you don't know this, is like a little thrown in free gift is, I can't flame you for that now. Okay, shout out to you. You got your 4th ring. There you go. You got 4 of them things. I get it. It's all good. But yeah, the point is, I don't want a format where the best team, like GenG and JDG that you're talking about 2023, I only get to see them play like 4 or 5 games in the Swiss system. I think that sucks. I'd prefer other systems, let's put it that way. Like, the reason I like GSL, by the way, is you could, by the way, as you see in LPL, if you really wanted to, you probably shouldn't because you want to say best of 5 for the players. You could even have best of 5 GSL if you want. You just haven't played 2 best of 5 series or 3. Like, you could do that. I'd probably say that I get it that you want B or 5 for the playoffs. Anyway, sort of a tangent. Is there another LPL team that interests you?
I guess we could just hit on JDG a little bit short because I do think their series against OMG was awful. Like, I think that they kind of went away. Like, I was so impressed with their first series because they looked so cohesive. Like, they looked on the same page. Pace looked good. Like, he looked sharp. This series, Scout needed to drag them over the finish line. Like, I think Scout had like PTSD flashbacks. Like, oh shit, I'm back in those teams that I need to drag over the finish line and just 1v9 carry. And he just straight up needed to do that again on the Akali. Like, that series shouldn't be close against OMG at all. Like, OMG has the super, like has the infamous Moham, you know, like I don't know how they ended up on importing Moham, but OMG and Moham, like I think Starry is like a serviceable player, but the rest of the OMG roster shouldn't have like anything to say to the JGG roster, and this just looked incohesive. They were not on the same page. Often they just got caught in bad numbers. The games were very, very chaotic. This was more of what I expected in terms of like the adjustment period of everyone being very, very new environments. Like Shun was in Bilibili for so long, and you had like Pays only being in GenG. I thought there's going to be like an adjustment period there, and this looks more in the style that I expected. But this was probably even worse than I expected. It's just such a weird juxtaposition because the first best of 5, very cohesive, super, super good. This one, all over the place. I really, really didn't like it. So in terms of their ambition and where LPL is, there's a lot of opportunity for teams to stand up and just be the one that faces Bilibili at the end. Because I think it's really, really unclear who is going to end up in the top 3, because like all of the teams with like the big rosters do have issues. It's like right now, it's like anyone's legend, Bilibili. Who else? It's like Top Esports has problems. IG has problems. You have JDG also have problems. Is NIP and Doimbi, is he going to just like fucking ghost with Rise all the way to the finals? Maybe, because currently with the one series they played so far, they do look better than the other teams competing for the 3rd spot, because who's going to touch anyone's legend and Bilibili?
I don't know how this Moham check stealer continues to go on in his career. Look, just because you aren't Kellen, that's not enough to have a job, mate. Like, a lot of people aren't Kellen. I want to say to Moham a quote from the classic all-star cast movie, Glengarry Glen Ross, where he says, your business is being an asshole. I find out whose fucking cousin you are, I'm going to go to him and find out a way to have your ass. Fuck you. Because it's like, are you just like a billionaire's cousin as well? You in these teams? Are you like a sheik's son or something? Why the fuck are you getting to play a professional League of Legends? What is going on here? What are we doing? What on earth are we doing, Moham? And also, your name actually could be cool as fuck if you were really dope. Moham sounds baller, bro. But the problem is when you suck, you make the name suck.
He could be Muhammad Ali of League, bro. It's so close.
Muhammad Ali. He goes Moham. He's going Moham in the game. He could be like fucking Hillasang or something. Hillasang goes to Ham. You know, he should probably become a vegetarian or something. Whatever. There's a joke he can work in there. The reason I think it's so sad, though, is first of all, this is another example of where you've either, if it doesn't work out, it's got to be roster building or coaching. Because, bro, these players aren't bad. This is a good lineup, JDG. This is like, these are real players that should all work out and could all be in top 3 or 4 teams in the LPL. I'm with you on the Jun one, by the way. Jun is a fucking beast with his hands. I'm not going to say he's a brain jungler. I don't think he is. In fact, I think he gets piloted probably. But fucking hell, this guy has the, if you want to talk about closer, you're probably watching his games. I think you can play in Italy, but you can't. You can't do the shit my boy can. Jun has fucking crazy hands, bro. He's one of those guys where I've always loved the Chinese junglers that are aggro and use their hands. Bro, everyone used to meme on Reddit about MLXG. You know he's fucking good, right? He wasn't the best jungler in the world, but I tell you what, he fucking made the game happen. If I'm going against some Korean team that's like unbeatable, give me MLXG, mate. He's going to fucking make shit happen. He is going to go on some psychopath mission, and he's going to win me a game just off some absolute bullshit. Jun has that in him. So I want to see this team work so badly, but I'm with you. In this scenario, I actually feel for real. If you're the guys from JDG, you got lucky with your fucking group too. It's only the fact that it was Ultra Prime was the other team. Like, that was a free win, mate. Like, I don't know. First of all, I think you're going to get clapped by Weibo. And then secondly, I don't know what you're going to do in the playoffs. I hope you get it together because I still think I hate it anytime quality players can't figure it out. They can't get there somewhere. But like, this is where, if I'm them, I'm almost going to that Fnatic 2022 summer season again. It's like, find a Band-Aid. We've got so many good players, it can work. Maybe we can't yet be what we're going to be at Worlds and play all these styles. That's not what it's about, mate. This is spring. Let's just get to like semis of the LPL or something. Let's make a run.
You know, it's like, it's I'm looking very critically at CV Max. Because I've always got the feeling that he wants his teams to do too much. When always like the teams that are winning have one simple identity that you just hold on to for dear life. Like I remember so many times in past with CV Max teams, it's like, oh, we should be able to play everything. And that's the standard we should set. But in that, you lose, the practicing the same kick 1,000 times. That's the most dangerous thing. And this is something that Tabe has done very well. This is something that Homa did so good with JDG. It's like when we describe teams from these coaches and these past rosters, we can very easy simplify what the roles were in that teams. Like JDG were really, really good at playing that front to back style, better than anyone ever did in the world in terms of 369's role as a tank player, and Knight being just like an initiator that would just give resources with his Annie and his Ari and his Lissandra. It was very, very clear cut how they played. But with CV Max in his past, there's always been teams where they're trying to do so much. I think a good example to compare him to is kind of like the C9s of the past years where, they lost against fucking NRG. Can't they just fucking strap up and play around Berserker, the best player in the league, and just streamline the process in the game instead of fucking playing Fiora top when you have Berserker? Can we simplify? I think this is like the main, like something that I'm paying attention to in the background. It's like, will CV Max simplify? And additionally, I think once again, it's like Scout. I believe we had the conversation when Monty was on. Someone asked the questions like, who is a player that like raises the floor of your team? Like Scout just single-handedly makes teams great.
Yeah.
He's just simply insane on fucking everything. Like I think if this is one of those players where like if he was on different teams at different times, he could have won like multiple championships for sure.
Oh, man, I actually think, sadly, I've also done videos on all these people on my YouTube channel for exactly this reason. This guy is actually going to go down as one of the most underrated star players in League of Legends history. Because here's the biggest problem he had, Yamato. Because the moment he got to EDG, they were winning the LPL and he was at Worlds. People just remember him for the kind of meh EDG runs at Worlds where they weren't doing anything relevant or didn't get out with groups, or the roster, like they were transitioning from the era where like it's only him and Mako made it through, guys. The rest of them all got left behind and they had to go to different. He started with Clear Love and fuckers like that, so people don't realize that you got to see him very early when he was at his weakest, and he was just like a good player, but he could be a little bit fragile. I always thought he could sometimes break a bit mentally. I actually think this guy, you can't do the thing in the modern day where someone's only a passive farming mage mid laner or like aggressive lunatic Zed phase. Like, first of all, you notice those champions aren't even in the meta pool anymore. In the modern day, mid lane does actually have to be varied in what it can do. You have to be able, in the modern day, there's so much strength now. Think about how much more strong junglers and fucking supports are in the modern day. Every single role can do damage, and so you have to be way more of an aspect that like I think can like patch holes, lead the team. I actually think if you look at his teams, one thing I'll be very interested to see if it develops in this team, because it will prove that he is he seems to be a massive part in his teams in the macro. This isn't like when they used to say Chovy was just farming and then they sort of tell him where to go. This guy seems like they play off him. That's why it was awesome when he's had the right junglers with him. So I want to see if that develops, because I still think this guy could be he is good anyway, but he's not only so good domestically. Like the last 3 to 4 years, he has fucking cooked, bro. He has been so good. And by the way, the last 3 to 4 years, you'll notice, barely includes when he won Worlds and then passed LPLs. This guy's a fucking stud, many-time MVP of the league. Oh, I'm with you, mate. Here's where his whole career would have been different. If he'd have had the first portion, wins the LPL, All-Pro, wins fucking Worlds. If after Worlds, I get why you run it back. They ran it back the next year and they lost to DRX. If you could go back in time, though, and after the DRX loss, you just let me be his agent, I'll tell you what I'm doing immediately. I'm shipping him over and we're joining like Dam1 or something, or we're going and making like a KT super team or something, or maybe we're joining fucking GenG or something, or maybe T1 wants to take Faker out the game or swap him to support or something. If you put him on like a top Korean team, because he's also playing with Chinese players, remember guys, if he goes on to one of the top Korean orgs where they can surround him with talent, holy fuck would this guy be revered, because his resume is incredible, but people don't know the body of work. I agree with you. I think he can even do it when his teams think about when Tarzan went out of LNG. He could still carry a game. It's just the problem is the team couldn't win. They couldn't go deep. I think he's a fantastic player, man. I agree with you. The flaw in this guy's crazy. It's so crazy.
100%. I think like the criticism is like always those final games, but it's like for sure the T1 series he didn't play well. I think the Zeka one is like definitely like overblown. Yes. Like his fault in that series, because even if you look at that one game, like he had better conditions, and then I believe like his lane was completely cracked by jungle, and also the impact of Barrow, and then Zeka just execute, because that's a very polarizing matchup. Sylas or Zakali, whoever is ahead is going to just win out. It's just how it is. So So it's like like in my mind, that Worlds, I think Chovy got destroyed harder by Zeka than Scout did. There was that famous like Ari game versus Silas that Zeka played, and he just completely like just shat on him. So in my mind, it's like I'm a big fan of volume. It's like you mentioned it as well. It's like the amount of times he got MVP after like regular splits and just really grinding out games, and just winning time and time again. It's just it's like Scout is just a classic, man. It's just a classic. I love watching Scout play.
Right, let's talk a bit about LCK. But first, I would like to tell everyone about what I'm wearing now. Because speaking of class, I think the t-shirts of Into the Aim are straight fire. This is the classic one I've often worn. It's sort of like a Neo Japan type thing where it's got the pagoda or whatever you call it, but it's got like neon lights and stuff. It's kind of like a cool designer print t-shirt. If you don't know, I've worn this one on many, many different episodes. I've washed it loads of times. Look how stretchy it still is. Look how the fabric's still nice and black. It hasn't gone all grey and all faded like when you buy that band t-shirt for $10 and it's like crap after 3 washes and you just only wear it once or twice to sort of flex your music. You can wear this all the time. I've washed it loads of times. I think it's absolutely great stuff. Obviously, Into the Aim, friend of the show. Many of you have bought their shirts and their wear and supported us. And obviously, they have one of the best sets of deals on what you can do, because obviously, whenever you use our code, you always get 10% off. But they crucially, and this is a factor we always mention, it always stacks with whatever else they have. So for example, if you want to get 3 graphic tees, you can get a bundle for $61.95 and then get 10% off using LFN. If you want basic tees, you can get 3 of those, so just a nice color without the design, 3 of those for $52.95, then get 10% off. And then here's what's cool. They are running an Into the Aim anniversary sale. It already began on the 22nd of January. It runs through to the 9th of February. You've got plenty of time to do so. And you will get up to 50% off items on the site. So when you get the 50% off, apply our code, get an additional 10% off. So some items you could get 60% off it. And the additional 10% obviously comes with the code LFN, easy to remember, last 3 digits, LFN, at www.intotheam.com/LFN. I actually find them to be very excellent t-shirts. I'm not a huge guy for buying expensive stuff. I normally tend to go the really cheap route. And I tell you what, I have paid the price for that. As they say, you get what you pay for. And in this case, you get a big discount as well. So you don't even pay as much. It actually ends up working out on both ends. So I think the Into the Aim stuff's great. And we're going to do plenty more collabs with them in the future. And some LFN gear will be coming, don't worry. But more on that as it comes. Check out this sale before the 9th of January. Thanks to everyone who buys it. And obviously, thank yourself for saving up to 50% and the 10% off. That always stacks with our code, special for our viewers at LFN, code LFN at intotheam.com/LFN. Yeah, that's it. Right, let's talk about LCK. Speaking of classic, this will always be a league that delivers. And I'll tell you what, if we were talking earlier, holy shit, has my heart been broken by Hanwha Life. Oh, I could handle the GenG loss, bro, because I told you, when Prime Mike Tyson steps in the ring and knocks your fucking head off in 30 seconds, you could be one of the best fighters of all time. That can happen to you. A lot of people can get like, this Dplus series fucking killed me, bro. What is this? I thought they were going to handle Dplus. Look, Dplus isn't a joke, but I thought they're going to. This is primed to be a team where, mate, you even go man for man. Like, where the fuck are their edges supposed to be? They're supposed to be better in almost every single role. But the way they lost this series, like, fucking hell, mate, this is a bomber for me. I'm kind of bummed out about Hanwha Life right now. They were supposed to, like, me and Monty's take when you originally made the roster was, on paper, this and BLG should start as the #1 teams in the world. And then we'll see where GenG is and all the, this team right now would be like the 8th best team in the world or something. This is scary.
Yeah, it's just like switching out the top lane should be like the most easy plug and play type thing to do. Especially because of how we mentioned before, like how Zeus played at the World Championship is like he is capable of playing out these swap scenarios, playing the 1v2s, and he still does. Like he is performing in those situations where he gets dove and he does the usual Zeus magic. The engine of this team was always Delight and Peanut, and they are just not performing. Like I had concerns coming into like deeper variants of Fearless Draft, where maybe like late. In a best of 5, they would run out of champions and they wouldn't be able to execute. And maybe we saw signs of that because we did get to see Peanut on Viego, which never really, really excites me. But it's like in terms of how they drive the game, it just isn't there from Delight and Peanut. And also Zeka in terms of his individual performance, I don't know where he is. It's like he mostly when you see him on the screen, it's like primarily like negative. It's like if someone told me at the end of last year that coming into the winter split that Showmaker would be way better than Zeka, I'd be very surprised. Very surprised. It's just like as if Showmaker has absorbed him in a way. Because Showmaker is playing really, really well, and Zeka is where is he? Where is Zeka?
And by the way, even in that series, like I'll give you an example. Game 1 was really close. It was like going neck and neck. That team fight they had around the dragon, where they just for real ran in a line and the equalizer just went across all of them. What even is that? Like you would have won that fight probably. You were actually going to win that. And they looked, by the way, like it looked on Dplus like they were about to bail out if you killed another person. The second they hit that, they just engaged on you. And that was the whole game. Because that's another thing people have to remember, Yamato. One thing about the fact is I clearly know League of Legends, the devs, do not want 59-minute rogue games. They don't want that type of battle. They don't want it like StarCraft where you gradually take areas and you fight back and forth. It's like, fucking trench warfare moving back and forth. They want it to be a heavyweight boxing match. They want games like this where when you have the big fight at the end, if you win, you can just turn in the whole games of it. It's been like this for the last 2 years. JDG famously would just take the Baron and win the game off it within a few minutes. You've obviously last year, you could have teams. I mean, it happened with like FlyQuest Team Liquid. You win this massive fight and you win the whole game off it. Bro, the one area they should have been dope is team fighting this roster. Look at the fucking players they've got. How are you getting beaten by Dplus in team fights? This is scary. Look, Dplus aren't shit. I'm not saying that at all. The problem is no one had Dplus as a world's winner. I'm supposed to believe this hand of my life. Look, maybe they can. There's a whole year left. But also the nature of the shows is we can only react on this. So we have to go crazy on this week. For this week, I have to say fucking... The joke is, if they were playing D+, I give HLE D-. Not really that good a joke, but it's all right. It's all right. I'm coming up with the shit on the fly. What can I do?
Oh, so on the flip side, at least, like D+, especially with how like GenG dropping a city against Bro, it's like D+, it's like we mentioned it so many times, bro. Like I think it's like in same way I view KC in some senses, I do think it's like you could see the individual like star power there with Lucid and Siwu. Like these guys are insane. Like they're really, really good. It's like, especially with top lane, it's like been such a dry role that I'm happy to see like some new names performing. Like Siwu is showing many different sides to himself, and Lucid is like, he's like probably just by far the best performing jungler so far. Like he's been fantastic. I think he's been super, super good. Like his Lilia games, his Nidalee games, even his like damn fucking Kindred game. I remember he also played like Sejuani and did well. Like he had a solid Wukong game. Like across the board, Lucid is just fantastic. And we already mentioned his Showmaker's form. Fantastic. I don't know where it's coming from. He's just completely revived. Maybe Beryl is just like the guy that just keeps him happy somehow,
Bro, that meme all of you were doing years ago where it was like that damn smile. Bro, Beryl just does this thing. I don't know. He'll just phone in weeks. He'll have weeks where he's playing shit that doesn't even make sense. He's just doing bad games. He's having hints. And then he'll do shit like in game 3 where he just does that fucking engage. It's like, this is why the motherfucker gets to do a shit-eating grin afterwards and go, I've won a couple of worlds. It's like he's at the status now. I'm not joking, Yamato. I give him the status that Koreans gave to Hillesang. I don't understand what he's doing. Some of it doesn't look good to me, but he is making it work. So I have to say he is some sort of mad professor. There's just something he knows about League that it's unorthodox. He's not the professor who would tell you the textbook way to play League. He's the professor that has some alternate theory about other dimensions and fucking wave particles, and no one can understand him because he's on the brink of madness. But there's some genius there. There is. Like he does bring. But this way, if you saw last season when they had the aforementioned Kellen and Moham, there was none of this factor. They basically just had to like hold, don't die, and let aim and kill everyone. That was the tactic before. This guy, like, it's changed totally their engages, how they take the fights. He also clearly, by the way, if people say he's a shot caller, I'll believe him if it's true. Seems like he has some sort of effect on the team. Teams play his style.
I think the main thing is he definitely has that magic. The thing we mentioned before, I mentioned before, was like the phoning in thing. It does slowly like catch up to people. It's like Beryl is like the final guard of that phoning in aspect, because there's definitely moments where we're like, why the fuck are we 2-8 on the leads when you're winning the game? It's like let's calm it down just a little bit. There's definitely moments of that. It's like I still have just it lays it into my mind, like that series where KT lost against T1, where they were 4K gold ahead, and BDD tried to drag Beryl over the finish line, but he just, once again, that damn smite just logged over to BDD and said, not today, bro. There's a new patch coming out. I don't want to go to the World Championship. I need to play fucking Genshin Impact or some shit. I don't know how his mind works, but it just seems like he picks and chooses. And I've worked with players like that, and sometimes, as a coach, all you can do is pray. I definitely feel that way with the Roddy Sack guys, because it's like now none of my players are getting paid shit. So I don't know if I'm gonna come into practice one day and it's a bad scrim set, and one guy's like, CBA doing this shit. You need to find somebody else. Because I have no power, I have nothing to leverage over them. It's like either they enjoy it or they don't, So I'm trying to streamline the process, and I feel like working with someone like Beryl or like the Shy or whatever, it's like, it's like, oh, he's in the room. It's like, I'm not going to say anything to anger him. I don't want to affect him. It's like, if I tell him something, he's going to do so far the opposite just to prove a point. It's like, oh shit. It's like, in the room, it's like, I just don't want to fucking affect the ambiance, because I can just hope and pray. That's just the way that's active of Damwon, because I think that's probably like the benchmark of how far they can go. It's like, is Barrow going to perform at a really, really high level when they get deeper into the season, or will he phone it in? I think that's just the benchmark for Damwon's ceiling.
Right. Obviously, we're going to now address an elephant in the LCK room, as it were. Right, Yamato, let me just ask you a question first. Have you had, I don't know if you're in our circle yet. If you aren't, get ready. You're about to join the inner circle. Have you ever had loads of the T1 stands flame you and say you're a fucking dick eater, or you love the LPL, or you hate Faker, or you're a piece of shit? Do they flame you if you critique Faker? Do you get that much?
Well, they flame me for hanging out with you. They flame me for hanging out with Dom. Like that's the one that I get. Like mostly the commentary like that people attack me for, so to speak, is commentary that sometimes Dom has done. But right. I'm fairly critical of Faker, and I think that like when he performs bad, and I praise him the right way, because I care about, like the same way you do. It's like I care about how history is perceived and how everything was reached. It's like to neglect all of the details and the hardships, I think takes away from the fucking story. So I think it's important for me to say this guy's underperforming, and then his rise again is just so damn beautiful. So in that process, definitely there's moments where you get attacked, because it's sometimes you have these fans that it's like they are so deeply entrenched into the idea of being a part of the team that they feel that any form of criticism is almost a criticism towards them. And their way of like being a part of the inner circle is to just attack anyone else that doesn't love the team the same way they do. But I love fucking how T1 play. I fucking enjoy the players. I enjoy Faker's career. For me, it's clearly the goal. But I'm not going to be irrational or delusional about it. And in that process, definitely, some people have come after me. There was like this period in time where all of my content was like translated into Korean. And there was, when I looked at some of those videos, it was like everything was like cut out of context in a really, really like this deceptive way almost. And that was like, ooh, that's kind of weird, bro. We live in an era of where people can create things if they want to. So that was a little bit spooky, but it was like, in my mind, if there's passion, I'm happy. If people get angry, I'm happy. It's a sign of, that delusion is a sign of life. So I have sympathy, and I understand why it's there, because I do think it's a good sign. Yeah, I can tell you this, right? There was this guy who was defending Gumuyushi by saying, oh, this is the guy you say underperforming, and then he showed the stats from 2023 Worlds and 2024 Worlds, like that's irrelevant at all. And I did the same tweet, but I posted Messi stats from 2012. So I was like, oh, this is Messi. This is the guy you say is underperforming. He's no longer in Barcelona on the best, like he's not playing with the best teams in the world. Like this is the guy you say is underperforming. And I got attacked by Ronaldo fans. That's how like so delusional. It's like Ronaldo fans came after me. They missed the point completely. So it's just like something that just appears whenever there's sizes. It's like Ronaldo fans came after me. I don't feel anything towards Messi. I don't feel anything about Barcelona. I don't give a shit about this team. I've been a Mourinho fan my whole life. It's like I love the Chelsea with the Didier Drogba and so forth. Like this era, I love the Porto and the Inter Milan that you mentioned. It's like I'm a Mourinho fan. Like I care about people and players more than teams. That's how I always been. But then Ronaldo fans attacked me, and then I realized, oh, it's just the same shit everywhere, bro. It's just whenever sizes become too big, they become irrational and crazy.
Because the reason I asked you is people have never understood this, because I understand, right? To a normal person, the fans of T1 hating on you, just like Carmine Corp fans, just like Movistar Rider Call fans, it works. What it does is it creates not a positive incentive. It's actually not a very good strategy long term. But what it does is it creates a negative disincentive. What they're basically creating is this: if you even talk about our player without praising him, we will attack you, you will feel bad, and other people might think you're a horrible person. And what they think is, because it works, they think that will make you shut up. And you know what it does? It makes Cadril shut up sometimes and apologize. It makes the broadcast apologize. It makes people who've made great analytical points go, but I don't hate them, and do all this weird framing that never was anything that they'd said. And it makes a lot of people scared. The problem they have is this: people like me and Dom, that doesn't work on us. Not only does it not work, for me, that is red rag to a bull. I live by the saying in esports, the quote, better to die on your feet than live on your knees. I will never bow to some motherfucking Stan idiot pleb fan because he thinks my opinion is evil. He thinks I've done something to him because I said his player's second best, not best. Get the fuck out of my face. I've seen every great League of Legends player and team. You haven't, and you don't even know what you're talking about. You're just a fan. You're just like a fucking half-wit watching a firework show. You're just sitting, oh, hey, oh. Someone wipes the drool. You're just watching shit happen on the screen, and at the end, someone lifts a trophy, you go, that must be the best. So I don't mind if you hate on me. So what I'm saying is this, Yamato, if you've already had it, in England, we have an idiom, in for a penny, in for a pound. You're in then, mate. Because now we're going to criticise T1 fans, and here's why. Holy shit, are you never beating the allegations, you idiots. Not only did you rage your tits off at Zeus, who gave you 2 world championships, you also now have done the most unhinged truck scenario I have ever seen. So here's what happened. It wasn't, Yamato, that they lost that series to Dplus and got humiliated and barrel run and that smile, that damn smile, and that's why they called a truck. They are calling a truck when T1 has played 2 series, won one of them 2-1 over KT, your main rival, and then just clapped out Nongshim. So far, by the way, the team's going great. A sane man's take who cares about League the game. Look, even I'm like, really? Giving up on Gumayusi like that? But the Smash guy has massive potential. I'm going to go ahead and make an assumption. I don't think kkOma is an idiot, Yamato. I imagine in scrims, Gumayushi's had some issues, and then they've seen 1 or 2 games that maybe they lost, that they think he didn't quite on the right page, or he's not playing a champion right, or he's not playing the right way with Guerrier, or whatever it might be. Maybe Faker has an opinion. Who the fuck knows? I know they're not just rolling a dice and going, sorry, Gumayushi, you're out. You're going to what? You got snake eyes. So because they've brought Smash, a player they've literally developed who looked like the best player on that Challenger team, shut the fuck up, Reckless fans. Because they brought Smash in, and by the way, he looks good. He looks like actually a player. It reminds me of, are you ready? When Gumayusi came into the team. It's the same thing. And I've never thought Gumayusi was Viper or Uzi Eye or the greatest player. I've always thought he was a good player, bordering on very good when he's got to his peaks. And I've never quite seen him cap out as like the #1 player at ADC, for example. So I don't think it's egregious in Winter Split to put him in a Nongshim series. Or if you think you're just not going to win against KT, to try him out in that series. Bro, they are doing trucks after winning series, because now these T1 fans think they get to decide the lineup or something. Like, I can't even believe this, bro. I get it after losses. I get it after, like, Zeus left in a way. I get the really big, obvious fan ones. This is like, you probably know this, Yamato. You know, there's been times in Italy where the ultras of teams like Inter and fucking Juve and AC Milan, the real like OG clubs with the mega ultras that go to every game with the flares. There's been times where some of their players, for real, have had videos where they've had to just stand there and the ultras tell them all off and tell them, like, hey, what are you doing? Like, we cheer for you. We come every week. Like, you need to play better. You need to play your heart in the game. That's one thing, because those are teams that were suffering. Those are great franchises that aren't where they should be. And these guys are losers, so they give their whole fucking life to support an AC Milan or something, right? I just like to watch the games and think it's cool, or good or bad. Like, I don't go fucking harass someone. But these T1 fans now, it's like, you've gone too far. The power's gone to your head, because what is this truck? Why are we bringing trucks? Because you take Gumayusi out the lineup. We're not allowed. By the way, you are aware your coach is kkOma. The guy who benched Faker in that final I said before. The guy who used to take fucking Bengi and bring him in for Peanut, who was the better jungler, because he had to like clutch the series. Then after that, did the same thing with Blank and had Blank in the lineup, and then would replace fucking whoever it was they had after that. They had someone else, and then Blank would come in and replace him. I can't remember. That may be Peanut again. It was Blank and Bengi first, then it was Peanut and Blank. That was it. This is the ultimate guy for swapping people in and out. His whole shit is like you test out 2 lineups, you have one for one thing, and then you go to the other. I don't get this, mate. I'm genuinely puzzled about why this ended the trucks now. I don't know what they're not even doing badly. It's not even a problem. I don't get it. If anything, doesn't Dplus look even better now? What are we doing? What is this about? Give me some thoughts. Where are we going on this, mate?
I just wanted to touch on the first part as well, because I realized something in terms of how I interact with fans. There was a moment where after I was benched from KC, I was doing like the live viewing together with Dom, and we were watching KC matches together, and there was a part of the fan base that had a very visceral reaction. It's like, how can you be with Dom? He's ruining who you are as a person. And I was like, what the fuck? You know, sometimes I think like the main thing for me was just I drew the line where it's like you don't want to appease to people that only are watching you if you are doing exactly what they want you to. And I can say there are still a lot of KC fans from those days that like me for me. And those are the people that I want to, just those are the people that I appreciate. And I think that those are the fan bases you want to build. It's like my stream is slowly building, my Discord is slowly building and so forth. And I feel like I'm building it the right way, because I'm not trying to take like cheap wins anywhere, and I think this is the only way to do it, because at that moment in time, it was like I was kind of frightened by that visceral reaction. But in the end, it's like, who do you want to appease to? Because who is going to, push for you? Only those who see your genuine self. Back on the T1 topic, I think if there's anything, right, I think that the reaction is definitely completely irrational, way too far, and completely like unnecessary. But I think from T1 standpoint, if you're managing this from like a PR perspective, I do think that they could have eased in everybody into it a little bit better, right? There was just this mystery around it, and it was very, very strange. I think for a lot of people that are watching T1, I think there's a lot of Gumayushi specific fans that just want to know what's up, because like there was a lot of speculation going on. It's like he's sick, he's in the hospital. I was like, what the fuck is happening? I have no idea what's happening. And I do think that the communication could have been a little bit better. But in that moment, right, that's just from a PR standpoint. In that moment for us, it's like we are rational people, so we're going to look at it. It's like, okay, we don't know why. Let's see what it is. I don't know if Gumayushi is sick or they want to try something. Then I saw Gumayushi in the arena, and then Joe Marsh said we're going to kkOma is going to clarify after the match. From a competitive standpoint, that makes sense, right? It's like you want to hold your cards close to your chest and then see. You don't want to reveal to the opponent who's playing. I understand from that side. And then kkOma's rationale behind the decision makes a lot of sense. It's like the whole idea is that the conversation about who is going to take up Faker mantle post Faker's time when he's going to retire eventually. It's like the conversation is that Gumayushi is going to be that guy for T1. Shouldn't he be put through the same tests that Faker was put through? The same way you mentioned, it's like he always was challenged. He always was pressured. It's like SKT, it's like the T1 is the most high pressure environment, and the way it's delivered to the fans is in a nice packaging, and everything seems like, flowers and everything is good. But the fact that this roster stayed together through all of the challenges and all the tough parts that they did for 3 years, I think as a competitor, how difficult it can be to run things back, because you carry a lot of baggage, you carry like so much pain, and you carry so much challenge, and that's so tough to overcome time and time again. And I think in terms of how the inner workings are, it's like, I know that the T1 players, especially like a player like Faker, we had that moment that, he expressed his stress post that game where he didn't play so good. Like, that was such a raw moment, but it just showed, bro, he doesn't fucking want to lose. This is a high pressure environment. Maybe this is a thing that is the best thing possible for Gumayushi, because, looking at the solo queue, he did jump in and start playing fucking spamming Ezreal and Kai'Sa. So, maybe it's the wake-up call that will elevate him to a new level of greatness. And on the topic of Smash, this guy's fucking playing good. Like, he's playing his ass off. He's playing super, super good, super talented player. Loved his Ezreal game. I think that his Kaiser game was also phenomenal. Played a fantastic Caitlyn game. Like he just seemed to slot in right away. And I think from SKT's like T1's perspective, from where they were at, I think it makes perfect sense. Gumyushi wasn't performing so well in the first initial matches, but I can see the point where, from a PR strategy point of view, they probably could have executed better, because I think they could have lessened the pain of the current storm from like a business perspective.
Because the silliest thing is, I actually don't see any problem at all with T1. In fact, to me, the Smash guy adds an extra dimension to this team that I wasn't aware we could even have. Like, maybe he turns out to actually be the hard carry ADC and we do a swap in and out and Guma comes in for some of the more nuanced ones, or where you want to play for a carrier pick or something. And maybe that's what we do. That's, by the way, I did say, I thought with Doran, they were missing an extra gear they used to have with Zeus. So here's the thing. It's not them that should be worried. GenG's the one where it's like, what? So I want to talk about this Brionne series, mate, because holy fuck, here's what's weird about it. You can tell who only reads Reddit threads and who watches the games. Because if you watch these two games, bro, I know why they lost. I actually think I know. Because if you watch the game, both games start the same way. Both games, Brionne gets early kills. Then it's like they start having skirmishes, and GenG shows no fear, by the way. They're willing to go into the skirmishes and try and find them and then they're having quite even team fights and skirmishes a whole bunch of times. It's going back and forwards. Like GenG players have hands. But then what happens is, towards the end of both games, like, look, props to Brionne that they could even do this. A lot of teams, you say a throw, but I always say you have to be able to catch the throw. If you can't catch the throw, it's not a throw, you still win. The problem I have in this series is, this is why a concern about GenG was, is it true that Peanut and then later Lehens were the brains of your team? Were they the shot callers and the ones that had the macro? Or did Chovy actually become like Scout? And did he level up and have like, he can carry mid lane and he has the macro? Bro, GenG looks like they are the guys where they're really heavy hitters, but they're always going to opt into a fucking fist fight. They're always going to just go for like, you want to brawl? Fuck it, let's go. Now look, I can see why they think that's awesome. They have great hands. But bro, they actually lost the key fights of these games. All the key fights, they actually were just full on fighting. Everyone's got its all fucking abilities. And they actually lost. They got handsed. And Brionne, in theory, you would think that's a team. The old GenG would have just fucking ground this team into dust. You wouldn't even have had you'd have had games where there never was a fight. Where it's just shove you on the side lane, back to the objective, still farming, CS is up, protect the lanes. You can't do shit to us. And at the end of the game, fucking the minions are doing half the damage to your fucking towers and base. You know what I mean? Like this GenG is not that. This GenG, it's what we thought they were on paper. They have fucking crazy hands, bro. You can imagine if these four players pop. Fucking hell, this is going to be dynamite. But I don't see a lot of smarts here. I just saw them all opt in. I think the whole game, they just didn't believe they could lose. They were like, look, keep going. Eventually, we're fucking GenG. Of course, we're going to fucking beat them in these team fights. And they got 2-0 beaten, but it's not like they got completely clapped from minute one. I don't want to hear that from people. Like, if anything, like, it's just more of a warning sign for me, for other teams. Because now I'm thinking of this. I think of how T1 played that really weird style against BLG to take away BLG's strengths and have like a different way to win. They didn't just go straight up for 5v5s. If you go like this in your GenG and you go and who else? Let's say BLG is the best team from China now. I don't know if you want to opt into hands fights. You can win doing that, but it's very risky too. You can get knocked the fuck out in this boxing analogy too. I don't know. What do you think about this series, Brionne? Because obviously Brionne is not a good team. I would not hear that either. Like, they're not terrible, but they're certainly not going to challenge for anything. Come on.
Like the strange thing about that one, like I think it's like Brionne Blade played how I imagine Damon would play against GenG. Right. It's like I think that was like one of the best individual performances from Closer. Like he did highlight shit time and time again. Hambak was like absolutely nuts. They were
catching people. Like, they were catching people too.
Like I was so stunned by Bro's performance, because like just looking at in terms of how they played out the fights, I was very certain that they would come in and beat KT. But then, like, the match against KT, they were complete ass. Yep. And the main thing is that I think GenG, it's like looking at when they took records, even last year, they had games where they fell behind. Like, most of the games, they fell behind, and there was just like, they would just win a game with 4K down, and they would just win a fight. They would just be able to switch it on, and they would be able to just close it out with ease. But now, like, you don't have that same room, because if you're weaker, it's like the enemy can force you into fights because Atakan is there, Nashor is so impactful for post 25. The pacing of the game doesn't allow you to strategically kind of dissect your opponent. And then they have to face the music. They like walked into those fights and they were getting just outplayed left and right. It was strange to see, because I do think I want to give props to Bro, because MKOI, I think Hype was like performing super well. Hamburg was doing crazy shit. Even like Morgan found like really, really decent flanks. But I want to, like, in my mind, I don't care too much about GenG, you know, that losing this way, because I do think there was a habit that was built in the past, especially, it's like we mentioned Canyon before. It's like Canyon in regular seasons, he hasn't like played like super, super good. You have like those occasional like crazy Canyon moments and crazy good games, but it's like he doesn't have like that volume and that like, oh, every game just like an engine, boom, 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 puts out like monster game after monster game. It's like always in playoffs, Kazakhs out of nowhere, beats the Zinza that just destroyed you in the previous game, 1v9s, pulls out the AP Katus, does crazy shit on Kane, this type of shit. This is what Canyon is like fucking known for me. So I want to, like, I still, for me, this Bro series doesn't change anything. I think that the nature of the game allows these past habits that they got away with the previous year. I think they're still there. And I think they just kind of got bitch slapped in a way, you know? It's like, oh, you don't get away with this shit. And I think this is something I trust that they can like just tune, because when the game was like serious and everything was on the line, you could see like when they were playing as How a Life, it's like they put in the effort because they knew the gravitas of that series. And like, as long as that's the case, I will go by how they play in their best games. Similar to like how Mickey performed against G2. That's like what I know about Mickey, you know, he needs something to wake up for, you know?
Good news is, weave the two topics together. The next big match at the end of the group stage, T1 against GenG. By the way, get the truck service on speed dial, T1 fans. You know your record against Chovy the last few years, minus Worlds. All I'm saying is, this is if you're in English, what we say is the idiom is, you say it's just what the doctor ordered. If I'm GenG, you know what, I'm feeling a bit down about that Brion loss. I thought we were going to have like an undefeated group stage. It's fucking Brion. But you know what? Oh, what's that? T1 lost to Dplus, then had a 3-gamer against KT, and their own fans are hating on them when they bring a better player in. Oh, baby. You know what? This could be just what the doctor, this could be the little tonic that picks me up. You know, ooh, got a little, it's like having a little espresso shot. Ooh, that's a little perk up. Ooh, it's 4 p.m. I was thinking like I was having a nap, but you know what? Maybe instead I'm going to go fucking ham till 4 a.m. Let's go, baby. Because this is going to be spicy. There's 2 ways this goes, Yamato. If T1 somehow wins, look, if you notice, Thorin's too good at narratives, bro. You're in my office now. This is what I do. You know, you wouldn't ask Baryshnikov, how does he dance? You wouldn't ask fucking Rembrandt, how does he paint? You wouldn't ask Einstein, how does he sleep with his cousin? This is just what these people, look at that one up, that's straight fire. The fucking joke's incredible, I know. That's just what I do. Bantering and narratives is what I tricked you with that one, didn't I? You never saw that coming. Like I said, it's what I do. So because this is what I do, you're all thinking, how can you possibly do this, Thorin? How can you side with T1? One, you never watched Summoning Insight. You are aware until like 2018, I was a T1 stan with Monty and Faker stan. So one, you don't know history. And two, if they win, I've just told you, I'm on T1's side now against the T1 stands. It's not ever T1 I'm against, guys. It was always you. I've always said this. I never hated Faker. You know I hate? You, the T1 stand that worships Faker. Not for his play, because you think he's a teen idol and a K-pop idol, and you're just on some, I must protect. You're on that bullshit. Like, I hate that. I hate you. And by the way, you know, you go, yes, you're not even letting me have an opinion. I'm letting you have an opinion. I'm mocking it. My opinion's me mocking you. Can I have an opinion? I bet I fucking can. And tell you what, try and stop me. There's no truck service for me, bitch. So I'm absolutely going to go ham on T1 stance, because I think it'll prove that T1 made the right decision. So there's 2 ways it goes. Either T1 made the right decision and the smash gambles genius and they're going to beat GenG, or GenG goes, you know what? Brion's one thing. They could get okay, bro. But at the end of the day, I want to be team 1, whatever. You get this, and there's something there. We'll workshop that one. Not all of them land. That's the thing about it. You got to keep taking shots. They don't all land. Not every Hillersan genius angle actually was a genius angle. Sometimes it was an int. But you know what? We'll never know till you do the angle. So I think if GenG wins, we're right back in the fucking game, mate. That's when we're back in the game. That's when we're just ready. Because this is going to be a banger. This could be a really exciting series. It's going to be a thriller. And it's that BO3 Fearless Draft, mate. That's added a different dimension too. The Fearless Draft in LCK is definitely a fucking game changer. That's the league where it's a chip. Now you don't see the same lineups run back. It's actually really interesting to see where people go in game 3.
And yeah, but honestly, it's like with the Atakan and the Fearless, I feel like LCK has become like so fucking exciting. Like this split of LCK has been like all of the matches are super interesting. I like that we get no repetition, but nevertheless, like GenG T1, like from just looking at it for what it is, it's like I just can't imagine a world where T1 beats them. Like they would have
I don't think so. Yeah.
They would have to like elevate, right? They would have to elevate. It's like there's so many different like ways for this to go in terms of how it's framed. Because imagine a world, like imagine the other side. Like imagine for some reason they want to sub in Gumayushi because he did good in practice. Like that could also be like if he played that GenG series, regardless of the outcome, could also be something that just changes everything. It's just like kind of reminds me of what you mentioned about like the Guilhoto thing. It's like how it just has planted a seed for like all of the narratives to come. Like imagine the GenG coach just says, "Yo, I don't think T1's doing shit this year," but he doesn't have the guts to do that because I wouldn't have the guts to do that. That would be scary as shit to do in Korea.
Oh, right. I tell you what. You want to do some question and answers? You want to do the fan Q&A?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Do we need a break? Can we just go straight?
Nah, rock and roll, man. Rock and roll. Let's go.
Yeah. Right. Let me just have a look. Let me just check I've got the right.
We're only 4 hours in. Which go, bro.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Are you all good to go? Right. Not every episode has to be super long, but because we're establishing it, I thought we'd go along and we'd have
I love it, bro. I love it, bro.
Yeah, we'll have these extended tangents. So let's do some from this. So here's one for you. So now that they've done in some games Hall of Fame, right? Here's the question from friend of the show, Bot Pounder 420. Which esports pros, doesn't have to be league, but they can be league too. Which esports pros would be your first inductees, listen carefully, into the Chokers Hall of Fame?
Oh, damn.
Who are the biggest chokers ever in league for you?
Oof.
Sad thing about this is we're going to be mentioning some very great players, bro. Like, immediately, I'm going to say it. Monty isn't here. It's Peanut, mate. He's straight in there. I've believed in this guy a million times. Tyra Banks meme. We were pulling for you. This motherfucker let me down 1 million times. You know how many times he should have beaten Faker and fucking had worlds, and then I could have talked all that shit, but he couldn't. He's just so good. But somehow in the moment, fucking hell, tell you what, like his name Peanut, cracks under pressure. And then
another jungler, brother. I have another jungler, Mr. Tarzan, bro. Mr. Tarzan.
That's a good one. That's a good shout, especially internationally. Yeah, of course.
Fuck me, Tarzan is also
another genius,
so damn good.
Yeah.
I think like even like it's just a list of junglers. I think Kanavi is someone that you can bring up too, because just in comparison to how good he is, right? And then to have like that Belveth moment, you know, like two very, very like crucial mistakes after being so damn good, right? I think that's like the main pain point. It's like Tarzan, Peanut, and Kanavi. They was like their volume is just so damn insane, and then just fizzle out. Shit. I don't know if it was a Freudian slip to just mention Chovy in there, man.
The problem with Chovy is I do think originally he was tracking to do that, but I actually think he had a couple, like 2022 was fine. 2023, I don't think it was mainly his fault. 2024, I think he didn't play great. I think he had some dodgy games there. But then again, okay. No, for me, Chovy's half and half.
The MSI saved him, right?
The MSI too. Yeah, the problem is it's half and half on Chovy for me. The other one's choked seemingly all the time internationally. That's brutal. By the way, I'll give you some other ones. If you just look internationally, I'll give you some Chinese ones. Clearlove used to just choke every Worlds. I don't know why. Tian's choked a bunch of fucking Worlds away. He's had some criminal ones too. Who else would I put in the mix? Chokers. I'm trying to think who else would be a choker though. Who else bitches out? That's a pretty good list. I don't think from CS who I'd put in this list. Who's the worst choker? Oh, it's hard in CS because you have to pick people.
That's to be Titan, no? The Titan roster at LAN.
That's a good shout. I tell you what, one of my favorites, Existence. Existence was one of the best in-game leaders ever, but if you put him in the major, he only ever was in the playoffs once, and he was supposed to win that one. He went out in the semis. The other ones, he got grouped. He just kept getting grouped even when he had the number one team in the world. And by the way, I can tell you, this guy was a genius. He was a mega... If you noticed Yamato, that's maybe what we'll make the point about. We're leaning into this. It's people where their skill is having complete control of the game, like a chess master. But imagine that a chess master got really nervous. I don't know if you know this. Well, it's already when you perform, you don't have access to all your mind and your memory anyway, because you're thinking, you're in the moment, right? There's the pressure. But then when you get really nervous, it's like you cut off the subconscious to me, or the unconscious. You're only in the sort of date. You're, oh my God, I'm just up here reacting to emotions and seeing what I'm saying. And you lose your faculty. You don't have the great shot call. You don't have the poise. Think about how GenG played as a team. Lehens, he can go in there as well, by the way. Lehens' control as a macro guy last year was beautiful. He played the league I described. You don't have to take a fight. You play a boring League of Legends, just use the game against them, not even your hands. But when he got to Worlds, that was fucking gone. He was, what am I doing? Oh no, headless chicken just running in and getting his head banged off. That was outrageous. So I think that's a correlation too. Really smart, great players, but who sort of can't keep their poise. Sometimes in a weird way, I'd rather have a guy who's a bit of a lunkhead, but he just goes forwards and he doesn't get nervous, and he goes for his shot. If he hits a shot, he hits a shot. If he doesn't, he doesn't. So yeah. Okay, there's a few. Let's keep going. There's obviously a few to do. Fucking hell, there's loads actually. We might not do everything. We'll see. There was quite a bit of fanfare around Lazyfeel, the Vietnamese player that was playing, for DRX, being the first non-Korean to play in the LCK. Does that open the door to other non-Koreans? Would the LCK ever supplement its weak top lane pool with the LPL's superior options? What do you think, Yamato?
I think it's so tough to imagine. I do think there is an incentive for like the lower end teams to take a couple of risks. I think from a GM perspective, like I've never bought into this idea of like, oh, we have regional pride, which have European players. No, that's fucking. I think that's all bullshit, bro. Like I don't give a fuck where you're from. Like in the end, it's like you measure performance and how good you are as a player in contrast to like your strengths and weaknesses. Bro, there are European players that don't communicate. And when you import like a Korean player, maybe there's going to be Korean players that try very hard to learn English and try to integrate themselves. Some people can have a more difficult time doing that. You should just do your scouting and you should dip your toes into every damn pool. Like, why wouldn't you? I think there's so many player bases, and if you restrict yourself in any shape or form, you're going to miss opportunities like this. Because Lazyfeel, I had no clue about him, but he's fucking great. He's fantastic. He's a great player. And I think if you don't expose yourself to all of the player pools, you're going to miss out on opportunities. And I think any GM worth his salt should pursue to do that. And in the end, like if you're importing a player from a different region, you're just going to just weigh that against everything else. It's like, these are our resources. Do we have the right faculties to kind of support this player to and integrate them to the team? And those are the same calculations you need to do with every damn player. Like I've never cared for like that regional pride thing. It's like we need European players. Like why are we importing Koreans? No, like in the end, it's like if you import a player and he's performing and he's doing good, that's great for the region. Yeah, if you brought in a player that is better than all of your other players in that role, then you've done a service to the region, and hopefully that motivates people to do better. Not the other way around. It shouldn't be like some fucking project where like, oh, we need to give it to these players even though they're worse. I don't believe in that, you know. So GMs looking at every player pool, I really like that. Will it open up the door for other things? Maybe for the lower end teams, right? They have incentives to take risks, but I think for like the top 4, top 5, there's too many established names. And I think the big names from LPL, they have too big of an incentive to stay in the big teams in terms of just how the pay structure is. Like seeing Bin move over to LCK, I doubt that's ever gonna fucking happen. I don't think that the top end teams would want to have him over like, let's say Zeus and Keen. It wouldn't make sense. And the lower end teams wouldn't be able to like pay for him, but maybe like some hidden talent, maybe.
One thing I always do in my career, no matter what my opinion's going to be, is I add in the context of what's going on, whether it's something that plays to my opinion or not. I'll make points against my own take. So one thing I have always thought is utterly pathetic about LCK fans is they will talk about Koreans playing in half Chinese teams without mentioning that they're even playing with people speaking another language. They will act like Rookie has played in the same conditions as Faker his whole career. They'll act it, but he had great teammates. He didn't have Koreans, though. He didn't have 5 Koreans, as in a coach and 4 Koreans around him. That's a massive disadvantage. Faker's never even gone outside of fucking Korea and played on another team. We didn't know what he'd do in the LPL. No one else said he could. Guess what? All that genius shot calling captaincy might just disappear. If you're playing with some Korean fucking ADC and then just like Chinese jungle support, who the fuck knows what happens to Faker's career? So in that sense, I will say, I don't think any top team, even the best LPL players, will ever pick them up. And the reason why I say that is, I think they want the OP advantage of speaking Korean and having Korean culture in their teams. I think that is a massive factor. Right, we're not going to do all the questions because there's loads. So some of them I'm going to leave for a couple for Four Horsemen because they put potentially political ones in there. We're not doing that, like about the Saudis. And then there's also just a couple that are general ones we can do next week because it's already been mega long. So we'll just do some others. Here's one for you. What do you guys think is the reason for kkDrill's meteoric rise to success in core streaming? As a lifelong I Will Dominate viewer who averages about 10k viewers, I am just shocked that there are that many people who would watch League in English as much as they watch kkDrill. What do you think gives him his immense edge compared to others? What do you think?
I think there's two main things. I think that kkDrill does a great job of not being controversial at all. And I think that he does a great job of making his streams very, very approachable, for the average viewer. I think it's very easy to jump into a kkDrill stream and stick around. I think he does a great job of that. I think kkDrill, his timing was so damn good. Like I think often with content creation, there's certain moments in time that you need to really, really capture and play out well. I think his timing going from casting after casting a World Finals was just perfect. I think some of those past moments. I remember like the Renekton conversation with like LS and so forth. I think his gradual like how he played it out strategically, whether it was intentional or unintentional, was just brilliant in terms of like maintaining momentum. And I think on my end as well, additionally, I think it's cool to see that when he's at this level that he still takes risks, because I think that's a part of it too, because content creation like really, really ebbs and flows all the time. And if you want to be like the top dog, you need to like be ahead of the curve. And he made his own like the League Award show, which was a massive risk, right? Massive risk. And at the same time as well with Los Ratones, also additionally like a massive risk, but it's just working out because he's taking like the right risks in a calculated way. And as a friend of mine, I also think that kkDrill is just like a good person. I think that like kkDrill fans come into my stream, they're all very, very nice guys. They're nice people. I love them, and I'm very happy that kkDrill is like the top dog, because you can definitely have like a lot worse streamers be the biggest streamers that create like a culture that maybe isn't the best,
I personally wouldn't do things kkDrill's way. If you notice, my style is I never pander. I'll never pander to anyone. So I wouldn't do this, but I'll take the approach you took at the end there. If I have to have someone be the #1 streamer in the world, it never could be Dom, guys. He's doing too much real analysis and he doesn't back down from fans. That will never allow you to be the most popular. By definition, to be the most popular in the modern day, the most people must agree with you or think you agree with them or that you haven't offended them. Dom's style is to be like Marmite. You either like him or you hate him. You love him or you hate him. That's it. Same for me. But if someone had to be the #1 streamer, I'd much rather it's kkDrill than Tyler 1. And so what I think is the genius of kkDrill's move is this. If you go watch when he came on my shows, long before he was ever on LEC, he was on my shows as a jungler. And when he would come on, he was great at analysis and he was dry as fuck. Dry as fuck. He didn't have any banter. He didn't have any jokes. He even actually would get his feelings hurt if you kind of were too critical of him on the show, even about his play and stuff, And you could tell this is a guy who hadn't come out of his shell. He hadn't developed his personality. He's put so much effort into that. I know I did something similar. I used to just be the nerd behind the camera. I would never have been on camera. I had to put a lot of effort into how do you become good on camera? That became my strength eventually. So I think he has tapped into what Zoomer culture is. All that the rats, the screaming, the jumping up and down, the pretending like he's actually on one of those regional streams or we hate this person and we have this person. All that shit, right? I would never watch that. That's not my cup of tea, not quite my tempo. I fucking hate that shit. If you could make a kkDrill stream and edit that out, I'd watch all the highlights. But he does that to get idiots in the door. Then he gives them straight fire analysis. That's the sugar to make the medicine go down, as we say in English. The sugar in the pill that makes the medicine not bitter, right? And then finally, this is also something I don't agree with, but it's a fantastic strategy because being a streamer is like being a politician. It's about getting as many eyeballs on you as much as possible and as much faith and goodwill. He appeases fan bases. So even when he is right and they are wrong, he finds a way to make them feel like he's not against them. And he even will apologise to them for stuff like the League Awards when they get mad that he said maybe he wouldn't have picked T1 and that. He will appease them. He'll say sorry to them in a way that me and Dom would never do in a million years, because it's against the ethos of who we are. So I think I agree with you. He's played all sides very, very well. And by the way, if anyone was going to be number one, he deserves it the most. So there you go. You can say basically you're an Idle Dominant fan, but who gives a fuck? Right, this one is... I can't even see what name that was. Wait there. That was from Sasasi, and then the one from the Lazy Field was about Hellfire 206. Right, Nadnerb says, make an all-time griefer roster, and you have to prioritise people that they think would have been better if he hadn't have griefed. Then he gives an entire roster of players with alterners. I'm not going to do that. Like, it's not a jukebox. You can ask a question, but we're not like whores who have to listen to your fucking takes. So just... fill one out. We won't do a mega long one. I can't have 20 minutes on every fucking answer. This is going to be 5 hours long, guys. And I have to go and do other fucking work today. So, top lane, who is going to be on the all-time griefer list? Who are you thinking of? Like a specific year of a player?
The first name that comes to mind just has to be Thorin, no? Like he just has... there. He just, like, he's solid, right? But his highlight reel is just too fucking goofy, bro. So, like, just in terms of griefing, it has to be him. It has to be him.
If you want an alternate, I'll be fair. There was some years, maybe 2021, 2020. There's a couple of years of the Shy where he did some criminal shit. He did some bad stuff in regionals. He did some bad rookie. If you're a rookie fan, you know that the Shy could be fucking criminal if you wanted to be. What about for jungle? Who's the griefer?
Well, the first one that comes to mind is the jungler of 2015 LGD. This is such a deep cut.
Oh, yes, TBQ.
Like this guy was so criminal. Damn bad.
He was really bad,
so damn bad.
Yes.
And it was like eye-poppingly bad. Like I think like some other come to mind. I'm trying to remember the name of the jungler, the Korean jungler who played for Loud. For some reason, I'm spacing out on the name.
Loud.
Because he played against us and he was so damn bad that I couldn't like accept it.
I'll find it. Croc,
this guy. But I lost against him, so maybe it's just like me being biased.
He's definitely a crazy coin flipper. He's definitely a crazy coin flipper.
Who do you have for jungle?
I mean, I think those are pretty good shouts. I'm trying to think who else was criminal from jungle. Who else was a really bad inter?
Pioshik borderline.
Pioshik straight in there, mate. Pioshik's worst years are absolutely criminal. On his worst years, you would never be able to lose a pro player, mate. Like, he won't just lose the game. He'll absolutely lose the game. But he's so crazy. In a best of 5, he could like single-handedly win you a game and then throw 3 games straight in the trash that have no chance to win ever. Like, if you're people like BDD, mate, you deserve better. You just deserve better, man. Yeah, Pioshik's a good shout, considering he's a world champion. Mid lane, who are we thinking of here? Criminal mid laners who went. I've got one right off the gate, mate.
Tell me.
He's your boy, Nisqy.
Ooh.
Nisqy, the last couple of years in Nisqy, he would, you know, the whole catch the throw. Bro, he just keeps throwing it. If you don't catch it the first time, he give you a couple more chances. He go, oh, sorry, was that a bit too high? What about, is this underarm? Like, this guy was throwing so many crazy games. Like, think of that one where he was at, like, Worlds against, like, whatever it was, like, fucking JDG or so. He had some criminal, maybe it was MSI I'm thinking about. I forget what game, but he's had some criminal throws, bro. You don't think
definitely like Nisqy, like his overall volume is good, but he's also like his last game of the season is always some.
This isn't the whole career. This is just like, you know, key periods in their career.
Yeah. It's always like the last game of the season. I think that's such a big part of a player's career. It's like last game of the season.
I know.
I remember that Koki package was like Larsen level, you know, just straight up into the enemy team. I remember that one too, you know. There's definitely some griefs in there. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. What a tough question, bro. Like the questions like this, like open up a room I didn't know I had in my head, and I just see like 500 players, and I'm just trying to fucking think through every single player's career. Mid lane. We can leave it at Nisqy.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nisqy.
What about for AD? Because I've got a suggestion. Notice I'm picking like years, like he said. I'm not picking like the whole career. So even though he hasn't been like this for about 2 or 3 years now, if you go to when Knight played with Jackie Love at the beginning of top esports, holy fuck, did this guy grief some games. I have really just seen him flash into 4 people and get deleted 100-0. This guy had some criminal ones, even though now he does the same style, but he kill everyone if he does it. So it's harsh because I don't want to make it to be his rep, but he had some years that were fucking brutal, bro. Really harsh ones to watch.
For sure. I like some other names that come to mind is like iBoy or Leave.
Oh,
like
yeah.
these guys. It's just LPL 80 carries. It's like, damn, he's good. Ah, never mind. What the fuck was that?
It was crazy, bro. I know. He's another player play with Scout, remember, guys? Like, Scout was playing with that fucker and trying to win titles, yeah.
A support has to be Kellen, no? Like Kellen is the first one came to mind.
No.
You have a worse one?
He even suggested it, and this one is easy. 2020 top esports Yuyangia. He needs to go and play with that TBQ guy. Get the fuck. How are you a champion of the LPL? Bro, what he did against Hylissang was illegal. Where he was just getting his shit pushed in by like Pike at like level 3. What? I play Pike all the time. That, by the way, what Hylissang was doing in that game is impossible, but that's because Yuyangia made it possible. You know what I mean? Like, this guy was an idiot. I don't know what he was doing. I thought that guy was criminal. Again, that was an era, by the way, where I thought Jackie Love was actually starting to get pretty good. He just had a criminal fucking support. Oh, it's nuts. Kellen's definitely up there, though. Kellen used to just deft like it was for fun. It's like you would have thought he was a secret T1 fan or something. You know, like, yeah, fuck that. Fuck you, deft. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Fuck me? Like 50 Cent thing.
The super list is long, bro. The super list is long. Like Baolan is also like a name that comes to mind. Like there's some players that have. I like that for us. It's like the names that come up. It's like the majority of them, like especially like support now, top lane and jungle is like players that got criminally too good rosters for what they were as players. It's like Yoshi got winning the World Championship.
You can't really do that as mid and ADC. You actually have to have like a baseline to your game. You're right. It's not, in general, I'm with you. It's those roles are the criminal ones because you can just be filled in while someone else and then just fucking into them, can't you? It's true.
For sure.
Right.
We have more questions.
There's a few more. The problem with this question is it's inappropriate. So he took it and it was funny, but then he made it like we'd have to sexually comment on a pro player in Korea. Think it through, mate. That's just not professional, is it? So instead, I'll just make the first part of the question. You decide how you answer. Obviously, archetypes don't have to be extreme, but which one do you prefer of these three? Ass, tits, or legs? Which is your favorite?
I'm an ass man. I'm an ass man.
Someone clip that. Someone clip that, bro. Just you going, I'm an ass man. An ass man. Like, put that out of context to everyone on the internet. Here's the thing, I'll never lie. And anyone who's watched Old School, somebody inside, let's see if Yamato is a true Old School fan. Do you remember my commentary on the player Clearlove from EDG back in the day? Where I used to say, I acknowledge what Kelsey and Froscoran told me. He was a really good jungler if he could farm up and be like a mini carry in a fight back in the era when people played like Yank style and Koreans were playing low resources. So I used to say he's like a woman where he's not the most beautiful, he's not the best face, he's not the best body, but he's got a massive set of fucking tits. And I used to say he was prime Kate Upton. Because if you ever see Kate Upton, she's all right. She could be a farm girl, you know, but she's not a model. But I'll tell you what, woo! She had a fucking pair, mate. There was some fucking cantaloupe, melons. I like this
is
shit.
so unnecessary, Thorin. Just I understood what you wanted to say before.
I love big tits in my face. In my motherfucking face. There you go. Right. I think you found out a little bit too much about me there, didn't you?
No.
So the next question, we won't do too many more. I think what we'll do is just say a lot of these are general questions, by the way, so we'll save them for next week. In an alternate, this is the last question. So this is from, that was an architect for Korean esports based job. The last one is Tallahassee Riot Supervisor says, in an alternate universe, the year is 2019. Thorin is the Fnatic general manager. Not impossible. I was offered the head coaching job of Fnatic for 2015. I turned it down. Suck on that. Also, I wouldn't have been a very good coach. Don't worry about it. I'm the general manager. You're the head coach. Who do we recruit? Obviously, we have to have a negotiation. I'm not a tyrant. I wouldn't just pick my players and make you coach them. We'd have a negotiation.
All right.
It's 2019 though. It's 2019, Yamal. That's the key point. In 2019, who do we recruit to rival the G2 super team? It can only be Western players, but key thing he said Western, so we can have some NA players too. We're going to build a team to battle that G2 super team. Who do we want for this one? It's 2019. Because we're going to try and make like a super team here. So who are we going to make?
2019, we're definitely keeping Hilly, right? I don't think anyone is in the conversation. It's like maybe like Code JJ if you're feeling spicy, right? Back in 2019. No,
I'm with you. Let's take Hilly. 2019, Hilly's a fucking beast, mate. Yeah, that guy was, there's a reason he was like almost MVP of the league. He was a stud. We'll take him all day long.
Same thing, honestly, at the time, Reckless as well. It's hard to move away from Reckless. It's very hard to move away from Reckless.
I don't want to burn it because it's because of you. I get harassed every week about where that fucking video is. It is coming. But sadly, I know things about 2019 that mean it can't be Reckless. So in 2019, it is going to be upset. I think I can take him at that point. It might just be a bit too early in his career, though. I'm trying to think if it would be too early for then. Because I tell you what, who else could I also take? I tell you what, I believe if he didn't play in TSM, I could take Sven. I still think he had the skill. I think TSM wasn't even. Let's take Sven and fucking Hilly. There's a fucking lineup right there, mate.
I love that, yeah. I fuck
with that. I fuck with that, especially because I know Sven's work ethic. In your team, bro, he's going to grind. Now, mid lane, who do we want?
You know, like in
my mind, some pokes. We can't have them, can we? So we take
it's like, keep in mind, this is post 2018.
Yeah,
like GiantX was nuts.
He was pretty fire.
GiantX was insane. He had a fantastic Worlds run.
Yeah,
like I've told the story many times, but like GiantX post Worlds, he looked me in the eye and said, "Yamato, I'm going to stay in Korea and boot camp here." I'm like, "What are you saying? You need to rest, brother." He's like, "Yeah, but if we play against Rookie again, I will not feel confident to beat him. So I need to stay here and practice." We just stayed 2 months. He burnt out completely, but I'm just talking to his mentality, you know, like he's the shit, bro. Like I would bring in GiantX here, man, post 2018 for sure. Well, I guess it's like
I'll give you an alternate.
Is gone.
There's obviously 2 other alternates we could do: Jensen or Bjergsen. By the way, wouldn't Bjergsen be straight fire with some of these players? Bjergsen's still good in 2019, bro. That's when he's still like carrying games and fucking series. Jensen's mega internationally. I think those are 2 nice shouts too. But you know what? I don't also hate the GiantX one. We could do that. Here's the thing. Here's why GiantX might be the answer. Because I actually think the other 2, Jensen and Bjergsen, at that point in their careers, started to be more like Meiji type players and play safe. GiantX doesn't know that Caps is better than him. He never got the memo. I mean, by the way, in solo queue, he doesn't know that. He would go and fucking flash over a fucking skill shot to hit Caps, if you know what I mean. This guy's a nutter. I think we need that. Now we've done the bottom side of the map. Jungle and top is going to be spicy. Who we taking?
How much budget do we have here, Thorin? Like,
what do we want, bro? Who we taking? What jungler would you trust that isn't Jankos? I know who I want.
We have to keep it English, yeah? We can't go abroad.
I already know who I want, but I'll see if you can come. If you get a better answer, I'll go with your answer. But otherwise, I'm ready. What are you going to pick?
No, send it, bro. Send it.
Xmithy.
Okay.
Bro, this player, if you know what other players, first of all, study Team Liquid when he was in them, and then talk to players around him. There are 2 things about him will make you love him instantly, Yamato. 1, he is not ever the grinder in this era of his career. He quite literally would go out on Friday night, party and drink heavily, come in hungover 2 scrims 5 minutes late, like he's taken off a leather jacket and thrown it on a hook, then just play well in the scrims, no prep. And then in actual games, he just had like a 6th sense feel for the game. And so if you ever watch, people were like Team Liquid, a macro team. They didn't want to be guys. They had Core JJ, Doublelift, and fucking Jensen. They wanted to smash games. Xmithy, though, if they got behind, the reason they were a macro team is he wouldn't let them lose. And he might be the best jungler I've ever seen in the West, Yamato, from behind. Because if people don't know, the second you get behind as a jungler, you've got an excuse. It's really fucking hard. This guy can play behind with no resources, just playing stupid shit like Skada, looking for that catch onto your carry at the right time, and he will find a way back into this game, bro. He will find a way to get a quadrant, to stay away from your fucking skirmishes. He'll find a way in the team fight to do that. This guy's clutch. He's actually a fucking sick player. There's a reason he beat IG. This guy's a fucking banger. I want Xmithy. You good with that?
Okay. Right. I'm going to pull up real quick.
Go for it.
Who was in summer in Europe? I just need like a reminder.
Yeah.
Like,
there was Broxer, Self-Made.
Broxer. We had the fucking Shook was playing for H2K. Apparently, Kadro was playing. Damn, we are lacking junglers. We had like the Kikis and Vitality.
That's the saddest thing. By the way, if we're really in 2019, I'd take your boy Self-Made. But I've heard too many stories, and you know what? The stories are true. So knowing the stories, I think I'll take Xmithy.
I'm willing to follow along on the Xmithy journey if we can't import.
Right, last one is top lane. So which top laner that isn't Wonder do we want? Who would take him?
Post 2018, like I wonder if the move already post 2018 was to bring in Bwipo and put him as a jungler already back then, you know, like put in the hilly Bwipo pairing, because I just think those guys like make sense together, you know. So it's like naturally here I would want to slot in Bwipo post 2018. Yeah, the fucking solid 2018 rookie year. Like I would keep that hilly Bwipo dynamic. I wouldn't separate them ever, honestly.
I don't hate that, because the problem is the other ones are more one-dimensional. Like if I take Alfari, mainly for lane, if I take Odoamne, I'm probably going to weak side. So I don't hate the Bwipo one. It's kind of a bit in the middle. I think our roster's, by the way, I think our roster's fire. I'd love to see that roster against G2 Super Team.
Yeah, I enjoy it, bro. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a sick.
Right. Obviously, thank you to everyone who listened to our sponsors, bought things, saved money, got extra value out of things. They're all great sponsors. Into the AM. We had Factor Meals. We had Squarespace, make a website, has all the features in there. We'll be back for a future episode and we will answer some of these other questions on that one.